You sing really well. Yeah? Yan King didn't believe it. She had heard such things too many times. She didn't believe that a song sung by a rich second generation could be so good. Everyone thought similarly. After all, there had never been any rumor that Gu Yan could sing before. Shenwaner didn't believe it either. After all, Gu Yan had never sung in front of her. If he really sang well, he would have sung it a long time ago. However, there's no harm in listening. Thinking of this, everyone looked at Gu Yan on the stage. This is Gu Yan. After testing the pitch, he raised the corner of his mouth slightly and spoke to the crowd in the audience. His slightly low voice reached everyone's ears. Next, I'm going to sing one of my original songs. It's also a song for my lover who wasn't there. The name is Light Years Away. The words fell. Gu Yan played the piano keys and the accompaniment band began to play music. A piece of music that no one had ever heard before resounded throughout the banquet hall. Everyone was somewhat caught off guard. Original song? Light Years Away. Master Gu can actually compose music and lyrics. No way, didn't you ask someone to buy it? Wait. To be honest, the intro to this song sounds pretty good. Everyone was whispering to each other with surprised expressions on their faces. Lang Linger was a little excited. Hey, new song? She quickly looked at Yan King who was also stunned beside her. Hey, do you have a cell phone? Lend it to me? Yan King. On the other side, Ling Qiyu looked at Gu Yan with some confusion, wondering what was going on. What is he talking about? The lover who didn't come to the scene. Ling Qiyu's heart skipped a beat, and the expression under the gauze hat gradually became a little unnatural. Are you talking about me? The next second, when the prelude reaches a certain syllable, Gu Yan spoke. That godly voice, along with the godly song, reached everyone's ears. Feel the fingertips that stop at my origin. How to freeze time instantly. Remember to look into my determined eyes. Maybe there is no tomorrow. With just a few lines of lyrics, the originally noisy and bustling banquet hall suddenly became quiet. Suddenly, there was silence. They all looked at Gu Yan on the stage in shock, with disbelief in their eyes. What a beautiful song this is. Ling Qiyu was stunned. She couldn't help but cover her chest. It was just a few words. But why did it make her feel so upset? I remembered that Gu Yan said this was a song for her. Ling Qiyu pursed her lips lightly and looked at Gu Yan on the stage. Although she couldn't see him, she could feel the source of life in his body. At this moment it seemed so dazzling and special in her eyes that she could not forget it after just one look. This bad guy, even if he is outside, he has to make her so upset. Chapter 89. The whole audience was shocked. Ling Qiyu was shy. A melodious melody lingered in everyone's ears, and coupled with Gu Yan's god-level singing skills, everyone couldn't help but immerse themselves in it. Ling Linger had asked Yan King for a mobile phone, and turned on the recording function with excitement. She looked at Gu Yan with shining eyes and didn't even notice that her face was slightly blushing. My brother-in-law is awesome. Yan King looked at Gu Yan with some disbelief as he was playing and singing on the stage. She had heard it. The moment Gu Yan opened his mouth, she reacted. This person's voice is exactly the same as the online song Confession balloon uploaded to the internet. It was him. Yan King felt a little discouraged. She didn't expect that her imaginary enemy was actually Gu Yan, and that Gu Yan had done that kind of thing to her before. Yan King didn't know what she was thinking about, and she gently touched her face where Gu Yan had hit her. Her eyes were a little blurry, with Gu Yan's voice and the other party's aggressive gaze lingering in her ears. She couldn't help but clamp her legs together. Gu Yan is great. Shenwaner was also stunned the moment Gu Yan opened his mouth. She knew she was wrong. This is extremely wrong. It's not that Gu Yan can't sing, but that he is too good at singing, but he never sang in front of her. It has only been revealed now. For Ling Qiyu, Shenwaner suddenly felt a little irritated, and she drank the wine in the glass in one breath. She was drunk and her face immediately turned red. While looking at Gu Yan's elegant figure playing the piano, there was actually a bit of envy and regret. Xiaolin noticed Shenwaner's abnormality. He came over to comfort her. Waner, are you okay? It's okay. Stop talking and let me finish listening to this song quietly. Shenwaner shook her head, then closed her eyes and quietly enjoyed the music. Xiaolin nodded when he heard that, but when he looked at Gu Yan, a hint of complexity appeared in his eyes. Gu Yan, do you have anything going on with Waner? He clenched his fists tightly. The accompanying music changes rapidly. Gu Yan's piano playing was just right, followed by his next line of lyrics. Fate brought us together outside of troubled times, but fate wants us to love each other in times of danger. When this lyric appeared, Ling Qiyu's heart was touched, and she stared closely at Gu Yan's dazzling source of life. She murmured, fate brought us together outside of troubled times, but destiny wanted us to fall in love in times of danger. Ling Qiyu's heart ached was this also describing the situation of her and Gu Yan. His Ling family was murdered. The truth behind the incident is unknown and the murderers are still at large. He is on a mission of revenge, and Gu Yan is just an ordinary person. It is too dangerous for him to stay with him on this road of revenge. The enemy may find our Ling family again, and then Gu Yan, an ordinary person, will definitely be killed. Those people will once again take away the people around them one by one. Ling Qingqiu clenched his fists, feeling very complicated and conflicted. Because of Gu Yan's arrival, he felt more at ease and happy. But she forgot that it is actually very dangerous around her. Gu Yan, do you really want to be with me? However, the lyrics that Gu Yan sang next stunned Ling Qingqiu. Just listen. Maybe the future is light years away. I am willing to wait for you in the unknown. At this point, the rhythm of the music changed rapidly, and the piano played by Gu Yan was also extremely fast and wild. He sang, raising his voice. I didn't expect I could be so crazy for you. Landslides and tsunamis don't even want to escape without you. My brain has gone crazy because of you. My pulse and heartbeat don't matter without you. Boom. Everyone's head was rumbling and goosebumps appeared all over their body. An old man sitting in the corner suddenly stood up excitedly. He looked at Gu Yan, his whole body shaking with excitement. I couldn't help crying. This is what a beautiful song. Mr. Tang, are you okay? It's okay. It's just that this song reminded me of the past. The atmosphere at the scene exploded instantly, and everyone couldn't help but gasp. Master Gu, Master Gu. Gu Yan, Master Gu. Why Yan's mom loves you. Word of mouth spread, and everyone cheered. They abandoned their identities, their reserve, and their prejudices against Gu Yan. Everyone couldn't help but shout out. At this moment, they just wanted to cooperate with Gu Yan and indulge their emotions. Shenwaner closed her eyes, but tears were sliding down from the corners of her eyes. She couldn't help but lie on the table and sob in this noisy place. Why? Why did I treat Gu Yan like that if I had agreed to be with Gu Yan? So now, is this song that Gu Yan sang to me? Ling Qingqiu. I hate you. Why do you have to be so outstanding? Why do you want to be my idol? And why did you become Gu Yan's lover after falling from the altar and take away my Gu Yan? Seeing Shenwaner crying and looking a little overwhelmed, Shaolin could only comfort her again and again. On Bai Jun's side, he looked at Gu Yan and couldn't help but think of the girl who followed him back then. Unfortunately, everything came to nothing. Bai Quan Lan looked at Gu Yan in a daze. Something coming to her mind. His hand tightly grasped the jade pendant on his chest. Meizu was a little shocked. She didn't expect Gu Yan to be such a good singer. She subconsciously looked towards Ling Qingqiu, wanting to see what her master's reaction was. As a result, the other party's expression did not change. And even his tone was very flat. Leave Meizu, it seems nothing happened. The operation continues. After saying that, he walked out of the banquet hall. Meizu also felt immense admiration. He is worthy of being the master. Because he originally treated Gu Yan as a puppet to be used. So naturally he would not be moved by the other party's behavior. She wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, and decided that she also had to learn from her master. However, what Meizu didn't realize was, Ling Qingqiu's face beneath her gauze hat was already covered with blush. She clenched her hands tightly together, and her dark green eyes and rosy cheeks made her look very cute and charming, recalling Gu Yan's passionate confession in her mind. She said in a barely audible voice, bad guy? 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 The moment Meizu gave Ling Qingqiu's order, all members quickly set out. Biaoyan was still reluctant to finish listening to the song Gu Yan sang, but her master's order was more important. Although he has a wooden head, his singing is surprisingly good. Okay, you're leaving now. The Lord of the Hades Palace still needs you. Biaoyan pulled Mu Rongxi, who is still in a conflicted state, out of the banquet hall. Chapter 90, The Terror of the Lord of the Hades Palace. After singing a song, Gu Yan had already left the stage. There is no harm without comparison. When Lan Zizeng sang again, no one was willing to pay for it. In the end, he had to be asked to leave by the hotel staff. The banquet performance continued, and many people wanted to pay Gu Yan to sing a few more songs. It's just that Gu Yan is not short of money at all. And he has also made friends with many family heads who are young people. It has changed some of the previous reputation in word of mouth. Someone with good sense had already moved another chair next to Lang Linger. After dealing with those people, Gu Yan sat down next to Lang Linger with a tired look on his face. Seeing that Gu Yan looked tired, Lang Linger felt a little guilty and pulled Gu Yan up to sing. But when she thought of Gu Yan's singing, she couldn't help but feel a little happy. Brother-in-law, you are really good at singing. So many people have been convinced in just a short time. Lang Linger's generous praise did not make Gu Yan feel very happy. He looked at Lang Linger with a kind face. You little bastard. You actually tricked me. Hey. Head. Yan sighed lightly and said, "Forget it, but this is also a good thing. At least change the impression of yourself in other people's minds." Well, maybe it was like this. He changed from a bootlicker to a violent person and then to a talented rich second generation. Yan felt the peers or mature women around him who were winking at him. He suddenly felt that these so-called business owners and family scions were actually just like ordinary people. They will wave flags crazily for the things they like. And he has also heard that some rich kids will do some irrational things for their favorite stars. He glanced at the group of people and recognized many of them. Having had many collaborations with the Gu family, he has not forgotten the Gu family's annual meeting. Don't forget, that will be the time for the third vote to choose the heir to the Gu family. If he was vetoed, the Gu family, with such a huge fortune, would have to select the next heir. Of course, even if Gu Yan lost his qualifications as an heir, it wouldn't matter. After all, the current head of the family is Gu Yanming, who is strong and healthy unless he dies or abdicates voluntarily. Suddenly, Gu Yan thought of something and immediately understood why such a large family as the Gu family actually had a voting system. Although it is not explicitly stated in the original novel, various details show that the Gu family is actually a family of warriors. In other words, it is a branch of a certain warrior family that remained in the secular world. This was just a plot that the author casually mentioned, and it ended without filling in the gaps in the end. In other words, this vote is not as simple as selecting an obvious successor to the group. There must be some other deeper meaning behind this. Yan King kept looking towards Gu Yan vaguely. She wanted to talk to him, but Lang Linger blocked her. How abominable, he even held my phone. Yan King looked at Lang Linger, who was holding her mobile phone with dissatisfaction. The other party said that he didn't have his cell phone with him, so he borrowed her cell phone to record a video for Gu Yan. "Oh, that's right, I have a good idea." Yan King didn't know what she was thinking of. And she coughed at Lang Linger. "Well, Sister Linger, how about we add each other as friends? I'll send you the video you recorded when you get back." Lang Linger was stunned when she heard this. "Oh, yes." She returned the phone to Yan King and nodded happily. "Okay, I'll add you when I get back." Anyway, Gu Yan already knows about the cell phone matter, so there is no point in telling it to him. Seeing that the plan was successful, Yan King started chatting with Lang Linger again, and intentionally or unintentionally asked her questions. Seeing this, Gu Yan thought about it and didn't stop it. After all, Yan King was also a hidden line that needed attention. By the way, speaking of this, I don't know how Yi's organization is going. Just thinking about it. Gu Yan! A panicked voice sounded in Gu Yan's ears. In the dim light, Gu Yan looked and saw Long Ziyin coming to his side with a look of horror on his face. Dragon in the sky? Gu Yan was a little surprised. He looked around and didn't see the other party's bodyguard. So he asked in confusion, "What are you doing?" Yan King and Lang Linger also looked over when they heard the noise. "Hey, why is there another small fry here? He must be here to flatter my brother-in-law." Isn't this the adopted son of Yan Xing Group's chairman Yan? How come he knows Gu Yan? Long Ziyian's body was shaking. He grabbed Gu Yan and said, "Listen to me, a group of lunatics broke into my godfather's room. I was destroying Tian Fang's information when I saw it on the surveillance camera. Gu Yan, you have to save me, you have to help me." Crazy? Could he be King Qiu's subordinate? Gu Yan frowned. He stood up and said to Lang Linger, "Stay here and don't run around." As he said that, he pulled Long Ziyian and walked out of the banquet hall. "Come with me." Lang Linger was confused. "Hey, brother-in-law. No, why did Zhang suddenly leave with this strange person?" Yan King was a little confused. What was Long Ziyian talking about? What madman? What about saving him? At the same time, this is Yan Huang, the lord of the Yama Palace. It was already a tragedy. Yan Huang's pupils kept shrinking as he looked at the scene in disbelief. The previous second he was still thinking about what to say when he went on stage. But the next second, the sound of flesh being torn filled his ears. He didn't react, perhaps because he was thinking about something. Or perhaps because of his age and injury, his body couldn't keep up with his thoughts. The smell of blood filled the place. He seemed to recall the scene from that year. No, it should be said that the scene before him, or rather the people before him, actually overlapped infinitely with the figures of the group of people back then. He swallowed his saliva in fear the scars on his body were aching again. At this moment, he couldn't even muster the will to resist. Yan Huang looked at the people in his room in horror. They were all wearing the familiar black clothes. Are you Yi? At this moment, Yan Huang seemed to have forgotten that if he resisted, he could still burst out with the strength of the peak of the early Grand Master. "Long time no see, Lord of the Hades Palace." At this moment, a cold voice echoed in the room. In an instant, respect and excitement appeared in the eyes of everyone present. They stood on both sides, creating a wide road in the middle that seemed to be left empty for new visitors. Yan Huang sat on the chair, looking at the empty passage with fear on his face. This scene, how similar is it? That existence back then also appeared in front of all of them in the same way. Next second, a figure walked out from the shadows. She was wearing a black cloak and a black gauze hat. Her long hair cascading like a waterfall, and a slight chill surrounded her. Leng Qingqiu glanced at every corner of the room calmly. Her dark green eyes were cold and sharp. After confirming that there were no more survivors, she looked at Yan Huang. Her presence made Yan Huang feel extremely oppressed, and he gripped the handle tightly. Leng Qingqiu's voice was icy and piercing, like frost that struck people's hearts directly. Yan Huang, you have lived for so long, it's time to pay the price for what happened back then. What happened back then? Yan Huang's pupils contracted when Leng Qingqiu took off her veil when he saw her eyes. He was shocked. He lost control of his emotions, pointed at Leng Qingqiu and said in disbelief. Leng Qingqiu. Yay, you used that dagger. You're crazy. You're crazy. As soon as the words fell, phew, Yan Huang's jaw was removed and his two arms were pierced by both spurs on the handles. As you can see, I crawled out of hell. Leng Qingqiu walked over gracefully, looked down at the other party from a high position, and said, tell me, why did you massacre our Leng family back then? Yan Huang was terrified, but he couldn't speak because his jaw was removed. Leng Qingqiu sighed softly, seeming to feel helpless. She glanced at Mei Zhu and the other person. Mei Zhu, Panya, go and bring Long Ziyan over. There is a special kind of true energy in Long Ziyan's body, and the vitality of that true energy is extremely vigorous and powerful. Only that life energy can enable him to display his abilities to the minimum extent. And only then can it be enough to save Yan Huang's life, which is as languishing as a candle. She didn't believe that what Yan Huang said in this state was true. And only by becoming her own puppet could she ensure the integrity of the truth. The moment Yan Huang heard the dragon's true energy in the celestial body, he became even more panicked and his body began to struggle. At the same time, Wu Yan and Long Ziye and Ian have already arrived at the corridor outside the banquet hall. Wu Yan said to Long Ziye, Ian, calm down and tell me everything that happened. Long Ziyan still had a look of fear in his eyes. He took a deep breath and slowly said, okay, this is what happened. Chapter 91. That man is an integral part of the master's plan. Guyan has already understood the situation. To put it simply, it was when Long Ziyan was destroying the materials that showed his collusion with the evil warrior Tianfang while using surveillance to monitor his godfather. Suddenly, a group of people wearing strange masks and uniform black clothes broke into his godfather's room. And in the blink of an eye, he killed everyone on the field except Tian Huang. Combined with Long Ziyan's statement, it seemed like those people suddenly appeared from the shadows, which was very terrifying. Guyan nodded. Yes, it must be Qingqiu's men. So Guyan patted Long Ziyan's shoulder kindly, and when he saw Long Ziyan's confused expression, he smiled and said, that's it, you should do your best. Just kidding. I originally thought Leng Qingqiu would not be able to control the palace of Yama according to the original plot. That's why he comes here to do this and that. As it turns out now, the World Correction Force is worthy of its name, and no matter what, it will make Leng Qingqiu follow the plot in the original work. Although, it is not clear how the other party controls the palace of Yama. Long Ziyan was so frightened when he heard Guyan's words that he seemed to abandon him that he became incoherent. He grabbed Guyan's hand with a pale face and said, what? Didn't we agree that I would cooperate with you after I became the lord of the Hades Palace? Where's your master bodyguard? Hurry up and ask him to come out and save me. Those people will definitely kill my godfather, and then they will definitely come after me. When Long Ziyan thought of the weirdness of that group of people, his legs went weak and tears welled up in his eyes. I still have a bright future, I still have great ambitions. I still want to rule the world, how can I die here? How would you feel if you were grabbed by a grown man who was crying? Guyan calmly removed Long Ziyan's hand and said in a comforting manner, it's okay, brother Long. When Long Ziyan heard this, he raised his head and looked at Guyan in surprise. Are you willing to help me? Just after he finished speaking, Guyan laughed and shook his head. Respecting the fate of others is a traditional virtue of us Chinese people. Although I don't want to say it. But, the cooperation I talked about before. The words haven't finished yet. An inexplicable wave instantly enveloped the entire corridor. The surroundings became extremely dark, as if this place was in another dimension. Immediately following, go to hell. An excited roar suddenly came from here. Swoosh, a swift figure suddenly emerged from Guyan's shadow. He had a pair of sharp claws and stabbed directly at Guyan's back. Fang looked at Guyan and smiled cruelly in his heart. Although I don't know who you are, young man, I'm sorry. Because the master's order is to bring back Long Zi Yan. So everyone else must die. However, before he could succeed, another figure appeared from the wall next to Gu Yan. Bang boom! The moment the figure appeared, he used a dagger to block Fang's fatal blow. Then he kicked Fang's with a whip kick and sent him flying into the wall of the corridor. A ladder was kicked against the wall by surprise, and after inertia rebounded, he hit the ground, then raised his head while holding his chest. He looked at the newcomer with an incredible look. "Asshole, what are you doing?" The visitor withdrew his legs and fell silent. Meizu's heart sank. Oh no, she subconsciously rescued Gu Yan. Damn it. This sudden change made Gu Yan stunned. Wait. What's going on? He subconsciously looked at the person who came to help him and the person who was kicked away by the other party. The clothes worn by the two are mainly dark black. If you look closely, you can see an endless amount of dark haze emanating from around the clothes. Mysterious silver-white runes are dotted on the black clothes, emitting a strange light in the dark night. In addition, the most eye-catching thing is the masks covering the faces of the two people. Although it is called a mask, it depends on the words. It was more like a flowing black vortex that covered the entire face of the person who came. Of course, the most important thing is not this, but why did King Qiu's men want to kill me? Then Meizu defeated the friendly forces and saved me. When Long Ziatian saw Meizu and the others, he turned pale with fright. He made a chicken-like sound and hid behind Gu Yan, holding his head. Come. At this moment, because of the scene he saw on the surveillance camera, Long Ziyan, a warrior in the early stage of innateness, had no desire to resist. He can only rely on the invincible bodyguard behind Gu Yan. Rub. The fangs dug their sharp claws into the ground. Seeing that Meizu didn't reply, he became even more furious. Oh to hell! Fang roared and rushed over from the ground. But his target was Meizu. The latter did not answer, but rushed forward as well. Bang. Facing Fang's angry attack, Meizu dodged every attack calmly and decisively. Her body flexibly avoided Fang's sharp claws, leaving no chance for the opponent to take advantage. She dodged and looked at Gu Yan, seeing that the other party had no reaction and was still standing there. I cursed him in my heart for not understanding my good intentions. Meizu never thought that Gu Yan would actually stay with Long Ziyan. When she was about to report this situation to her master, Fang took action, and even the target of attack was Gu Yan. In desperation, she could only help as she knew the relationship between Gu Yan and her master. After all, the master will control the Gu family in the future. So Gu Yan cannot die now. Fang was getting more and more annoyed because Meizu refused to fight him. Why are you helping that guy? Die. Bang. Bang. Clang. Meizu took out a dagger and collided with the opponent's claws. The sounds of fierce fighting echoed in the corridor, and sparks flew with every collision. Gu Yan reacted after a brief moment of confusion. So that's how it is. The one with sharp claws should be the ORC Fang in Night. The other party was brutal by nature and loved killing. Since he didn't know Lang Qingqiu's good husband, he would naturally attack him. Meizu was clear about her relationship with Lang Qingqiu, so she came forward to help him. And perhaps it was because Lang Qingqiu did not inform his subordinates of his existence. So Meizu had to resist the opponent's attack in silence. Simply put, the best way right now is. Gu Yan took a deep breath, and suddenly ran in the opposite direction of the crowd. I took out my cell phone and called Lao Gao, but there was no signal. He looked around and immediately understood that this was Meizu's unique ability, which allowed her to use darkness to cover an area of space and isolate everything. In short, in order not to make Meizu too embarrassed, he ran away first. If the other party really wanted to help him, he should have taken back this ability soon. Meizu felt relieved when she saw this scene, and the darkness of night also dissipated. Long Ziyan reacted and quickly followed. Wait for me. When Fang saw that the target of the mission had escaped, a hint of murderous intent appeared in his eyes, but Meizu still did not let him go. Only after confirming that Gu Yan had left did Meizu step aside and stop trying to stop him. Fang looked at Meizu angrily and asked through gritted teeth. Meizu, are you crazy? You betrayed the organization? Do you know what will happen to us if the master knows that you betrayed us? The words haven't finished yet. Meizu said coldly. Fool, do you know that you are about to ruin the master's plan? Fang was slightly stunned when he heard this. Then he grinned and cursed. What nonsense are you talking about? I was about to succeed just now after killing that insignificant person. As he was talking, Fang was speechless. He reacted and asked in disbelief. Are you talking about the man without cultivation? Meizu nodded slightly and said calmly. That man is an indispensable part of the master's plan. Specific situation. She paused, then said, You'll understand after reporting the current situation to the master. Fang scratched his head after hearing what Meizu said. His anger was reduced a lot. I'm so annoyed anyway. You just need to tell me that I can't kill the young master of the Gu family. Right? And what about Long Ziya at Ian who is next to him? Will the eldest son of the Gu family stop us from arresting him? When Mei Zhu heard this, she was not sure about the relationship between Gu Yan and Long Ziya at Ian. After all, when it came to matters concerning Gu Yan, she had to ask her master for instructions. So he said, I still have to ask the master first. TSK, what a hassle. Fang muttered a few words, but did not refute. The two of them had the ability to conceal their aura. So they were not discovered. They disappeared into the darkness in the blink of an eye and left the place. Chapter 92, The Death of the Lord of the Hades Palace. Gu Yan is only my husband in the secular world. When he arrived outside the banquet hotel, Gu Yan successfully called Lao Gao. It just so happened that the other party had already settled Tian Fang. So he arrived at Gu Yan's side in less than a few minutes. As soon as he arrived, he hurriedly checked if Gu Yan was injured. He was relieved when he confirmed that he was fine. Master, you scared me to death. Fortunately, you are not injured. Otherwise I really don't know how to explain to the master. Lao Gao was still in shock, and then he looked at the pale Long Ziya standing beside him. As if he had sensed something, so he said to Gu Yan, Master, those people's target is obviously Long Ziya. They want something in Long Ziya's body. Hearing this, Gu Yan glanced at Long Ziya, whose expression changed. After hearing this, Long Ziya struggled for a moment, but still sighed helplessly. I was actually just an ordinary person. But when I was a kid, on my way home from school, the sky and the earth changed color, and suddenly a golden halo flashed from between the clouds. And that halo sank into my body. From then on, my mind became more intelligent. My physical fitness became different from that of ordinary people. And I could even use some powers that ordinary people could not imagine. It's just that not long after that my parents died in a plane accident. When Long Ziya said this, his expression became a little sad. Not long after that, the Lord of the Hades Palace, who is also my adoptive father, came to me and said that there is a trace of dragon energy in my body. If people were to discover the dragon energy in my body, it would bring disaster. Perhaps, what those mysterious people want is the dragon energy in my body. When Lao Gao heard this, he remained calm on the surface. But he was actually thinking about the dragon energy in the other person's body. People who have reached their level of cultivation can actually see at a glance the hidden power of the dragon within the celestial body. This strand of dragon energy can transform an ordinary person into a martial arts genius. Even if he absorbs this dragon energy, it can improve his understanding of cultivation. Of course, the reason why he cared so much about this dragon energy was actually because of his own young master. My young master knows about warriors, but he himself is very weak. If something like what happened today happens again, it would be too dangerous. The best way would be to draw out the dragon energy in the dragon's body and let the young master absorb it. A wisp of dragon energy can at least raise the young master's talent to that of a congenital warrior. Then all he needs to do is keep collecting dragon energy for the young master to absorb. I believe that the young master will definitely be able to grow to or even surpass his level. Gu Yan naturally had no idea what Lao Gao was thinking. After listening to Long Ziya's words, he fell into deep thought. Wait a minute, he knows about dragon energy, because collecting dragon energy is the main content of the original work. It is rumored that a war that destroyed the world broke out in the ancient martial arts world, in which the Dragon King fell and turned into 99 Ragnoris after his death. These 99 Ragnoris are scattered all over the world, and each one can bring unexpected improvements to warriors. It is said that if one gathers all the dragon energy in one body, one can gain the power of the ancient Dragon King. The only wish of the Dragon King Hall is to collect 99 strands of dragon energy and recreate the glory of the Dragon King. As the male protagonist and heir of the Dragon King Palace, Shaolin naturally took on this arduous task. But until the end, the dragon energy was not fully collected. Of course, the most important thing is not these, but the fact that the first ray of dragon energy that Shaolin obtained in the original work was related to the Palace of Yama, but that was absorbed from the dead Yan Huang. Wait a minute. This is a bit messy. Yan Huang is still alive in the original novel, but now it seems that Yan Huang is dying. How can Ling Qinkyu, you keep a dying person alive and control him? In order to correct the world's power, Long Ziya actually has to die. That is to say, Gu Yan looked at Long Ziya with pity. In other words, the way Ling Qinkyu allowed Yan Huang to be controlled by him and stay alive was the dragon energy in Long Ziya's body. So that's why no wonder they attacked him. Maybe Ling Qinkyu's order was to bring Long Ziya over. After sorting out everything, Gu Yan patted the shoulder of Long Ziya, who was still immersed in fantasy. He sighed and said, "Brother Long, you have suffered a lot." Long Ziya didn't expect Gu Yan to comfort him. He immediately felt that the man in front of him was quite good. so he forced a smile and said, "It's okay, as long as you can understand me, Gu Yan." Seeing this, Gu Yan coughed dryly and said, "Well, let's go in again this time, with Lao Gao protecting me. I will definitely be able to rescue your adoptive father." When Long Ziyan heard this, his expression struggled for a moment. In fact, it didn't matter whether his adoptive father died or not, as long as he was alive. After all, he knew back then that the purpose of his adoptive father finding him was actually the dragon energy in his body. But because he was injured in the battle that year, this purpose became less and less. But he would definitely not change his opinion of the other party because of this. When Gu Yan saw this scene, he was about to ask Lao Gao to force the other party in for sacrifice. A scream was heard from the banquet hotel, followed by a commotion. Lao Gao frowned and said, "Master, something seems to have happened inside again." Gu Yan thought for a moment and said, "Go in and take a look." As he said this, he smiled kindly at Long Ziyan. "Brother Long, come here too." For some reason, Gu Yan suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. Although Long Ziyan didn't want to go after hearing this, he was even more unwilling to stay here alone, so he followed Gu Yan in. As soon as he entered the hotel, Gu Yan saw the hotel staff who were explaining something to the Yanxing group bodyguards in a panic. Gu Yan and Long went to the sky to find out the situation, and finally learned something that he could not figure out, no matter how hard he tried. Yan Huang is dead. His reaction was one of shock and disbelief. Wait, why did things turn out like this? Yan Huang was killed? No, was it King Qiu's order or Lang Bingning's? How will the original story unfold? How will the Hades Palace be controlled? Will Long Ziyan still need to make sacrifices? Gu Yan, who didn't believe in evil, took the elevator directly to the room where Yan Huang was on the top floor. When Lao Gao Long Ziyan arrived later, the miserable scene in the room made them all stunned. I saw Yan Huang sitting on a chair facing the door, with the back of the chair leaning against the open window. The faint moonlight reflected Yan Huang's appearance at the moment. The opponent's head was cut off and placed in his hand. A bone spur pierced through his crown all the way down, nailing his entire palm to the ground. His expression still contained a look of fear. "Godfather." Long Ziyan was terrified. He fell to his knees and said, "You haven't announced that I am the heir yet." Gu Yan quickly looked around and saw the room full of torn pieces of flesh and corpses, which looked like they were made of fangs. And the way Yan Huang died should be Muron Si. Just as he thought of this, he saw that there was still a trace of ice crystal remaining on the bone spur that pierced the opponent's head. Wait, was it Lang Bingning who did it? Still, King Qiu. Gu Yan fell into deep thought and didn't understand why the other party did this. On the top floor of the banquet hotel, several figures stood respectfully by. They all quietly waited for the next order from the master, who was standing on the edge of the top floor, gazing into the distance as if thinking about something. Lang Qiu stood at the edge of the floor, thinking about everything that had happened a quarter of an hour ago. The first joint mission of all members of the night organization seemed to have ended in failure. Of course, it all came down to a decision I made on the spur of the moment. All plans have been disrupted. Lang Qiu murmured to herself. If Meizu hadn't come to tell her that Gu Yan and Long Ziyan were together, and she would naturally follow the original plan and use the dragon's vital energy in the celestial body to control the palace of Yama. However, Gu Yan stayed with Long Ziyan. Although she was not sure what the relationship between the two was, she did not want to kill the people around the other person in front of Gu Yan, because she was afraid that when Gu Yan knew her true face, he would reveal the expression that she didn't want to see. Will the source of life that was so dazzling in her eyes also become dim because of this? She didn't want to gamble, nor did she dare to gamble whether Gu Yan would find out that all the cruel things were done by her. But even after doing all this, what should I do next? She clenched her fists. To be honest, chopping off her enemy's head with her own hands did not reduce the murderous intent in her heart. Because she got to know a piece of information, that is, the reason why their Ling family was targeted back then was not because they had offended anyone, but it's because their Ling family obtained something. That kind of thing caused panic in the entire ancient martial arts world, which is why so many people came to encircle and suppress their Ling family. Now, that thing was in her eyes. It's ridiculous just because of a dagger. Can her family be slaughtered at will? Taking a deep breath, Lang Qiu became more clear about his idea of revenge. She spoke softly, and her voice reached everyone's ears. Gu Yan is only my husband in the secular world. In order to take advantage of the Gu family, he is an important chess piece. No one should attack Gu Yan. After saying this, Lang Qiu breathed a sigh of relief. If he explained the situation to his subordinates, they would not accidentally hurt Gu Yan. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone except Meizu was shocked, and then their expressions were shaken. As if she sensed the reaction of her subordinates, she said calmly, "This is all just for the plan. So that's it." Everyone felt better now. but then he also felt a hint of ridicule towards Gu Yan. Poor guy, he must have saved the world in his previous life to be able to become our master's official husband in this life. What a poor guy, he will definitely be ruthlessly abandoned by his owner. I really look forward to seeing his expression. Di Yalian also thought so in her heart, but she glanced at someone beside her who seemed to have turned gray, and covered her face helplessly. Hey, please stop acting like you've been dumped. I really don't know what's going on in this guy's mind. This is Gu Yan. After a brief brainstorming session, he finally recognized the reality of the moment and looked at Long Ziyuan, who was kneeling on the ground in shock and collapse. Gu Yan also knew more or less what was in the other person's mind. In desperation, he walked over, squatted down and put his hand on the other person's shoulder. The latter sensed this and turned his head away. Gu Yan smiled slightly and said, I think we can continue the cooperation we talked about before. Long Ziyuan was a little confused. Haven't we always been partners? Chapter 93. The banquet ends. The police quickly arrived at the banquet hotel and cordoned off the scene. What? Boss Yan is dead? No way, how is that possible? Oh my god, they actually killed Chairman Yan at the banquet held by the Yan family. Is this criminal trying to save his life? The guests in the banquet hall looked pale. This incredible news made all of them feel extremely unreal. Yan Huang, the boss of Yan Xing Group, is dead? A large group of police surrounded the place and began to interrogate and investigate one by one. In front of the hotel, Linglinger took Gu Yan's hand and said with a worried look on her face, Brother-in-law, you have to be careful. Gu Yan nodded. Don't worry too much, this matter has nothing to do with us. As he spoke, Gu Yan looked at his family bodyguard and said, Send Linger back. Yes. After seeing Linger off, Gu Yan returned to the hotel again. In the lobby on the first floor, Long Ziyuan has just finished the interrogation here. Although he had no feelings for Yan Huang, but when I actually saw the body of my dead adoptive father, I still felt very uncomfortable. He would wonder if this death was too sudden. He was the master of the Hades Palace after all, why did he end up like this? Shaking his head, Long Ziyuan saw Gu Yan and hurried over. He felt that the area around him was extremely dangerous and he could not guarantee that those people would come looking for him again in the future. So he placed his hopes on Gu Yan. Gu Yan, what should we do next? Gu Yan glanced at him. The police had already checked the surveillance footage of the entire hotel, but had not found any trace of the criminal. Long Ziyuan could see Ling Qingyu's men, and it seemed that they did it on purpose. Although we don't know why Ling Qingyu finally chose to kill Yan Huang, it is clear that in reality there is not enough time to wait for him to finish thinking. It seems that he can only continue to act according to his original plan. Thinking of this, Gu Yan sighed inwardly. The plot has completely changed beyond recognition. Looking at Long Ziyuan with an uneasy look, Gu Yan thought that this idiot has become even more stupid. He remembered that there seemed to be a dragon energy in the other person's body. It's useless to keep it in his body anyway, so it's better to take it out and let him absorb it. Thinking of this, Gu Yan said kindly, Brother Long. It's okay. Everyone knows that you are the most talented person and the one most qualified to be the heir. I will help you secure your position as chairman of Yan Xing Group. But the prerequisite is that you have to promise me one thing. After listening to Gu Yan's words, Long Ziyuan felt a little more at ease. With the help of Gu Yan's family and the masters around them, he believed that his safety would definitely be guaranteed. What's the matter? Do you want money? Long Ziyuan asked anxiously. Gu Yanze didn't think of saying it here, so he smiled mysteriously and said, No, let's talk about it later. Let's discuss this matter after your adoptive father's funeral is over. Oh, Long Ziyuan nodded. Nowadays, the Yama Palace has lost its backbone and its strength is not as strong as before. He is also afraid that those men in black will come back again, so he can only rely on Gu Yan. At this time, a familiar voice sounded. Gu Yan, who do you think did this? Gu Yan and Long Ziyuan looked over. Bi Jun came over with a heavy face. He had just seen his sister off, and immediately checked the people in the entire banquet hall. As a result, he came to a conclusion that made him feel depressed. There were more or less a few bodyguards from each family and the hotel staff who were supposed to be in the banquet hall. In other words, these missing people are most likely the murderers of Yan Huang's death. Gu Yan shrugged. Who knows, maybe it's some Ryan Hess enemy. Then he looked at Long Ziyuan. Brother Long, what do you think? How did I see it? I saw it clearly. It was a group of men in black who killed my stepfather. But of course this cannot be said out loud. Long Ziyuan then choked up with grief and said, I don't know, but I must avenge my adoptive father, Yan Huang's adopted son. It seemed that he would be announced as the heir today. Bi Jun glanced at Long Ziyuan and didn't expect that he was still friends with Gu Yan. Just at this moment, an irritable and arrogant voice came from the side. I've already told you I don't know, okay? Guyan and Ba Jun looked over. The latter's eyes narrowed. The person who spoke was the woman next to the man who gave him a sense of terror and oppression. We have witnesses who prove that we were in the banquet hall the whole time. If you don't believe me, just ask them. Liao Yan looked very angry as if she had been wronged, and pointed her finger at a group of business owners. The police looked over when they heard this. The bosses of various companies nodded one after another. That's right, Miss Ba has always been with us. Yes. And Mr. Mu, we are all in the banquet hall. That's right. Amrad, please don't wrongly accuse a good person. How could we be the murderer? And you let us go? Upon hearing this, the young policeman closed the investigation book and said seriously, "This is all required by the procedure, please be patient. Once the investigation is complete, those who are not suspected will be allowed to leave." From beginning to end, Mu Rongxi didn't say a word. The White Army withdrew their gazes, and their doubts about them were dispelled. So many people testified together, and Biayan and others were indeed in the banquet hall when the crime occurred. It looked like they were not the murderers. Guyan admired Biayan's acting skills, and he glanced at those business owners. They all looked at Biayan with admiring eyes. Isn't this all fascinating? Guyan's eye twitched. Wow, seeing this scene in real life, he still felt that this naturally charming body was extremely exaggerated. This physique will not really be the same as the setting in the original book. When you reach the level of Grand Master, you can influence the minds of people who control a country just by blinking, right? No way, no way. After thinking for a moment, Guyan laughed and shook his head. You must be joking, don't scare yourself, it's not that exaggerated. Well, that shouldn't be the case. Guyan didn't dwell too much on this issue. A cordon has been set up at the crime scene on the top floor of the hotel. Chen Yingyan stood inside the cordon with a frown on her face, looking at the body that the forensic doctor was examining. After hesitating for a moment, I came to a conclusion. This is what a warrior does. Chen Yingyan was very sure that this was the method used by warriors. Without leaving any trace in the surveillance, he killed Yan Huang like a shadow. This is obviously not something that ordinary people can do. Thinking of the magic warrior Tian Fang that Guyan and he met, she frowned immediately. This murder was also done by a demonic warrior. Magic warrior. Chen Yingyan clenched his fists. Are all the magic warriors capable of killing people at will? She took a deep breath. This matter was no longer something that the secular world could handle. She had to report this to her father as soon as possible and ask him to notify the warrior department to come and investigate the matter. After being enlightened by Guyan, Chen Yingyan has figured things out. Sometimes many things cannot be accomplished just by your enthusiasm. So leave professional matters to professionals. In order to solve the case as quickly as possible, the warrior department must be called in to investigate the matter as soon as possible. Oh, by the way, Chen Yingyan suddenly thought of something, told the police to protect the scene, and then took the elevator downstairs. Chapter 94. Do you know why the master wanted to kill Yan Huang? Shen Weiner's face was a little pale, and she was wearing the coat that Shaolin gave her. After learning that a murder had occurred here, she felt extremely panicked and scared. Although there had been murders in her company before, those people were attacking her, so she naturally had no psychological pressure after the death. But now, the person who was killed was the boss of Yan Xing Group. People like that would be killed. This means that this hotel is no longer safe and the murderer might be hiding among the crowd. Shen Wanner grabbed Shaolin's wrist in fear and asked in panic, "Shaolin, will you protect me?" Shaolin looked at Shen Weiner's weak appearance, and a surge of blood rushed up. He immediately said seriously, "I will protect you, Wanner, even if I die." When Shen Wanner heard this, perhaps because she believed in Shaolin's ability, she felt much better and suddenly felt that Shaolin seemed to be not bad. At least it can give people a sense of security. Guyan has left her. And now, she glanced at Shaolin, who had a strong sense of justice and was very capable. She could also tell that he seemed to like her. But I really want her to be with Shaolin. Shen Wanner thought that Shaolin was just a security guard in her company. So I gave up the idea and decided to talk about it later. On the surface, Shen Wanner expressed her gratitude to Shaolin. "Thank you, Shaolin." Shaolin was startled. Then he touched his nose and said embarrassed lie. "Hey, it's okay." Wanner smiled at me. Could it be that she is interested in me too? Although Wanner seems to have some relationship with Guyan, it doesn't matter because the person next to Wanner now is me. But although he thought so, Shaolin still couldn't forget Wang Yelan, who found a house for him when he first came to Zhanghe. The other person was injured by himself and is still in the hospital. There is also the eldest daughter of the Bei family, who also has half a jade pendant that she wants. These people all seem to have some relationship with Guyan, and they don't seem to like him very much. When Shaolin thought of this, he suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of frustration and loss. But he didn't know where this inexplicable feeling came from. Guyan was still chatting with Bai Jun about random things. Chen Yingyan happened to be coming downstairs at this time and came over as soon as he saw Guyan. After seeing Guyan, Chen Yingyan kept the long story short, and his expression seemed a little solemn. Guyan, this matter is not something we can solve. This group of people's methods are too cruel. You have a lot of information. Do you have any impression of this kind of killing method? Bai Jun also looked at Guyan in surprise. He didn't expect that Chen Yingyan would actually ask him. It seems that the eldest son of the Gu family is indeed different from the rumors. However, Guyan looked puzzled. I can be sure that I have never seen this kind of killing method. At this point, he looked indignant and clenched his fists tightly. How could he be so cruel? Boss Yan is my most respected senior. But he actually... At the end, Guyan closed his eyes and could no longer speak, expressing both his hatred for the murderer and his sorrow for Yan Wang's death. Wang Ziaitian was dumbfounded watching from the side. I remember it wasn't like this when you saw Yan Huang's body. Bai Jun was also a little surprised. It turned out that Guyan had been suppressing his emotions. It wasn't until someone asked me about it that I burst out. When Bai Jun thought of this, his eyes became friendly when he looked at Guyan. No wonder he helped his sister. It turns out Guyan is also a chivalrous man. Biao Yan and Mu Rongxi, I also noticed the movement on Guyan's side. The former curled his lips and said, "What? But what a pity, that guy has been killed by their master." I am really looking forward to what kind of expression Guyan will have when she finds out that her idol was killed by her master. The Ailin smiled on the surface, but in her heart she was already looking forward to the moment when her master revealed his true face and Guyan's face full of devastation and shock. Just a man. Mu Rongxi looked at Guyan, then lowered his head, his eyes dull and lifeless. Chen Yingyan felt that Guyan was just Guyan. He was still so kind, just like when he scolded Shaolin in the detention center. Chen Yingyan knew that Guyan was a kind person and hated evil. She comforted him. Don't be sad, Guyan. I will report this matter to the director immediately and ask him to arrange a specialist to handle this matter. When saying this, Chen Ying looked at Bai Jun intentionally or unintentionally, and the meaning was self-evident. The White Army pretended not to see it. Are you kidding? The affairs of the King of Hell were taken over and handled by those conservative guys. If he rashly intervenes, things will be very serious. The warriors of the two factions might start fighting. However, the news of Yan Huang's death should reach the department seers soon. We'll see how the boss arranges it then. After hearing this, Guyan opened his eyes. His eye sockets were already extremely red, as if he was trying hard to suppress the grief in his heart. Lao Gao, who was standing by, fell silent. Young master, when did you have any contact with the King of Hell? Wasn't the only contact they had just had when he stepped on Tian Fang's body and threatened Long Ziyi to wait until Yan Huang died before taking over the Yan Huang Palace and cooperating with him? Is that possible? Lao Cao's eyes widened. Master, what is this? Split personality again? Should I go to the hospital? Lao Gao fell into deep thought. Guyan took a deep breath and said to Chen Yingyan with a forced smile, "Well, I believe Uncle Chen will find the murderer. As soon as possible give our Zhang a peaceful and prosperous world." Bang! Bai Jun laughed when he heard this. He patted Guyan on the back and said, "Well said, Guyan. I still say the same thing. If you need anything, you can always come to me." Then he looked at Chen Yingyan and said, "I want to go to the scene to see the situation." The latter knew the other party's identity, so he nodded. "Okay?" Guyan coughed dryly and said, "Since I have nothing to do here." Chen Yingyan nodded and comforted him. "Well, Guyan, you can go back first. Don't worry too much. This matter has nothing to do with you." "Okay, Sister Na Yingyan. You guys should be careful too. It would be terrible if the murderer is still at the scene." Yan. Chen Yingyan felt warm in her heart and smiled to show that she understood. When they got outside, Long Ziyi chased after him. "Guyan, you're just leaving like that?" Guyan had already exited the grief mode just now. He rubbed his eyes, which were a little uncomfortable due to being squeezed, and turned red, and said, "You should eat and drink as needed. Just wait and see who will take over the Yanxing group next." As he spoke, Guyan looked at Long Ziyi with an inexplicable look in his eyes, and said, "Don't forget to hold a press conference before that. Just focus on practicing your acting skills." After saying that, he got into the luxury car and left the hotel. Long Ziyi stood there in the wind, looking at the luxury car disappearing from his sight. I suddenly had a bad feeling in my heart. He always felt that the look Guyan gave him at the end was filled with ill intentions. Now we two are on the same boat after all. That group of men in black have set their sights on killing Guyan. The combination of Yama Hall and the Gu family is definitely stronger than Guyan fighting alone. Long Ziyi shook his head violently, his eyes gradually becoming firm. Now he only needed to consider how to inherit the palace of Yama. He believed that Gu Yan would not do anything to him at this critical juncture. Luxury cars are driving on the road. Gu Yan was thinking about the next plan in his mind. Suddenly, a familiar voice appeared in Gu Yan's mind. What is your relationship with the Hades Palace? Hearing Mei Zhu's voice, Gu Yan remained calm on the surface, closed his eyes and replied in his heart. It doesn't matter. Hearing this answer, Mei Zhu seemed silent, thought for a while and continued to ask. Do you know why the master wants to kill Yan Huang? It was indeed King Qiyu who did it. Gu Yan was startled. But why? He subconsciously asked in his heart. Why? Because of you. Gu Yan was stunned. What? Chapter 95 King Qiyu, do you like me? Because of me? Before Gu Yan could react, Mei Zhu continued. After the master learned that you and Long Zi and Ian were together, she gave up the idea of controlling Yan Huang and killed him after asking him some questions. Even if a living Yan Huang would create much more value than a dead Yan Huang. When Mei Zhu said this, her mood was extremely complicated. I didn't expect that the master would directly change the established plan in order to control the Gu family. Could it be that there is something inside the Gu family that is more valuable than the Palace of Hell? Is it because of this? Gu Yan thought of all the possibilities in his mind. But the only thing he didn't think of was that Ling Qingqiu gave up the plan in the original book just because he knew that Long Zietian was beside him. Why? In the original novel, Ling Qingqiu is cold-blooded and ruthless, and his methods are so brutal that they scare the readers. He is an out-and-out villain who has been petitioned to be killed by thousands of people. It can be said that the other party can give up everything and all emotions for his revenge plan. But why? Gu Yan's heart was shocked. Wait a minute. This is not right. Gu Yan suddenly discovered a blind spot. He opened his eyes in annoyance. That white, because of his intervention in this life. The plot has changed beyond recognition. Ling Qingqiu did not succeed in turning evil, but instead became his fiancee when he thought of that proud, and arrogant good wife in his mind. Gu Yan couldn't help but let the corners of his mouth gradually rise. No, now is not the time to think about my wife's beautiful face. Gu Yan covered his face, and through his fingers revealed a pie-shaped chart of his own regret. Shock, surprise, regret, entanglement and pain. Can it be explained that Ling Qingqiu changed various plans in the original work because of myself? Qingqiu was also interested in me, that's why she wants to take care of my feelings. Gu Yan didn't know why, but once it came to Ling Qingqiu's side, he could infer Ling Qingqiu's psychology by comparing it with the original novel. Although he was not sure if this was the case, Gu Yan probably felt that Ling Qingqiu's inner thoughts were probably like this. Because he likes Gu Yan, he doesn't want Gu Yan to know how cruel his methods are. It is not known what the identities of Long Zietian and Gu Yan are at the moment. Therefore, if he rashly let his men kill Long Zietian, who was beside Gu Yan, it might make Gu Yan sad and upset. In short, it would cause some psychological and emotional changes in Gu Yan. And if Gu Yan finds out that he is the mastermind behind all this, then... The corners of Gu Yanxiao's mouth cracked, and he nodded in agreement. Although this guess may be a little exaggerated by me. Oh no, this is obviously not the guess. Li Yan shook his head again. And Ling Qingqiu's sometimes cold and beautiful face popped up in his mind again. How could Ling Qingqiu have such an idea? The other party was Ling Qingqiu. Of course, what if I like him a little bit? But even if I like him a little bit, I won't necessarily give up the original plan for him. But, what if I like him very much? Thinking of this, Gu Yan laughed and shook his head. It's impossible, Gu Yan. Please stop being narcissistic. In the original novel, the one who chopped up the enemy's family into pieces and used the meat to make dumplings for the enemy to eat, thus breaking down the enemy's psychological defenses. How could Ling Qingqiu, who absorbed warriors' souls to practice and listen to the screams of their souls, come to like him so much? But I didn't say, I don't like him. At least not now. If you don't like him so much and want to take care of his feelings as your favorite lover. After thinking about it, Gu Yan became conflicted again. Why did Ling Qingqiu kill Yan Huang for him? Mei Zhu was silent, and she lay on the car body to cover her breath. Even his face was changed through the shadow ability of night. Because she was recognized by Gu Yan in the banquet hall before, she was severely scolded by the host, so she remembered the instruction of putting on a full set of makeup. After feeling the shock and confusion in Gu Yan's heart, the corners of her mouth rose slightly. Very good. If I tell Gu Yan some information about the master appropriately, then Gu Yan will trust Ling Qingqiu immensely. This will lay a better foundation for the master to take over the Gu family in the future. Knowing that the master changed the plan because of you, I believe Gu Yan must be so moved that he can't control himself. Right? As for Gu Yan, he had stopped thinking. It's too troublesome to think about it. Anyway, Ling Qingqiu will never change the main plan in the original book because of him. After all, Ling Kinkyu gave him a very profound and cold-blooded stereotype in the original work. That woman was so desperate for revenge that she even plotted against her own sister Ling Bingning. There is even a series of weird and vicious plots that follow, which makes all the readers break out in cold sweats. Why set up an evil sacrificial array in the middle of the city and sacrificed half of the city's people? Why not the whole city? That's because Ling Kinkyu's purpose was only to delay the protagonists who were rushing to a certain important location so that they could rush back to the sacrificed city for rescue immediately. What a disaster. He leaned against the car window, supporting his face with his left hand, and looked at the traffic passing by outside. As he watched, he became a little conflicted again. No way. Ling Kinkyu couldn't have really fallen in love with me. Right? Ling family. At the bathroom door. Kinkyu, do you like me? Guyan mustered up the courage to stand in front of Ling Kinkyu and shouted in one breath. And Kinkyu, you smell so good. Ling Kinkyu was wearing a bathrobe. Obviously, having just finished a shower, she was using cold water to dilute her complicated emotions. She also kept asking herself, what kind of existence is Guyan to her? Lover? No, that's just the surface. Friends? They seemed like friends. But they seemed more than just friends. Family? That's even less so. Her family members are dead, and now Ling Linger is the only one she considers as family. What was Guyan then? His own slave? Well, when Ling Kinkyu thought of this, he felt better. Only, when I finally felt better and walked out of the bathroom, and I saw the dazzling source of life suddenly standing at the bathroom door. I don't know if it was my illusion, but the moment I came out, a head of the life source seemed to be constantly scanning my whole body up and down. This made Ling Kinkyu feel ashamed and angry. Especially since the other party asked a question that made her unable to help but swear. Why would someone ask her if she likes the other person at the bathroom door? You should at least see if the atmosphere is good. Ling Kinkyu gritted her teeth and angrily yelled. Get lost. After saying that, he ran upstairs with bare feet clacking. Ling Linger flashed behind Guyan, and snap. He patted Guyan's back hard. You got scolded, you bastard. Gudu told you that my sister is taking a bath and she hates being disturbed the most. Hey, what's wrong with you? Ling Linger was patting when she noticed that Guyan didn't say anything. So she walked over and took a look. Then, Guyan looked very excited. And his nose was bleeding. Ling Linger's expression gradually became shocked. Are you a pervert? Pervert, no. The picture of Ling Kinkyu emerging from the bath was still replaying in Guyan's mind. He was like a saint who had entered sage mode after a fight. While bleeding from his nose, he said to Ling Linger in a gentle and pleasant manner. I was just moved because I saw something very beautiful. My love was overflowing, and the hot blood in my heart turned into tears of emotion that flowed down from the tip of my nose. More like a pervert, no, I should say disgusting. Okay. Ling Linger blushed and shouted, what the hell is going on? You bastard Gu, can you please hold your head up? The amount of blood you are bleeding is so exaggerated that it's like something out of a comic book. We are in a three-dimensional world here. She hurriedly supported Guyan, who was standing there like a panel, and walked towards the living room. Chapter 96 Like. Snap. Close the door and lean against it. Ling Kinkyu covered his chest, which had been beating rapidly since a while ago. She bit her lips lightly, and her face flushed slightly. She didn't know if it was because she had just taken a hot shower or something else. In her mind, she was thinking about the love song that Guyan sang to her in the banquet hall, and at the same time, she was thinking about Guyan's straightforward question just now. For a moment, Ling Kinkyu didn't know how to respond. Perhaps it was because the other party asked the question too suddenly, which made her a little at a loss, so she could only curse at the other party and ran into the study in panic. Only the study can make her feel a little more at ease. She leaned against the door, slowly slid down to the ground, put her legs together and buried her face in them. Do you like it? Do I like Guyan? Will I like Guyan? No, should I say can I like him? Agreeing to become a nominal couple with the other party. It can be said that my purpose was to give the other party a little compensation in order to take away the Gu family. However, this compensation does not include anything like I will fall in love with Guyan. Come to think of it, it's impossible to fall in love with Guyan. He is just an ordinary person who can break marble. I have also sensed it myself, and I have no cultivation at all. You can't say that Guyan's strength is stronger than her and her group of subordinates, right? Can't you detect Guyan's cultivation level? Moreover, because of extreme tension and anger, there were even cases where someone overturned a heavy truck with their bare hands, right? The story that Guyan had told her before popped into Ling Kinkyu's mind. A sports student once said, I overturned a heavy truck that was coming towards me when I was extremely angry. Afterwards, I felt weak and cold all over. That was the closest I had ever been to death. Later, a heavy rain ruined my sports dream, so I have been depressed ever since. Although it may sound exaggerated, there is scientific evidence to prove that the human body is not fully developed. The human body is a wonderful structure. Ling Qiyu exclaimed. Linger said Guyan's figure was not bad, but she wondered what his body fat percentage was. Then he shook his head vigorously and said, No, now is not the time to think about this. Do I really like Guyan? Ling Qiyu raised his head slightly, with an expression on his face as if he was struggling over whether to eat only 1 or 2 ice creams today. She pursed her lips, and Ling Qiyu herself did not notice that her little face was already flushed. Fingers clasped tightly on both sides of the arms. She recalled every detail of her time with Guyan, and his every word and action echoed in her mind. The other party's song of wild and fierce love confession also lingered in her mind. She couldn't help but curl her lips and murmured to herself, I like it. But soon, she shook her head. Dislike. Ling Qiyu stood up, took a deep breath, and let the corners of her mouth gradually fall down. She sat back at the desk skillfully and opened a book. I don't like it, how can I like it? Ling Qiyu clenched his fists tightly. Revenge was the only path he could choose in his life. There is no way I can fall in love and get married like an ordinary girl. Ling Qiyu, Ling Qiyu, you are really too lazy. Because Guyan has brought some happiness to your life these days. Are you so lax? Are you touched because Guyan offended you and Linger in the banquet hall? Are you happy because Guyan said in front of everyone that he would give you a song? All of this, it's what affects your mind. Ling Qiyu took a deep breath and tried to clear her mind of the unnecessary things that were affecting her mentality. After a few minutes, her heart had become as hard as rock. His expression also became extremely calm. Brush. Started reading books. That's right, Ling Qiyu, you can't be like an ordinary girl in your life. You only have one purpose in this life. It's revenge. Revenge. Kill all those who destroyed your family back then. No, not just kill them all. You want them to suffer the same pain you have suffered. You want all their relatives, friends, and loved ones to die in front of them. Guyan is an existence that affects her revenge plan. Ling Qiyu has figured it out. She will close her heart to Guyan. No matter what he does for her. She can no longer be moved. Because of the feelings. It is the most useless thing. Brush. As long as I have Linger, I'll be fine. Brush. As long as Linger is fine, nothing else matters to me. Brush. Friendship and love? I don't need either. I don't need Guyan either. I just want the Gu family behind him. Everything I did was for revenge, and I just wanted to use you. Brush. But why did Guyan's mosaic face keep popping up in my mind? Why? I'm just using you. Stop staying in my head. Brush. The faster he flipped through the pages, the more uneasy Ling Qiyu felt. Next second. Qiyu, are you okay? A worried voice rang in Ling Qiyu's mind. I brought you some food. You didn't go to the banquet hall. So I packed some puffs for you. I thought you might not have had a good dinner. By the way, it was Linger, that kid, who reminded me to take this puff. I didn't expect that kid to be such a nice person. Guyan stopped his nosebleed and placed the packed high-quality puffs on the desk, while looking at Ling Qiyu with some concern. The other person seemed to be thinking about something. Could it be that what I said made him feel distressed? No, Ling Qiyu is not that kind of woman. The other party is most likely thinking about her next plan of revenge. Hearing this, Ling Qiyu took a deep breath and said helplessly, Man, do you know that eating puffs at night will make you fat? When Guyan heard this, he moved a chair and sat next to Ling Qiyu. Oh, that's strange. Such words would come out of the mouth of a sweets lover like you. What sweet tooth? What kind of name is that? Ling Qiyu took a puff and put it in his mouth, saying with dissatisfaction that his mouth was bulging. Guyan lay on the desk, looking at Ling Qiyu, who was eating puffs with both hands with gentle eyes. He smiled softly. You look like a hamster. You're like a hamster. Ling Qiyu finished one and took another one. When she heard Guyan's words, her expression became even more dissatisfied. What kind of hamster is this? Can it talk? There is a hamster as beautiful as me? I really don't like you. A dog man. In order to prevent Ling Qiyu from eating too much, Guyan reminded her, by the way, don't eat too much at night. 2 is enough. I'll leave after you finish eating. After hearing this, for some reason, Ling Qiyu subconsciously slowed down the speed of eating the puffs. She didn't know why she did that, and on the surface she just snorted. Do I need you to remind me? You make it sound like I'm the kind of person who would eat all the snacks in front of me in one breath. Do not you? Guyan smiled knowingly, but didn't say anything. He didn't want to argue at this time. Wow, my wife is so pretty. She looks so pretty even when she's eating quietly. It's so great. For you. At this time, Leng Qingqiu grabbed a puff and handed it to Gu Yan with his face tilted. You eat too. Gu Yan was stunned for a moment, then he took it and took a bite. His eyes lit up with joy. It's delicious, worthy of being a high-end puff. Leng Qingqiu felt empowered when she heard this. She subconsciously said happily, "Oh, this is considered high-end puffs." But as he was talking, he fell silent. Gu Yan also realized this. And for a moment, the room fell into silence. Time passed minute by minute. And Gu Yan looked at Leng Qingqiu, who had finally finished eating the puff. He let out a long sigh, then stood up and patted Leng Qingqiu's shoulder gently. Sorry Qingqiu, I'm leaving first. Too many things happened today. And Leng Qingqiu's mind must be in a mess. I should leave first and let him calm down alone. Gu Yan believed and trusted Leng Qingqiu, a woman who could regulate her emotions with just a few breaths. Otherwise, it would not be possible to practice the Bing Xinju to perfection in the original work. Seeing that Leng Qingqiu didn't respond, Gu Yan sighed lightly, stood up and walked towards the door. Let's go, are we leaving? Leng Qingqiu realized it belatedly and clenched his hands. He had finished eating the puff long ago, even though she had tried to slow down as much as possible. Licking his lips, Leng Qingqiu also heard the sound of Gu Yan getting up and walking to the door. Subconsciously, Leng Qingqiu's distinctive cold voice reached Gu Yan's ears. Like. Gu Yan's whole body shook violently, and he turned his head sharply to look at Leng Qingqiu. And I heard the other person say calmly, I like the taste of this puff, but I like the ones I make at home better. Gu Yan, you are such a good cook, just cook for me next time. What, is that so? Gu Yan didn't know why he felt relieved. He smiled and said, okay. Click. The door closed and Gu Yan left. He sat back in the luxury car, leaned his head back on the car cushion, and put his hand on his chest. A happy expression appeared on his face. Yes, fortunately, Qingqiu didn't say she liked me, otherwise I would have died suddenly on the spot because of my rapid heartbeat. Only, let the pure love object like you, points 10W. If I like a puff, will I get so many extra points? Gu Yan was a little puzzled. It seemed that Qingqiu really liked sweets, so he should show her his sweet tooth next time. Feeling the strong pure love energy between the host and Leng Qingqiu. Ding ding ding, the pure love technique has evolved. Upgraded to the second stage of the pure love technique. Please check the specific situation by yourself. Gu Yan. This thing can evolve. Do you think you are a Pokemon? The other side. This is the study. Leng Qingqiu covered her face with her hands. And her face was red at the moment. It's out. Leng Qingqiu's voice trembled. But fortunately, other terms were added at the end to prevent Gu Yan from becoming suspicious. Furthermore, saying I like you does not mean I really like Gu Yan. Compensation. This is just compensation given to Gu Yan for taking away the Gu family. Just saying, I like him can make him happy, so I am naturally willing to do this easy thing. That's right, I won't like Gu Yan at all. Leng Qingqiu is very confident about this. Humming the sung confession balloon that Gu Yan sang to her, Leng Qingqiu flipped through the book happily as usual. By the way, I have to ask Linger to help me copy a copy from light years away. Although he's just a poor guy who was used by me. He sings pretty well. Leng Qingqiu was shaking her legs. In a good mood. Chapter 97, Second Stage Pure Love Technique. Evolution of Innate. Ujia, lying on a soft big bed worth 2 million. Gu Yan checked the evolved Pure Love Technique. Why do you use the word evolution? Is your system really a serious one? Gu Yan complained while opening the introduction column of the Pure Love Technique. Universe Pure Love Gong, Phase 2. Universe Pure Love Gong FA. Just do pure love things. You can stimulate pure love energy. This energy can cleanse the meridians of the Gong FA master. Constantly nourish the body, make it stronger and stronger. And learn anything else with half the effort. This is the end of the introduction to the first stage of the Pure Love Technique. So what other changes are there in Phase 2? Thinking about it, Gu Yan looked down. Pure Love Energy Value, 122,353. In addition to exchanging items in the store, the Pure Love Energy of the second stage technique can also be used actively by the technique master. Please figure out the specific operation process yourself. Tips: this technique cannot be advanced through normal training methods. It can only be advanced through the interaction between the host and the Pure Love object to accumulate the Pure Love Energy bar. Third stage skill progress 1. Bang! Gu Yan covered his face. No, how can you let me use this? As a system, what kind of riddle do you think you are? Gu Yan took a deep breath. He was almost unable to hold back when he saw this side. He had felt that this system was a bit unorthodox when he first crossed over. But now it seems to be true. This system is indeed not legitimate. No, I have to hold it in. I can't get off this pirate ship of the system anymore. Since I can only rely on the Pure Love technique to get through this life. Then keep reading. Don't underestimate our pure love bond. Isn't there even a normal introduction? Gu Yan slid down quickly. He really wanted to ask about the mental state of this dog system. After finishing a bunch of second-year introductions, he finally saw something useful. The second stage of the exercise can show everyone's anti-pure love value. The higher the resistance to pure love, the higher the pure love energy consumed by the host on the other party. Gu Yan slowly asked a question. Anti-pure love value? What kind of world is this? There is even a term called anti-pure love value. Never mind, Gu Yan took a deep breath and climbed out of bed. Since according to the explanation, I can actively use pure love energy, then let us give it a try. And he looked at his hands. How should I actively use them? Gu Yan thought about it and suddenly remembered the time when he broke the marble with one punch in the banquet hall, spreading out his hands and clenching them into fists. Gu Yan laughed and shook his head. It can't be that if I just think about making myself stronger, then I will become stronger, right? Next second, a reminder sound appeared in his mind. Consume 10W pure love value. The host has obtained the initial stage of Xiantian cultivation. The pure love value required for the middle stage of Xiantian cultivation is not enough. So the upgrade is interrupted. Gu Yan. Hey, no way? Gu Yan was a little bit unbelieving. He jumped on the spot and found that his body seemed to have become lighter. He clenched his fists again and seemed to feel an additional force in his body. He was shocked. This is an upgrade. This pure love value has this effect? What the hell? Is this something that should exist in the low-level martial arts world? You should quickly apologize to those warriors who have worked so hard to train. Gu Yan took a deep breath. Things have come to this point. He looked out the window, his eyes eager to try anyway. He decided to try out his current situation first. Thus, a strange legend spread in the Tianhudong Villa district that night. They said a dark shadow flashed past the window on the 5th floor of their house. However, after checking the surveillance footage, they found no trace of the person at all. The next day, Gu Yan was woken up. He rubbed his eyes and looked at the person standing beside his bed with a helpless look on his face. Somewhat confused. Dad, what are you doing? Why don't you go to work at the company? Wu Chunming looked at Gu Yan, who looked like he was not concerned about anything, and was immediately furious. He said in a deep voice, "Did you beat up most of the important people in Zhonghai City last night?" Hearing this, Gu Yan yawned and said inferently, "Oh that, I didn't hit them. They just came to me on their own." Then it's still a fight. After confirming the reply, Gu Chunming felt a little headache. It didn't matter if he beat people from other small families, but the most important thing is that he actually beat the eldest daughter of the Yan family. This is a bit of a problem, because the other party is no worse than their Gu family. Now the Yan family has taken the lead and gathered most of the families in Zhonghai City to ask for an explanation, which is giving him a headache. As a result, the instigator slept very happily. Wu Chunming looked at Gu Yan, not knowing whether he had thought of something, and sighed. Anyway, the matter has been suppressed by me. They wanted you to apologize, but Gu Chunming's face was full of pride and disdain. I, Gu Tianming's son, beat people up, so I'll see who dares to do anything to you. Gu Yan nodded upon hearing this. Oh, yes, Gu Chunming's mouth twitched, and he felt that all his efforts were in vain, so he sat down beside Gu Yan's bed and said to him earnestly, "Xiao Yan, Dad is not blaming you for hitting someone. If I really blame you, then Dad won't care about you anymore." At this point, Gu Yan interrupted and said, "Excuse me. They were the ones who insulted my Kinkyu first. If I hadn't considered your face, I would have beaten up all the people who were watching the show at the banquet." Seeing Gu Yan speaking righteously as if it was all for his own good, Gu Chunming felt angry and wanted to laugh at the same time. He persuaded, "I know you loved your sweetheart, but have you ever thought about our family's annual meeting?" As he spoke, Gu Tianming frowned and said, "This year is your last chance. Chai Chown, if you are vetoed 3 times in a row, you will lose the qualification to inherit the Gu family group. When the time comes, such a large Gu family group will be handed over to other suitable people after I die." When Gu Tianming said this, he suddenly realized something and reached out to grab Gu Yan's wrist. In less than a moment, he was startled and looked at Gu Yan in disbelief. "Wait, you?" Gu Yan nodded, as if talking about something insignificant. "Well, I'm born with it also, Dad. You don't have to worry about the voting issue at the annual meeting." At this point, under Gu Chunming's somewhat dazed gaze, Gu Yan smiled and said, "The only heir will be me." Gu Chunming had a strange expression on his face. He repeatedly held Gu Yan's wrist and murmured, "It shouldn't be. It won't happen. How can such a useless talent be trained to the level of innateness? The most important thing is." We looked at Gu Yan with some confusion. "You know warriors?" Hearing this, Gu Yanli said, "Of course. As the eldest son of the Gu family, isn't it normal for him to know a warrior? By the way, Dad, how many warriors are there in our family? Isn't it just Lao Gao?" Gu Qianming found that he almost didn't recognize the son in front of him. He shook his head. Just kidding, the Gu family's foundation can be regarded as the most powerful in the entire Zhanghe city. Speaking of this, Gu Qianming was also very arrogant. You can say that, as long as not all the families in Zhanghe city come to encircle and suppress our Gu family. And you can rest assured that you will be the eldest son of the Gu family for the rest of your life. Hey, please don't set such a weird flag. Chapter 98 How to Use Pure Love Value. The corner of Gu Yan's mouth twitched. In the original novel, the Gu family was really surrounded and divided up by the protagonist Shaolin and all the family forces in Zhanghe city. Back to reality, Gu Yan nodded and asked with a smile. Then Dad, can you lend me a few powerful bodyguards? The requirements are not high, just the same level as Lao Gao. Gu Qianming's eyes twitched. He coughed and patted Gu Yan's shoulder. After taking a deep breath, he said, Son, do you think all grandmasters are cabbages? I can provide you with at most 10 warriors in the middle stage of Xiantian. Don't worry, they are all loyal warriors trained by the Gu family. There is absolutely no problem with their loyalty. I don't know what you're going to do. But, Gu Qianming looked at Gu Yan seriously, if you are going to do it cleanly. After hearing this, Gu Yan sighed. It was indeed a big family. His power increased several times in an instant. So he nodded. Thank you, Dad. Well, it's good that you understand that Dad loves you. Gu Qianming seemed to have thought of something when he said this. So he reminded him again, by the way, don't even think about asking the assassins to help you threaten those people in our family who can vote. This vote for the Gu family involves many things. If someone finds out that you cheated, you'll be in trouble. Gu Yan nodded. Okay Dad, I will definitely not let anyone find out. Gu Qianming nodded with relief. I'm glad you understand. Suddenly, he frowned him. Why do I feel that there is something strange in the words? Forget it, I don't think this kid would do such a thing. So Gu Qianming stood up and said, Okay, now that I've finished talking to you, Dad will go to the company. Just find something to eat. He should be here this evening. Okay, thanks Dad. After Gu Qianming left, Gu Yan stood up and prepared to wash up. At the same time, I was thinking in my mind, no, I am such a big family man. Shouldn't it be the kind where I ring a bell and a bunch of servants come washing in to dress and wash me? What kind of clothes do I have to wear myself? Oh, it was my mom who threatened my dad in a kind manner, telling him not to have a maid or something like that. It is said that it will lead children astray. As for family status, Gu Yan shook his head with emotion. It seemed that he was the only one who could win. His family status would always be higher than King Qiuayu's. Ling family. Achoo. In the study, Ling Qiuayu sneezed lightly, and she looked up feeling a little confused. Strange. Is he sick? Ling Qiuayu was silent. This shouldn't be the case. He hadn't caught a cold since he started practicing the evil arts. Oh, and speaking of witchcraft. Ling Qiuayu immediately walked to the door of the study and locked it with a click. Next, open your eyes and place your right palm facing up. Boom, a pitch-black book appeared in her hand. Then, a shrill scream came from the book. Ah! Ling Qiuayu. You will die a horrible death. Ling Qiuayu, you will regret it. Listen carefully to the voice. That is the voice of the Lord of the Palace of Yama. Ling Qiuayu remained calm and said inferently, You are still talking so much nonsense even though you are dead. Just be the nourishment for my cultivation. As soon as the words were spoken, the shrill sound stopped abruptly. Immediately afterwards, a burst of black smoke appeared in the center of the book and covered Ling Qiuayu's eyes. I really don't want Gu Yan to know about my practice of evil magic. After a simple breakfast, Gu Yan sat in the luxury car. Master, are you going to the Ling family today? Lao Gao sat in the driver's seat and looked at Gu Yan strangely. It's so strange, why does the young master give people a different feeling today? Gu Yan thought about it, and finally shook his head. No, I probably won't go to the Ling family in the next few days. Because he had other plans, which also concerned the annual meeting. He said, Take me to Yanfang first. Regarding the use of pure love value. Isn't there an experimental subject right here? Lao Gao nodded. Okay master. In less than a moment, the car drove to a remote place in Zhanghe city and stopped. This place is deserted, if you must say it, as a mass grave. The Gu family's dungeon is here. Gu Yan looked at this place with some surprise. The road behind requires hiking. Lao Gao led Gu Yan forward, nodding as he walked. Yes, master, this place is secluded and not many people will come here. The most important thing is that when you meet someone you don't like in the future, it will be convenient to dispose of the body. Hey, please don't say such scary things. I'm not a devil. There's no need to tell me that this is a convenient place to dump corpses. Gu Yan said that Lao Zhao was really bad at judging people. He came to an area covered with weeds. Lao Zhao stomped his feet rhythmically on the ground. Buzz. A magic circle appeared out of thin air on the ground. And then buzz! Lao Cao's body sank into it. He stretched out his hand towards Gu Yan. Master. The latter did not hesitate and took Lao Cao's hand and entered the Gu family dungeon. But when the two entered, the magic circle disappeared again. And the place became overgrown with weeds again. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. In the dark and damp dungeon, a tied-up man lay with a look of despair. Next to him, there was a human skeleton wearing tattered clothes. Tian Fang knew that he was finished and his cultivation was wasted. Being locked up here again, he knew that everything was over. He got into trouble because he thought that Long Ziai Yan from the King of Hell's Palace was a complete idiot. Unexpectedly, he had teamed up with others to trap him here. At this time, click, click. When he heard footsteps, Tian Fang was startled, then quickly closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep. Footsteps? Who is it? The one who caught me. Yan Fang was alert. To be honest, the last memory he had was when he was discussing matters with Long Ziyan. And then, nothing happened. The footsteps got closer and closer. And only stopped in front of the prison where Tian Fang was imprisoned. Master, I have destroyed Tian Fang's cultivation, now even a 3-year-old child can stab him to death with a knife. Lao Chao reminded kindly. What, young master? So you are the one who destroyed my cultivation? You are a 3-year-old child. If I can recover my cultivation, the first thing I will do is sacrifice your whole family. Guyan looked at Tian Fang, who was pretending to sleep, and nodded calmly. Then he looked at the other person and said calmly, Tian Fang, tell me where your little pet is. As he spoke, Guyan's eyes glowed slightly with a pink halo. Looking closely, one could actually find a pentagram shape on Guyan's pupils. As for Tian Fang, his heart froze. Little pet, he knows that thing of mine? But I will never tell you even if I die. Just as he was thinking this, Tian Fang found himself opening his mouth uncontrollably. I put it in my heart, and I will only let it out when I need it. Tian Fang opened his eyes in shock and looked at the two people outside the cell in horror. What's going on? Why would I say that? Guyan heard this and nodded slightly. Very good. The experiment was successful. It was just as he thought. Glancing at the system prompt in front of him, he smiled lightly. This pure love value is amazing. Temporarily dominate the life form Tian Fang, consuming 2,000 pure love points. The current effect is 10 minutes. Chapter 99 Contract Clause. Looking at the system prompt, Guyan revealed an inexplicable smile. As he had guessed, this pure love value was very useful and could not only help him improve his cultivation, even things like this can be done. After advancing to the second stage of pure love technique last night, he began to try to use the pure love value, and tried them all one by one. For example, summon King Qiyu to me. Then a prompt popped up. The current pure love value is not enough, and it cannot be done. But if the host strongly requests, this system is not impossible to help. For example, create a third-rate warrior in front of me. And a prompt popped up saying the current skill level is too low to be done. This made Guyan understand one thing, that is, as the level of his technique improved, he could even create life. How does that sentence go? My strength depends entirely on your imagination. The more pure love he has, the more things he can do. Of course, the most important thing is that he still wants to ask, is it really good for such a thing to appear in the Leililo martial arts world? Isn't that too unfair? Love? This must be the power of love, right? As expected, the power of love is infinite. Thinking of this, he looked at Tian Fang, who was in shock. With joy he raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said, okay, call out that cute little guy. As soon as these words came out, Tian Fang's expression was shocked, and then he uncontrollably pulled open his clothes on his chest, revealing a cross scar on his chest. No 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 no. Tian Fang screamed in his heart. No, I can't go on like this. He was terrified and thought. No, no, that is my most precious thing. Lao Gao was silent. Wait, what's going on? What happened? Why could the young master make Tian Fang so obedient? Next second, under Lao Gao's vigilant gaze, gurgle, gajij. A series of strange sounds came from Tian Fang's chest. Moreover, Tian Fang's chest became more and more swollen. And the next second, view, a sharp black claw poked out from the cross scar. Then, like the petals of a flower opening, the cross scar slowly spread out in all directions. Plop, plop. The living heart was beating in the chest. And the thing lying on the heart was also exposed. There were 3 black sharp claws with a black iron texture, and each one was only about 5 cm long. Lao Cao's eyes suddenly changed as he took a step forward and shouted, Master, be careful, it's a monster. He looked warily at the 3 exposed claws that were gradually crawling out from the heart. I was shocked, as this was a monster I had never seen before. But I couldn't be wrong about its aura, as it was the unique aura of a monster. This malicious smell, it must be a monster. But what shocked him the most was why someone would dare to put a monster in his or her heart. Lao Gao looked at Tianfang with difficulty. Are all the magic warriors a bunch of lunatics? It's okay, Lao Gao. Guyan patted the other person gently. Don't be so nervous. He walked forward to the cell, held out his hand, smiled at the three timid-looking claws, and said, do you want to follow me? Buzz, the pink pentagram in the eye socket slowly rotated. Tianfang thought to himself, haha, you are such an idiot. I don't know how you controlled me. But I have raised these three claws since they were young. So their loyalty is naturally needless to say. How could I follow you just because you say something? Next second. Chirp, chirp, chirp. The three devil claws jumped out from Tianfeng's heart excitedly as if they had met their master, and leapt to Guyan's palm. For a moment, Tianfeng was shocked. He shouted out loud, impossible. Lao Gao's face was extremely ugly at this moment. He looked at the three claws on Guyan's palm and said with difficulty, Master, do you want to raise them? This is too dangerous, right? Guyan teased the magic claw on the palm of his hand and hooked the lower end of the magic claw with the back of his hand. The other party bent over comfortably like a kitten. Hearing Lao Gao's words, Guyan turned his head to look at the other party, nodded and said, well, yes, don't worry, there will be no danger. After all, permanent contract for the juvenile form of Three Liz Claws consumes 20,000 pure love points. Well, after all, I spent 20,000 pure love points. Fortunately, the opponent's resistance to pure love value is not high enough and his level is relatively low. So only this little pure love value is needed. Looking at the panel with only 353 pure love points left, Guyan felt so distressed. But it's all worth it. Guyan looked at the three devil claws in front of him. In the original book, this thing was an extremely perverted thing. After Tianfeng's death, this thing became a lonely wild demon, constantly hiding in the dark and slaughtering and killing passing creatures. Over time, the three Liv's demon claws evolved into adults, and the size of each claw increased to an unimaginable size. And they even developed intelligence. This is how it is described in the original book. The three Liv's demon claws stand proudly on the earth. Towering tall, each all claw pierces the sky like a pillar, emitting a strong demonic light. On the surface of the claws, there are irregularly distributed pieces of soft and flexible tissue, in which grow mouths and eyes of varying sizes. I won't describe it in detail later, as the description of these claws in the original book is a bit too disgusting. However, it also lets everyone know the functions of these three claws. That is, store the souls of creatures and use the powers of living creatures. In the original book, there are big and small mouths, fangs and eyes growing on its body. In fact, they are all creatures that have been devoured by the claws of Sansheng. Moreover, due to the special nature of the three Liv's demon claw, it can only digest the body of the creature being devoured, but cannot devour the soul. And it cannot devour, because once the soul is devoured, its own power will be reduced. You can understand it as follows. The attribute gems of weapons in the gang can only be equipped and disassembled, but you cannot directly integrate the attribute gems with the weapons. The three Liv's demon claw, the souls of the creatures it devours are attribute gems, and it is a weapon that needs to rely on these gems to increase its combat power. In the end, as expected, the group of protagonists led by Shaolin found this weakness, liberated the soul and the body of Sansheng Demon Claw, and defeated the opponent. Then, needless to say, combining some details, Guyan discovered. It seems that these three devil claws were specially placed in the wild by Len Qingqiu to devour creatures and grow until now, because in the novel, every time the protagonists defeat an enemy, the scene will turn to Len Qingqiu. The person sitting in the hall sneered. That's interesting, this is the only way to make it worth hunting. Then he sent a slightly stronger general to deal with the protagonist, and started a game of cat and mouse. Guyan sighed lightly. It is because you guys don't like to stick together when playing in a team that the situation that happened later happened. Chapter 100. Len Qingqiu's enemies are my enemies. But now, here I come. Guyan looked at the claws in his hand and whispered. Mimicry. Next second, the three devil claws seemed to understand Guyan's meaning. Ergo. In an instant, they were mixed together and wrapped around Guyan's finger, directly turning into a black ring. Certainly. Snap. Puff. The inside of the ring was covered with blood-sucking spikes that firmly attached to Guyan's fingers. Devil's claws also need nutrition. After doing all this, Guyan glanced at Tianfang, who had a dazed expression. This man was an important tool for Chen Yingyan to quickly break into the warrior department, so he was still somewhat useful. He looked at Lao Gao, who was a little confused by the scene in front of him, and said, "Let's go, Lao Gao. I'll explain it to you when we get in the car." Oh, Lao Gao nodded and looked at Guyan's back as he walked out. He had a complicated expression. I really don't understand the young master more and more. Is this young master also a manifestation of split personality? No matter what. Lao Gao took a deep breath and followed Gu Yan. Looking at the other person's back, Lao Gao couldn't help but think of the first time he met the other person. Hey, old man, are you the bodyguard my father found for me? You look so weak. Old man, are you okay? Oh, I know. I heard from my dad that something happened to your wife. Here, this is all my pocket money, you can use it. Lao Gao, am I not also your family member? If you continue to be depressed like this, I will have to find a new bodyguard. Young master, you are such a gentle person. Lao Cao smiled slightly and looked at Gu Yan's back. No matter what, I will always protect you, master. For a moment, Qianfang was the only one left in the dungeon. My claws. That was his best friend who grew up with him. But now, it was actually taken away by someone else. No. Qianfang was so angry that he fainted. Back to the car. Lao Gao was shocked, although he had sensed it a long time ago. He was still shocked when he actually heard the young master say it himself. He still looked so shocked. Master, you are actually born with it. Oh my god, that's not scientific. From the moment the young master was born, the Gu family concluded that the child had no talent for a warrior. Rather than letting the other person get shocked by the world of warriors, it is better not to tell him and let him be an ordinary person with peace of mind. At that time, everyone concluded that he was at most a third-rate warrior. But now, it was a knight of innateness. What on earth happened? Yeah, it's strange to me too. I suddenly became congenital. Gu Yan pretended to think, then replied in shock, could it be? This is the power of love. What the hell is the power of love? Lao Gao took a deep breath, although he couldn't understand what the young master said about the power of love. But it's a good thing that the young master can practice. At least his own safety is guaranteed a little. Thinking of this, he asked, then where are we going next, master? Where are you going? Gu Yan thought about it and quickly went over the thoughts in his mind. First of all, there was Shen Wanner. After observing her at the banquet, he found that she seemed to have more interactions with Shaolin. It looked the same as in the original book, but it took too much time here, so he could only wait. The second is Wang Yulan. She is still living in the hospital and the plot hasn't reached her point yet, so there is no need to worry about her for now. Next is Chen Yingyin. She knows about the warrior department and should be joining it soon. By then, I will give her a performance achievement, so there is no need to worry about it for the time being. Then there is Yan King. This M girl is the easiest to deal with, but he can't always take the initiative with her, so there is no need to worry about her for the time being. Finally, it's Bai Quanlan, the eldest daughter of the Bai family and Leng Linger's best friend. She is half of the Dragon King Jade pendant that he needs. But it's not the right time yet, he still needs to wait for a plot node. So he doesn't need to worry about it. After this calculation, Gu Yan found that he had met 5 people from Shaolin's harem in the original Li's harem in the original novel. Moreover, these 5 people, for now, have no feelings towards Shaolin. Very good, this is the right development as long as these concubines do not bring too much help to Shaolin. Ian Kinqi, you will be safer in the later stage. No, how many harems do you have, Shaolin? This person must have a very high resistance to pure love. Right? Gu Yan complained and thought at the same time. In fact, he had thought about whether he should become brothers with Shaolin, who had just come down the mountain. But for some reason, whenever this thought came to his mind, he felt extremely nauseous. Originally he didn't know why. But after Meizu's appearance last night, he seemed to have figured out some things and knew why he hated Shaolin. In the original novel, the author did not clearly state which forces were responsible for the massacre of the Ling family, but now Gu Yan's eyes were slightly cold. Combining the original work with what Lei Qingqiu is doing now, it is not difficult to draw a conclusion. That is every force controlled by Lei Qingqiu. In fact, they were all one of the forces that caused the extermination of the Ling family back then. Why do we need to control the Hades Palace? Because the Hades Palace was involved in the murder of the whole family. Why target the protagonists? That's because the Dragon King Palace was also involved in the murder of the whole family. And Shaolin also killed Leng Linger in the original novel. Why target those harem groups that have not yet met the protagonist Shaolin? That's because their family forces once participated in the encirclement and suppression of the Ling family. Everything Lei Qingqiu did actually revolved around one point. That is revenge. For revenge, one can abandon all of one's humanity, and for revenge, one can give up everything one has. After figuring this out, Gu Yan took a deep breath. Since everyone is Qingqiu's enemy, then, and when he discovered that the pure love technique could provide him with this kind of power, Gu Yan's thoughts have changed. It doesn't matter whether Lei Qingqiu can turn evil like in the original novel. It doesn't matter whether Lei Qingqiu will become stronger or not. This is good enough. Gu Yan didn't want Lei Qingqiu to become the cold-blooded and ruthless person in the original novel again. Inqi, you must be in great pain because my intervention has caused her to be unable to make a normal judgment on something. Just like this time in the Hall of Yama. But it doesn't matter. Guyan closed his eyes to relieve the pressure and said, "Go to Grandma." "Okay, master." The car started and Guyan slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were more resolute and cold than ever before. In this life, Ling Qinyu's enemies are also my enemies. Buzz, Guyan held half of the jade pendant in his hand. "Let me use it, Dragon King Palace." Chapter 101. Arriving at Gu Family Manor and meeting Grandma and Grandpa. Gu Family Manor. Covering an area of about 5 square kilometers, it is the private estate of the Gu family. The manor's theme building looks like an ancient European castle, and the lakeside villa is as beautiful as a fairy tale. Not to mention the various small lakes, exclusive golf courses, gymnasiums, swimming pools and tennis courts in the park. It is not worth mentioning here. The independent wine cellar houses expensive wines from all over the world. Private library, cinema, etc. The Gu family had nearly 1,000 servants for this purpose. Boom. Lao Gao drove the car to the outskirts of the manor. Looking at the door getting closer and closer, Lao Chao reminded Guyan in the back row, "Master, we are here." Upon hearing this, the latter also observed the scene before him. A gate of the manor is a huge iron gate, and the entire manor is surrounded by a wall. There are security guards standing guard at regular intervals along the wall. They are all Gu family's personal bodyguards. The Gu family's bodyguards also noticed the approaching luxury car. A bodyguard stretched out his hand and signaled Guyan and others to stop. Seeing this scene, Guyan rolled down the car window and smiled gently at the other party. "I came to visit grandparents." As the only son of the current head of the Gu family, Guyan naturally knows everyone here. Although he was confused as to why he came at this time when it was not a special day, the bodyguards who got the news naturally nodded and let him go. "Okay, young master. A luxury car Roven. Come to the open-air parking lot of the manor." Didi. Guyan and Lao Gao got out of the car, and immediately a man in a black suit drove over in a small car. Because it is far from the main building of the manor, there are special people who drive over to pick us up. Sitting in the car, Guyan looked at the scenery outside and couldn't help but sigh. The Gu family is so wealthy. As the Gu family is the top family in Zhanghe City, Gu Qianming naturally has various brothers and sisters. Gu Qianming was just the best one among them, so he was chosen as the current head of the Gu family. But everyone knows that who is the real person in charge of the Gu family can only be the 2 elders of the Gu family. That is, the father and mother of Gu Qianming and his brothers and sisters. Why it doesn't matter even if Gu Yan is eliminated with 3 votes. It's because he has too many brothers and sisters. It's just because he is Gu Qianming's son that he is given priority to inherit the Gu family. If it is found that he is incompetent, then there will naturally be the next successor to choose from. As far as he could remember, the younger generation of the Gu family, that is, Gu Yan's brothers and sisters, were all capable people. Anyway, they all looked down on him as a loser. I would be severely ridiculed at every annual meeting. What the hell is this kind of déjà vu of the protagonist's treatment? Gu Yan complained that he didn't have the fate to be the protagonist, but he witnessed all kinds of tragic things. Lao Gao looked at the passing scenery, and a hint of nostalgia appeared in his eyes. Back then, he was Gu Qianming's bodyguard in this manner, and since Gu Yan was born, he has become Gu Yan's bodyguard. So many years have passed in a flash. Ah, I miss it so much. The black-clad bodyguard driving the car ahead was serious looking. As bodyguards of the Gu family manor, they would naturally verify the identity information of every visiting guest. The identities of Gu Yan and Lao Gao had been investigated clearly when they were less than 10 meters away from the manor. They agreed to let him in only after they found out that he was the grandson of the old lady of the Gu family. But as a bodyguard, he also felt extremely strange. Today is not a special day, and there is still more than a month before the annual meeting. Why would young Master Gu, who hadn't pleasant experiences with a group of young masters and young ladies in the past, come here? Oh, he remembered that this year was Mr. Gu's last chance if he was vetoed again. And he will lose the qualification to inherit the Gu family. Thinking of this, the bodyguard couldn't help but feel sorry for Gu Yan. If he could be just a little bit more motivated. I'm afraid I won't miss such a great opportunity. However, even if Gu Yan could not inherit the Gu family, his status was much higher than servants like them. It wouldn't be so stupid as to mock and look down on the eldest son of the Gu family for such a stupid thing. The main building of the manor felt to Gu Yan like a castle. The gate is carved from thick oak, with stone lions standing on both sides of the gate, with exquisite carvings. After entering the gate, Gu Yan found himself in a spacious hall. Exquisite chandeliers hung from the ceiling of the hall, setting off tall and gorgeous murals. And someone had already been waiting for Gu Yan here. A woman in a maid outfit with her hair covering her left eye bowed her head slightly and said, Master, the adults have been waiting for you for a long time. Please follow me. Guyan glanced at the other party and nodded. Okay. Lao Gao wanted to go with Guyan. But the maid looked at Lao Gao calmly. The adults only want to see the young master. Mr. Gao can walk around the manor at will. Upon hearing this, Lao Gao glanced at Guyan, who nodded. Lao Bao bowed slightly. Okay, young master, I'll be waiting for you downstairs. Following the maid up the spiral staircase, Guyan suddenly asked, why do we have an elevator here? Isn't this tiring? A maid walking in front paused when she heard this. Obviously she didn't expect this useless young master to ask this question. On the surface, she pretended to smile and turned around and said, Master, this is the favorite decoration style of the adults. Installing an elevator will ruin this classical decoration atmosphere. Guyan nodded and said softly. After a long time, the two arrived at the 6th floor, which was very spacious and the corridor extended forward. The maid walked forward without saying a word. Looking at the maid in front of him, Guyan suddenly quickened his pace and caught up with her. Shoulder to shoulder, the latter frowned subconsciously. Guyan seemed not to notice this and asked, by the way, I haven't asked you your name yet. What is your name? After the maid thought for a moment, she smiled and turned to Guyan and said, my name is Zhu Hua. The adults' favorite study is just ahead. The adults are inside. After saying that, he turned his head and quickened his pace, with a look of disgust on his face. It's really disgusting. He is not as good as the eldest young master in every aspect. But why does this kind of man get priority in inheritance? Just because of his father's genius? It's really unfair for the young master. Snowflakes. After hearing this name, Guyan seemed to be thinking about something, and a hint of indifference appeared in his eyes. Looking at the other person's back, Guyan thought to himself, it's just like in the original book. In the original label, this maid was actually his brother Guzi, who is secret lover. Ever since Guyan lost his qualifications to be the heir and became confused, Guzi Hu has been thinking about inheriting the Gu family and becoming the head of the family as soon as possible. It was only when he discovered that the old patriarch and his family would rather not choose an heir and let Gu Chanming continue to serve as the head of the family. His heart was twisted, so he sought the help of a mysterious man and asked Zhu Hua, who had been serving the two old patriarchs, to drug the two and kill them. For a while, the Gu family was in chaos, and then Guyan and Lao Gao were intercepted and killed by Shaolin. Gu Chanming completely collapsed. Guzi Hua also stood up again at this time, with the help of the mysterious man and other families, and even colluded with Shaolin to jointly encircle and suppress the entire Gu family. During this period, Zhu Hua always obeyed the orders of her lover Guzi Hua, and always fantasized that when they took over the Gu family, they would live together forever. Unfortunately, at the last moment, the mysterious man appeared and shattered Zhu Hua's dream. Yes, that's right, the mysterious man who gave Guzi Hua the poison and instructed Guzi Hua to destroy the Gu family from within. It was Lang Qingqiu. She was the one who benefited the most from the extermination of the Gu family, because at that time, most of the families in Zhanghe City had already belonged to her. The purpose is very simple. She wants the financial power of all the families in Zhanghe City to expand herself. This would be the only way to get revenge. Better by that time, Lang Linger had already died, so Lang Qingqiu had already turned completely evil. He didn't care about anything and only thought about revenge. After finally taking advantage of Guzi Hua, he killed the two men. The way he died was also extremely tragic. It seemed as if Lang Qingqiu just glanced at the two of them, and they exploded into powder. After thinking everything through, Guyan naturally had no good feelings towards Zhu Hua and Guzi Hua. First, you have not experienced a tragic past, and second, you have not been hungry or cold, and you have not been dissatisfied with the world. Even the Gu family treats you well. As a result, you still did such a thing of devouring your own relatives and masters, which really disgusted Guyan. However, it is not impossible to make use of this love brain. Guyan raised the corner of his mouth slightly, as if he had thought of a great plan. Chapter 100. You can keep it to yourself, unless. Walking along the corridor, the two came to a double door. Dong dong. Zhu Hua knocked gently on the door. Sir, the young master is here. Next second. Flick. An old man in butler's uniform and gold-rimmed glasses opened the door. He saw Guyan at a glance, and a kind smile appeared on his face. Master, you are here. As he said this, the old man stepped aside and said, the old lady and the master have been waiting for a long time. Guyan nodded and then went in. Zhu Hua also wanted to follow in, but unfortunately the old man backed out and closed the door after Guyan walked in. He stopped Zhu Hua and said kindly, the master and his wife only want to see the young master. As he said this, he waited respectfully by the gate. Zhu Hua remained calm but clenched her fists tightly. How abominable! Why can such a loser receive so much favor from the master and mistress? It's obvious that even the young master can't enjoy this kind of treatment. Although she thought so in her heart, she naturally would not show it on the surface. After bowing slightly to the old man, he turned and left. Enter the study. The first thing that catches your eye is the exaggerated number of books filling the bookshelf. Next came the two old men sitting by the windowsill. A man sat at a desk, his face full of wrinkles, his gray hair revealed the vicissitudes of time. But his deep eyes sparkled with determination. His fingers were gently flipping through the book, and he seemed not to notice Guyan coming. The old lady sat opposite, her eyes deep and tolerant, her hands gently stroking the pages of ancient literature. Guyan walked over naturally and sat in the empty seat. The old man asked without even looking up, his voice steady and powerful. Why did you suddenly think of coming to see us two old guys? Didn't you say last year that death would never come? There seemed to be some displeasure in his voice. The old lady smiled softly, raised her head and looked at Guyan, and said softly, Xiaoyan, what happened? When she saw Guyan, or rather, when she saw the thing hanging around his neck, she was stunned. Dragon King Jade? How could it be on Shaikan? Guyan shook his head and said gently, I just happened to be passing by here, and suddenly wanted to visit my grandparents, so I came here. Madame Gu nodded amiably. Is that so? Then let's have dinner together? And she patted the empty seat next to her and said, come sit here, grandma. Like grandma take a good look at you. Okay. Guyan sat down obediently. Time passed minute by minute, and old Madame Gu pulled Guyan and looked at him kindly. Finally he nodded, well, a little more mature than last year. Is it because of the girl from the Lang family? As soon as these words came out, Guyan was not surprised at all that they knew this. Master Gu raised his head slightly and looked at Guyan, especially when he saw the jade pendant hanging around Guyan's neck. Although he was surprised in his heart, he still snorted coldly on the surface. You are indecisive. How can you be so shameless? Gu Qianlong. Shut up first. Madame Gu glared at him kindly, then took Guyan's hand, looked into his eyes, and asked kindly, do you really like the girl from the Ling family? Guyan replied seriously, in this life, I only love Ling Qingqiyu. Even if I die, I won't let her leave me. When Mrs. Gu heard this, a trace of pity flashed in her eyes. What a pity. She reached out and gently grasped the jade pendant hanging around Guyan's neck. Her mind was full of thoughts, and she seemed to recall the scene of that year. What a cruel fate. His own grandson had unexpectedly become the heir to the Dragon King Palace. And the person he fell in love with was Ling Qingqiyu from the Ling family. Madame Gu put down the jade pendant and sighed softly. Chai Chown, your future will not be easy. You need to think it through. Guyan nodded upon hearing this. I understand, Grandma. Gu Qianlong glanced at the jade pendant on Guyan's neck and sighed in his heart. This god really can't stand Shaiqiao's good fortune. He was chosen by the Dragon King Palace to become the heir and was able to practice, but ended up falling in love with Ling Qingqiyu from the Ling family. This is a bad fate. Madame Gu sensed Guyan's determination. So she said, well, you go out first, see who is also in the manor. You two brothers haven't seen each other for a long time. You can talk more then. Guzihua? Thinking of this, Guyan stood up and said, okay, Grandma. And he looked at Master Gu and said, Grandfather, I'm leaving. Snort. Left the study. After greeting the old man waiting at the door, Guyan walked downstairs. He fiddled with the jade pendant hanging around his neck, and images of snowflakes flashed through his mind. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but rise slightly. Well, let's try my luck. And after Guyan left, the atmosphere in the study also became a little heavy. Gu Qianlong said in a deep voice, Xiaoyan has become the heir of the Dragon King Palace. This is also a good thing for our Gu family. It is rumored that the Dragon King Palace only recognizes jade pendants and not people. When the Dragon King Jade and the Dragon King Jade are combined into one, Shaiqiao will be able to command the Dragon King Palace. Once the Gu family and the Dragon King Palace unite, their strength will shock the entire China. It's just that the Ling family is a big problem here. The two of them shouldn't be together. Madame Gu smiled softly when she heard this and shook her head. Tianlong, have you forgotten something? Why didn't the Gu family participate in that encirclement and suppression operation back then? Don't you understand it best? Gu Qianlong was silent. After a pause, he defended himself. After all, the childhood engagement was when I was drinking with that old guy from the Ling family. That's all. Madame Gu interrupted, a smile on her face. Maybe this is called fate. Believe Shaiqiao, I can see that he has changed. Gu Qianlong remained silent and muttered, so how could that old man recognize this kid as the heir to the Dragon King Palace? He seemed to have noticed that the person sitting opposite him had a bad look on his face. So he added, well, I'm not saying that Shaiqiao is not capable. I just can't believe that such a big Dragon King Palace is going to be handed over to our Shaiqiao. Madame Gu smiled and said, who knows, maybe this is fate and luck. After all, Shai Kaun, who was originally tested to have a talent of almost zero, has actually cultivated to the innate level. Yeah. What do you mean by this year's annual meeting? Gu Qilong put down the book in his hand and looked at the person opposite him. The Gu family held a vote, saying that everyone would cast one vote to choose the heir. But in fact the final decision was still in the hands of the two of them. Everyone who participates is just there to provide reference for the two of them. Madame Gu thought about it and shook her head. Let's observe it for a while. In a room. Because the unhappy snowflake came to his happy place again. She calmly drove away the other maids present. Okay. Let me clean up here, you can leave now. Okay, Snowflowers May. Yes, sir. The maids left. The door closed and Zhu Hua quickly walked to a cabinet. After opening it, luxurious clothes were revealed inside. She took out a tight short-sleeved shirt, and a hint of shyness like a young girl in love appeared on her face. She slowly buried her face in it. Master Zhu Hua. Next second. Click, there was the sound of the door being pushed open and shots being taken. Zhu Hua trembled all over and threw the clothes in her hands to the ground in a panic. Immediately following, a voice rang out that froze her expression. Oh, I heard from my grandmother that my brother was also at the manor today. So I wanted to come and see him. Look what I found. Hear this sound. Zhu Hua turned her head and looked over in disbelief. A good-for-nothing young master no longer had the gentleness on his face that he had when they first met. He walked towards me with his cell phone in hand and a nasty look on his face. Boom. Oh. Wu Yan pushed Zhu Hua against the cabinet. And the latter screamed in fear. Hey, what is a maid doing in her master's bedroom? If my grandparents knew that you were plotting against my brother, what do you think would happen? Wu Yan's threatening words reached Zhu Hua's ears. Especially when the other party showed her the photo of himself with his head buried in Gu Zihua's clothes. In an instant, her face turned pale and her whole body went limp because she was so scared. With a plop, she slid to the ground. Zhu Hua raised her head with difficulty. Tears glistening in the corners of her eyes, and her voice trembled slightly. Don't tell the adults. Wu Yan looked down at the other person and thought for a moment. Well, you can let me not tell anyone, unless. Chapter 103. The next heir must be me. You don't want my grandparents to know about this, right? She recalled in her mind what Gu Yan had said to her not long ago. Zhu Hua left Gu Zihua's bedroom with a pale face. Why is this happening? How could this happen? What I did was discovered, and by this good-for-nothing young master. There is evidence of his evil deeds in the other party's mobile phone. If the two adults see it, then everything will be over. It wouldn't matter if she was just a maid, but what if those two adults found out that she and Gu Zihua were actually in a relationship? Then Master Zihua will definitely be implicated. If such a gentle Master Zihua was kicked out of the house because of her, he would be doomed. Don't do that kind of thing. With a nervous mood, Zhu Hua prayed in her heart that Gu Yan would not tell anyone. After all, I have promised the other party that I will listen to him. Only, when she thought of Gu Yan's face, she trembled all over. And was very afraid that Gu Yan would do something to her that would make her despairing collapse. If that was the case, Zhu Hua shook her head fiercely. No, everything she has belongs to young Master Zihua. But if that useless young master really wants her to do something like that, what should she do? If it were Master Zihua, would he forgive himself for being like that? Zhu Hua clenched her hands and went downstairs anxiously. Inside the Gu family manor, Gu Yan and Lao Gao were strolling along the path in the woods. I have to say that if it were open to the public, this place would definitely be a 5A level tourist resort. Gu Yan tossed the half-piece of Dragon King Jade in his hand and asked Lao Gao. Lao Gao, tell me, what I did is so obvious. Do you think Grandma and Grandpa's attitude towards me will change this year? Lao Gao could be said to be the person he trusted most besides his parents. So he wouldn't keep anything in suspense from him. After all, in the original book, the other party was the one who blocked Shaolin's punch for him even though he knew he would die. Lao Gao looked at the Dragon King Jade that was being tossed around so casually. His mouth twitched, his eyes a little distressed. Master, please take it easy. There is no second piece of this thing. As for the old lady and the others, how can a servant like me guess that? Upon hearing this, Gu Yan hung the jade pendant around his neck again. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly and Zhu Hua's face flashed through his mind. He chuckled and said, I'll make a bold guess after today. My grandparents will definitely recognize me as the next heir. Lao Gao was a little surprised and asked curiously, why do you think so, master? After all, the young master gave people a very bad impression in the past 2 years. Although the situation is better this year, it is not much better. After all, most of the prominent figures in Zhanghai City have been hit. Wu Yan shook his head after hearing this, stretched out his hand and raised for fingers. Because, think about it, Lao Gao, although I have many brothers and sisters, There are only a few who can compete with me, or are willing to become the heir. The first one is my brother Gu Zihua. He has always wanted to be the heir to the Gu family. Or rather, everyone else thinks that if my father retires, he will be the next heir. After all, he is gentle and filial to others, and he has also founded a technology company with a market value of 1 billion. He seems to be the most suitable person to succeed the head of the Gu family. The second one is my elder sister Gu Yanrao. She has a degree in finance from the world's top business school. After graduation, she quickly became an elite in the financial field. She has excellent business vision and leadership skills. She is the new generation of business genius of the Gu family. Everyone regards her as the second Madame Gu. The third one is my sister Gu Yingying. She is only 13 years old, but she is a real all-round genius. She has won international awards in network security, finance, computer programming, painting, and composing lyrics for the Guzheng. Everyone calls him the new generation of Lang Qiyu. But hey, he's still not as good as my Qiyu. The fourth one is my younger brother Gu Lini. He doesn't seem to have any special talents. His only advantage is probably that he is the most liked by grandparents. And I, in the eyes of ordinary people, am a useless loser. No matter how you look at it, it seems that I have no chance of succeeding the next head of the Gu family. Hey, what's with that expression on your face? Lao Gao? Listening to what Gu Yan said, Lao Cao's expression had actually become increasingly tense. The look of wanting to laugh but not being able to. He took a deep breath and coughed lightly. Master, since you know that the other people are so outstanding and so competitive, why do you still? The words haven't finished yet. Gu Yan showed a confident smile on his face. He raised the jade pendant on his chest and said to Lao Gao with a smile, "It's not just because of the Dragon King jade on my chest. Moreover, I am Gu Chunming's son. I am also better than those for people in terms of cultivation and starting point." After hearing this, Lao Gao's heart trembled. Looking at Gu Yan, who was radiating confidence, he couldn't help but smile from the bottom of his heart. Aha, yes, the young master is the son of the master after all. The young master has finally come to his senses. It's settled, isn't it? Seeing that Lao Gao understood, Gu Yan smiled and said, "Okay, Lao Gao, just walk around the manor and get ready to live here for a long time." The latter heard. Zhangye High School. Mei Zhu hid in the dark and silently waited for Lang Linger. But today, she discovered something strange. That is, the boy who likes Lang Linger didn't come to class. What's going on? Was he taken away by the people from Xuanwu sect? Mei Zhu was alert and wondered whether she should tell her master about this. And Lang Linger's side. Bi Quan Lan whispered to Lang Linger. "Sister Linger, have you noticed who is missing from our class?" Lang Linger, who was eating potato chips, frowned when she heard this. She tried to think about it, then looked at Bei Quan Lan blankly. "Who? Why?" Bei Quan Lan sighed, took a piece of Lang Linger's potato chips and said, "Dang Feng, the one you asked questions about before." "Dang Feng, oh yeah, I don't think I saw him today. He's sick and taking a leave, not surprising," Lang Linger said casually and then continued eating potato chips. In her mind, she was complaining that the jerk Ku didn't come to send her to school today. Bi Quan Lan smiled wickedly when she saw this. "Oh, I thought he liked you after all. You helped him drive away Wang Zilan and the others before. Shouldn't he have stayed in the classroom to see you even though he was injured?" Hearing this, Lang Linger seemed to have been stabbed in the back of her mind. And she grabbed Ba Quan Lan's cheek and said, "Quan Lan, do you want to die? If I ask a question or help someone, will they like me? My brother-in-law has helped me so many times, so I must fall in love with him." When she said this, Lang Linger's eyes subconsciously became a little unnatural. She let go of Bei Quan Lan's cheek flesh. "Anyway, don't think too much." Bei Quan Lan covered the injured part and wailed. "I was just saying it casually, why are you so anxious?" "Sister Linger, who's in a hurry? Look, you're anxious again. You." Mei Zhu withdrew her gaze from Lang Linger and looked around vigilantly. Although she had not found any trace of the enemy at the moment. "But you must be extremely careful. It can be seen at the previous banquet that the host is even willing to temporarily stop the plan for Miss Linger. So Miss Linger must be very important to her master." Chapter 100. For I don't know if Kinkyu will miss me. Lunch time. Both Mrs. Gu and her husband like to eat lighter food, so their daily meals are mainly vegetarian. It's just that Gu Yan came today, so I specially prepared a few meat dishes. After lunch, Gu Yan accompanied the two old people for a walk in the manor. "Chai Chown, Zihua will come over for dinner. Don T quarrel as soon as you meet like you did last year." Madame Gu seemed to have thought of the scene at last year's annual meeting, so she gave the instructions with some headache. Gu Yan held Madame Gu's hand, his expression very warm. "Grandma, what are you talking about? I was ignorant last year, but I am different this year. Brother Zihua is my respected elder brother, how could I possibly quarrel with him?" If you don't believe me, ask Snowflower. Zuhua followed behind Guyan and the other two, walking side by side with Lao Gao. Hearing Guyan's words, she subconsciously recalled the scene of last year's annual meeting. His own young master Zihu was humble and polite, but after Guyan said a few words to him asking him to stand up for himself, this useless young master flew into a rage and lost his guard. The guests who had come to make such a fuss were all there to watch the joke, and it might be the same tonight. I just don't know what the other party will ask me to do. When I think about this, Zuhua feels very tormented. On the surface, Zuhua replied softly, I also believe that Master Guyan can get along well with Master Zihua. Guyan held Madame Gu's hand tighter as if he had one. Look, even your personal maid said so. Gu Chunlong was walking alone on the side. When he heard the word Guyan said, he frowned in dissatisfaction and said in a deep voice, what a mess. A maid is a maid, not some messed up personal maid. Little brat, stop learning these nonsense. 3 chaotic words in a row expressed Master Gu's dissatisfaction with Guyan's words. Okay, grandfather, whatever you say is what it is. Guyan knew who was the one in power in this family. He replied perfunctorily. You. Master Gu felt that his authority was challenged. Especially by you, kid, what do you mean? Why are you only hugging your grandmother? So I am not your grandfather? Madame Gu smiled helplessly and said. Alright, Chanlong, you should stop talking it. It's rare for Shai Count to come here. Snort. Gu Chanlong snorted lightly, quickened his pace sullenly and walked ahead of the few people. Seeing this, Madame Gu laughed and shook her head. Shai Chown? Look at your grandfather, he is already so old, but he still thinks he is the young man he was back then. Although he was blaming her, his eyes revealed joy. The two old people have a really good relationship. Guyan sighed in his heart, and he said, Grandma, I may have to stay here for a few days. Do you think it's okay? Hearing this, Madame Gu laughed. What do you mean by a few days, Shai Count? You can live here all the time. And you still ask me if it's okay? This is your home, isn't it? Speaking of this makes me angry. When you all grew up, you all went out to buy houses and live in them. This huge manor is only left to me and your grandfather. I can only see you at the end of the year. When Mrs. Gu said this, she sighed softly. Grandpa Gu, who was walking in front, suddenly said, your room is cleaned every day, just move in. Really? Grandfather doesn't dislike me? Snort. Gu Long quickened his pace and ran to the front. Guyan didn't know what to say about this character. Lao Gao also had a smile on his face. The young master and the old lady have a really good relationship. Everyone was very happy. Only, Zuhua's face was pale and she clenched her fists tightly. What's going on? Why? I've never thought about living here before, so what is he going to do? Could it be? Zuhua seemed to have thought of something and her expression gradually became uneasy. Of course, Guyan had no idea about Zuhua at all. It was currently taking a walk with old Madame Gu. At the same time, I was thinking in my heart, did King Qiyu eat well? Although he had asked his aunt to explain the situation and cook today, Guyan actually knew that King Qiyu loved the food he cooked. I could only eat the others with difficulty. I hope King Qiyu won't miss me too much these days. Of course, the other party is busy with revenge and probably won't miss me too much. Guyan has a clear understanding of his current position. He believed that he would be able to make Leng Qiyu really fall in love with him in the future. But he was not narcissistic enough to think that Leng Qiyu could really fall in love with him now. At this moment, Leng Qiyu definitely puts revenge first. And Guyan also believed that as long as he helped Leng Qiyu to avenge himself, then King Qiyu will definitely love him to death by then. Oh, what should I do then? Will King Qiyu say something like, my dear husband, I love you the most? You can say it, right? Right? No, I am thinking too much about it, and I can't even suppress the smile on my face. Old Madame Gu looked at Guyan with some surprise. Could it be that letting Shai Chao live here could make her so happy? She felt guilty, thinking that she had indeed cared less about Shai Chao before. I'll have to scold Tian Ming later, wondering if it was because of work issues that I didn't give Shai Chao the care she deserved. Look how much love my precious grandson needs. Ling family. Miss King Qiyu, I will leave first and come back in the evening. The auntie that Guyan called spoke respectfully to Leng Qiyu. However, Leng Qiyu shook his head and said calmly, no, you don't have to come again. I will solve the problem of eating by myself later. I'll tell Guyan. The aunt was a little hesitant, but it flashed through her mind that Guyan had told her to obey Leng Qiyu in everything. So she nodded. Okay, Miss King Qiyu. After saying that, he left. And after the people left, tick-tock, tick-tock, the sound of the clock echoed in the house. Leng Qiyu just stood at the door. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. She clenched her fists tightly and muttered to herself. If you don't want to come, Then don't come, why don't you come and say it in person? Ling Qingshu took a deep breath, opened his eyes, turned around and walked upstairs. As he walked, he cursed in a low voice, "Do you really think I need you that much? You don't have to keep walking with your eyes closed when I'm not around. And I don't have to worry about you constantly barging into my study and interrupting my practice. I don't have to listen to you nagging in my ear all the time. If you don't want to come, then don't come it's like no one cares about you." Tap tap tap. He cursed all the way to the desk in the study. Ling Qingshu opened the book with a sullen face. "This is perfect. I can study with peace of mind and think about my next plan." Brush 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 brush. Books flipping. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The sound of flipping books stopped. A long time passed. Only a dejected sigh was heard. "Will I not see Gu Yan for 5 days? Are you coming here on the weekend? This bastard. What on earth did you do? By the way, didn't you ask Meizu to protect Gu Yan? It's just right to let her come back in the evening to report the situation. I don't care what he does. It's just because he said he would make me some puffs. I hate men who don't keep their promises." Ling Qingshu took a deep breath and continued to flip through the book. So, why didn't you come to see me for so many days? Is it because you are bored? You are bored, right? So annoying. Gu Yan, you bad guy. Ling Qingshu decided to deal with this bad guy who disturbed her mood. "When I see you next time, I will definitely say with a stern face, these days when you were away were the most comfortable days I have ever had." At the Gu family manor, Gu Yan suddenly looked around vigilantly. "What's wrong, Shai-kun?" Old Madame Gu looked at her darling grandson, who suddenly trembled beside her with some confusion. "It's okay, maybe I'm overthinking it." Gu Yan shook his head. He felt strange in his heart, as if Qingshu was scolding him just now. But that shouldn't be the case. She scolded him before because he kept pestering her and bothering her. Now he is going not to disturb the other person for a few days. Shouldn't the other person feel happy and comfortable? This was just the right time for Ling Qingshu to calm down and think about what happened at the banquet. When he thought of this, Gu Yan admired himself a little. He is such a caring and thoughtful husband. If Qingshu knew his good intentions, would she be so moved that she would want to cry? But when I go to see Qingshu 5 days later, what expression will he have? Would you feel excited and happy because you haven't seen him for a long time? I was just kidding. The other person will most likely say with a cold face, "These days when you were away were the most comfortable days I have had. However, I also love Qingshu with a cold face like this." Chapter 105, Come back soon, bastard. At night. Ling family. "Sister, I'm back." Ling Linger walked in with a displeased look on her face, swinging her school bag. "Sister, you don't know, that jerku is really too much. Not only did he not come in the morning, he didn't even come in the afternoon. My little brother told me that it seems that Guziayu and his housekeeper went to visit his grandmother. It seems like he won't come for days." "Really? What are you doing, sister?" Ling Linger couldn't continue talking and even had a bad feeling. Because Ling Qingshu in front of him was wearing an apron and holding a casserole in both hands and placed it on the dining table. "Isn't the casserole hot? Are you just holding it with your bare hands?" Hearing Ling Linger's voice, Ling Qingshu smiled slightly. "Well, I also know about this matter." She had already learned from Meizu where Gu Yan was going. It turns out that he was just going to visit his grandparents. "Really? I thought it was something else." After knowing that it was just like this, Ling Qingshu's mood became much better. He originally wanted to order takeout. But when he was in a good mood, he wanted to cook by himself. Besides, think about it, takeout is neither healthy nor hygienic. And it is really wrong to let Linger eat that kind of food. So, it is better to cook by yourself. Thinking of this, Ling Qingshu opened the lid of the pot and looked at Ling Linger kindly. "Linger, wash your hands and sit down to eat. Your brother-in-law hasn't been here recently. So your sister will cook for you." Ling Linger slowly typed two question marks, swallowed her saliva, and mustered up the courage to look into the casserole. After just one glance, she covered her mouth in horror. "What is this black and purple sticky substance? Why are there fish eyes floating above and blinking?" "Sister, are you really cooking in a normal way? Even if your cooking skills are terrible, you can't make a dish that doesn't belong to this world, right? Are you a monster? And can you see where the oil, salt, sauce and vinegar are?" Ling Linger's face turned pale, and she smiled awkwardly. This is not necessary. Sister, we can order takeout." Hearing this, Ling Qingshu frowned and lectured. "Why you eatin' healthy takeout food every day? Takeout food is not as hygienic as home-cooked food. Stop being so willful, sit down and wash your hands before eating. I made your favorite fish head soup." "This thing is fish head soup." Ling Linger looked at the big pot that gave off a strange smell with difficulty. Hey, drinking this will kill you, right?" Ling Linger was crying out in her heart. Zany Yugu, please come back soon. If this continues, someone will die. Inside Villa No. 1 Inchanhu Cave. A beautiful figure stood at the gate obediently. Hello uncle and aunt, my name is Yan King. I'm not here to see Gu Yan because he beat me. It's just that we became friends, so I wanted to come over to play with him. Is he here? Yan King mustered up her courage to come find Gu Yan. And when she learned that he also lived here, she was so excited. Gu Chanming and Su Mu looked at each other and saw surprise in each other's eyes. The latter leaned close to Gu Yanming's ear, looked at Yan King, and asked, in a low voice, I say, who is this? Well, the eldest daughter of the Yan family. Gu Chanming responded in a low voice. Su Mu was a little puzzled. Why did they come to see our Yan? What is the relationship between them? Gu Chanming didn't understand either. He wondered, wasn't it the old guy from your Yan family who had summoned other families to come to to ask for an explanation? Why is it that the person who was beaten is now looking for his son? But no matter what he thought, Gu Yan was not at home right now. So he said, well, it's really unfortunate Gu Yan has not been at home these days. He went to visit his grandmother. Hearing this, Yan King's eyes showed a hint of disappointment. Is that so? But soon she smiled again, and she thanked Gu Chanming and Su Mu. Thank you, uncle and aunt, I'll come to see Gu Yan next time. After saying this, he left with a feeling of loss. Gu Chanming and Su Mu looked at each other in surprise. Wait a minute, girl, your attitude makes it hard for us not to suspect that you are in love with our son. Gu Chanming was somewhat surprised and doubtful. This shouldn't be the case. She is the eldest daughter of the Yan family, and she was beaten up by our son. Su Mu nodded in agreement. Yeah, maybe he came here for revenge. At this point, she changed the subject and thought hard for a moment before saying, but if you like our son, I can agree. The Yan family and the Gu family are a perfect match. Hearing this, Gu Chanming interrupted and said, hey, our son already has someone he likes. Have you forgotten about the girl from the Leng family? Su Mu's expression was not very good when he talked about this. If my son likes a normal person, I don't care. But that is a blind person. Gu Chanming remembered that this daughter-in-law, whom he had never met, had changed his son, so he said, what's wrong with being blind? How can you separate them if your son likes you? Besides, you haven't met Leng Qingqiu, so how can you be sure that you won't like this daughter-in-law? Hearing this, Su Mu shook his head and said firmly, it is absolutely impossible to like. It is said that the relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law in China is very stiff. I definitely won't like this Leng Qingqiu even if Yan is really with her. I definitely won't like it. Gu Chanming felt a headache watching this. He grabbed Su Mu's hand and dragged her into the house. He was tough for once and said, I must correct your concept. Chanming, what are you doing? Click, the door closes. Gu family manor. Inside the restaurant on the first floor. In front of a rectangular dining table that is more than 10 meters long. Gu Chalong and old Madame Gu sat in the main seats. Gu Yan sat opposite another well-dressed man with an elegant and easygoing temperament. A plate is placed in front of each person, with the same food on each plate. The two old people like light food, so the younger generations like Gu Yan naturally eat along with them. Zuhua stood behind the man, her eyes revealing admiration. Pastor Zihua is still so handsome and elegant. Gu Zihua put down his knife and fork, wiped his mouth, and looked at Gu Yan with gentle eyes. Brother, we haven't seen each other for a long time, right? Hearing this, Gu Yan looked up at Gu Zihua and said calmly, you are a forgetful old man, we just met last year. Which is not that long. Chapter 106, Seeing Gu Zihua. I still wanna punch you. My brother has become much more humorous. Gu Zihua's eyes flashed with a hint of gloom, then he forced a smile and continued. Brother, have you paid attention to science and technology newspapers recently? The technology developed by my company is on the front page of newspapers and news. I heard that my brother doesn't seem to have a decent job yet. How about coming to my company? I will arrange a position suitable for you. When saying this, Gu Zihua had been observing the expressions of his grandparents. He thought that he was very capable and that they were so considerate and caring towards his younger brother. I believe that the two old people should have figured out who will be the next heir of the Gu family. Right? However, the expressions of the two old men did not change at all, which made Gu Zihua very disappointed and unwilling at the same time. What exactly do I have to do for you to consider me as the next successor? Zuhua felt extremely touched and happy Master Zihua was worthy of being Master Zihua. Not only was he so outstanding, he also cared so much about his younger brother. When Gu Yan heard his brother say this, he felt that it was reasonable for him to react. Thinking about it, he looked at Zuhua. In the end, Gu Yan looked at Gu Zihua as if he was an idiot. Are you stupid? I'm so rich, why would I go to work? Not to mention that I'm busy dating right now. Strengthening the Gu family is what young people like us should do. Xiao Hua, you are too outdated. Zhu Hua was shocked. What? Gu Yan actually said such vulgar words in front of the adults? She clenched her fists tightly. It was really too much to insult young Master Zihua in such a way. Zihua. He tried his best to keep smiling, but he was still asking in his heart. Did I get scolded just now? By this useless little brother? I was scolded, and Zai Hucha? Zihua's breathing rhythm was disrupted. No, calm down. Calm down. Just think of it as being bitten by a dog. Then you bite it back? Besides, Gu Yan seems to have changed a lot compared to last year. If it were last year, the other party would have felt humiliated and flipped the table in anger if I had said that. But it's okay, my grandparents must be extremely disappointed with such a rude brother. Right? Thinking about it, Gu Zihua looked over and saw the result. But it was a scene that he couldn't understand at all. The grandmother, who had originally had a calm expression, now had a smile on her face. Even the serious grandfather couldn't help but smile. Why? Why is this happening? Gu Zihua couldn't figure it out. He put his hands under the table and clenched them into fists. Trying to calm himself down, he took a deep breath and looked at Gu Yan stiffly. I haven't seen my brother for such a long time. He has changed a lot. But brother is doing this for your own good. It's not good for you to keep using the family's money. It's naturally good to have a job. At least people won't look down on you. And you can still have a relationship at your age. Shouldn't you focus more on your career? Maybe you should really consider coming to my brother's company. If nothing else, my brother. Before he finished speaking, Gu Yan interrupted him and said, Excuse me, Gu Zihua. Can you be a little quiet when eating? Do you know that you are very noisy? Gu Zihua clenched his fists and smiled elegantly. Brother, you are right, we should talk about these principles after dinner. Damn you, you idiot. How dare you disrespect me in front of my grandparents? Gu Zihua's heart was filled with anger. He could actually guess the reason why Gu Yan came here. It was probably because he knew that this year was his last chance. So I hurried over here to cram for the exam, to see if I could make a good impression on my grandparents. But, how can I let you succeed? Don't be in a hurry. The more vulgar and rude you act now, the more it will highlight my elegant and easygoing personality. I don't believe that your grandparents would still allow you to be the heir after seeing you in this state. And Gu Zihua sensed Gu Yan and found that he could not sense the other party's cultivation level at all. I sneered in my heart, thinking that he still couldn't practice. How could he compete with me like this? You know, as the new generation of cultivation genius of the Gu family, he has now cultivated to become a first-class warrior. He has good talent, a gentle and easygoing personality, and the ability to establish a technology company. B.S. third-rate warrior, second-rate warrior, first-rate warrior, first-rate warrior. Acquired, innate, master, grand master. Each realm is divided into early, middle, late and peak. Gu Zihua racked his brains but couldn't figure out why his grandparents didn't choose him as the heir. Zhu Hua was also indignant about this. What qualifications did Emir Gu Yan have to fight against young Master Zihua? The two old men smiled but said nothing. Dinner ended in a strange atmosphere. After dinner, old Madame Gu and old man Gu did not go for a walk with Gu Yan and Gu Zihua to help digest their food. Instead, on the pretext of, the two brothers should have a good chat, only Gu Yan and Gu Zihua were left to stroll around the manor. Gu Zihua felt uncomfortable whenever he walked with Gu Yan. I originally wanted to take advantage of the time after dinner to show off my face in front of my grandparents to improve their favorability. But I didn't expect that I would stay with this guy. Gu Yan and Gu Zihua walked side by side, with a distance of 1 or 2 meters between them. Neither of them spoke first. Until Gu Zihua couldn't stand this atmosphere anymore. And because he wanted to see how much his brother had changed, he said with a smile, Brother, do you hate me as your brother? Because there may be a misunderstanding between us. Have you always thought that your brother wanted to take your position as heir? At this point, Gu Zihua sighed and looked at Gu Yan with a loving look. Brother, you are wrong. I don't have that idea at all. Your position will always be your show. Can I compete with you for it? Do you remember that you also received affirmative votes during the annual meeting? In fact, they were all voted for you by your brother. But others don't think highly of you, my brother. Gu Zihua sighed as if it was for Gu Yan's own good. Brother is doing this for your own good, so I hope you can find a good job. At least a respectable one. It won't make other people look down on you. At least if you come to work for me, people will know that you have changed and know how to share the burden for the family. I believe that if we work hard, we won't let so many people vote against it. What do you think, brother? As Gu Zihua was talking, he noticed that Gu Yan stopped. He also stopped and looked at Gu Yan with a smile. Gu Yan didn't say anything, just stood there, staring at Gu Zihua's face carefully. For 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Just when Gu Zihua was about to speak. Next second, he only saw a nasty smile on Gu Yan's face. Ah, as expected, I still can't help but want to punch you. Brother, what did you say? Before he finished speaking, Gu Zihua's pupils shrank. The evil smile on Gu Yan's face flashed by and turned cold and ruthless in an instant. He suddenly clenched his hand into a fist and swung it forward with great force. Chapter 107, The War Master and Servant. The sudden scene made Gu Zihua stun for a moment. He subconsciously circulated his true energy. Just bang! The true energy that was circulating was instantly shattered by the flying fist. Phew! A solid punch hit Gu Zihua's cheek, making a crisp punching sound. Gu Zihua's body was instantly knocked to the ground by this unimaginable force. He even bounced off the ground because he was using too much force. Gu Zihua screamed, his elegant and easygoing temperament instantly shattered. He covered his face and looked up at his brother, who he thought was useless, in disbelief. Gu Yan, are you crazy? How dare you hit me? Gu Yan stood there with a look of disdain and mockery on his face. He clenched his fists and walked over. As the future heir of the Gu family. What's wrong with me punching you twice? What did you say? Gu Zihua was beaten so badly that he couldn't stand up for a while. He covered his face and was stunned by Gu Yan's remarks. To be honest, he didn't expect Gu Yan to do this in such a place. Everything before his eyes seemed like a dream. Idiot. Let me explain it to you in more detail. It means that the position of heir has always been mine. Just because I am Gu Yanming's son. Gu Yan did not stop. Under Gu Zihua's stunned gaze, pa. He threw punches continuously and added a big punch. Bang! Stop it! Each blow hit Gu Zihua's face powerfully and accurately. Bang! Another punch. Gu Yan, stop it, wait a minute. What will grandparents think if you do this? Gu Zihua was going crazy. He didn't expect Gu Yan to dare to attack him, and he didn't expect Gu Yan to be able to beat him. You know, he is a first-rate warrior. Bang! Another punch in response. Don't talk nonsense, you want to lecture me on the truth. Don't you? Speak now. Bang! Wait. Gu Zihua was already beaten black and blue. He weakly called out to Gu Yan, who was trying to hit him, and said, I was wrong. I shouldn't have thought about the position of heir. I give up, okay? He wailed. Gu Yan thought about it. And then, bang! Another punch. Well, Gu Zihua was furious. Is this your bearing as an heir? Hearing this, Gu Yan shook his head and smiled at Gu Zihua. No, actually I don't know whether my grandparents consider me as the designated heir. I just simply don't like you, so I want to beat you up. It doesn't matter to me whether there is an heir or not. My father is still the current head of the family anyway. Don't move, dear. A few more punches will make me feel better. Bang! Gu Zihua's consciousness became increasingly blurred. He was shocked and couldn't believe that Gu Yan would beat him just for this reason. Well, the screams were heard here. And after an unknown amount of time, Gu Zihua lost consciousness. Only then did Gu Yan stand up. He looked towards a certain Ri and said with a smile, Grandmother, as the heir of the Dragon King Palace and the Gu family, it's okay for you to teach your people a lesson, right? Madame Gu smiled slightly as she watched this scene. She seemed very satisfied. She glanced at Zihua, whose face was pale and whose eyes seemed to be about to cry, and said calmly, Go and take Zihua back to her room to heal her. Zihua nodded, pursed her lips and walked over to help Gu Zihua up. She looked up at Gu Yan, tears in her eyes, as if questioning why he had to be so harsh. Gu Yan just shrugged and pretended not to see it. After Zihua helped Gu Zihua leave. Clap, 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 clap. There was a burst of applause. Old Madame Gu walked over with a gentle look in her eyes, accompanied by the old man with glasses who she had seen during the day. She looked at Gu Yan with satisfaction and said softly, Gu Chanming is the child your grandfather and I value the most. Not only because of his talent, but also because of his natural kingly demeanor. Madame Gu gently stroked Gu Yan's head. The Gu family is a big family. A huge family that you can't even imagine. The position of heir is not just about the heir. This also includes some things that ordinary people cannot imagine. Your father is strong enough to hold this position. And you, Shaikouan, I see the shadow of your father in you now. She smiled kindly and said, as the heir of the Gu family, you naturally have to be arrogant. You did a great job. At this point, Madame Gu also reached out and gently picked up the Dragon King jade on Gu Yan's neck, and exclaimed, maybe, this is also the reason why you were chosen as the heir to the Dragon King Palace. Put down the jade pendant. The old man behind him said respectfully, Sir, over there on the snowflake side. When Mrs. Gu heard this, a complicated look appeared in her eyes, as if she was thinking of the night of the snowstorm when she picked up the snowflakes. She shook her head and sighed, let her be. How could she not know that the maid who served her fell in love with her grandson? It's just that because Zuhu was an orphan she picked up when she was young. She has always indulged her. Thinking of this, Madame Gu gently said to Gu Yan, Xiao Yan, don't blame your brother after all, you both have Gu family blood in your veins. Gu Yan nodded fiercely, I will, grandmother. I am not a narrow-minded person. Well, this is what a good and obedient grandson of grandma should be like. The more Madame Gu looked at Gu Yan, the more satisfied she felt. She believed that only someone who was courageous and caring about family could be the heir of the Gu family. In Gu Zihua's bedroom. This bastard actually hit me so hard. Gu Zihua's head was now wrapped in gauze, which could relieve the physical pain. But the pain in my heart could not be relieved. Zihua sat beside the bed, holding Gu Zihua's hand, and said softly, Master Zihua, calm down. If Gu Yan does this, the adults will think he is a violent person. He can forget about getting the position of heir. Gu Zihua thought what he heard made a lot of sense. He would definitely go to his grandmother to complain later. What a hateful guy. But before that, Gu Zihua looked at Zihua, who was taking good care of him. His mood couldn't help but improve. Why did he want to take the position of head of the family? Isn't it just to be able to be with Zihua? The Gu family rules strictly forbid servants from being with their masters. Once discovered, the servants would be kicked out of the house at the very least. And at the worst, their legs and feet would be broken and thrown out of the Gu family. And warriors who practice like him will have their cultivation abolished and thrown out. Everything he and Zihua have will be taken away by the Gu family. Therefore, only after becoming the head of the family could he change the family rules so that he and Zihua could be together openly. He looked at Zihua and said softly, Zihua, don't worry. Give me some more time and I will definitely become the head of the Gu family. By then, you will be the lady of the Gu family. The two of us will definitely be able to change our family's prejudices and come together. The reason why he fell in love with snowflakes was probably because when he was a child, he fell into the water and snowflakes rescued him at all costs. So he fell in love with snowflakes. Zihua felt very sweet in her heart when she heard this. She wondered why she would fall in love with Master Zihua. Maybe it was because when she was little, those people always called her a one-eyed monster and said the other half of her face was ugly. And only Master Zihua was willing to help her drive away those who bullied her. So she fell in love with him. For a moment, the love between the two grew stronger, and Gu Zihua's heart beat faster and faster. The gauze did not cover his mouth. Looking at the shy Zihua in front of him, Gu Zihua mustered up the courage and slowly moved closer. Zihua, I love you. Zihua was also very moved. She closed her eyes and moved closer. Master Zihua. The two lips were about to meet, and a sweet atmosphere filled the room. Only, click. An untimely sound of taking a photo interrupted the sweet interaction between the two. Chapter 108 Gu Yan's well-intentioned threat. Who is it? Gu Zihua was shocked and quickly separated from Zihua. Zihua also stood up in panic and stood aside. They both looked towards the door at the same time. When I saw the person coming, Gu Zihua and Zihua's expressions were stunned. It can be said that this person is the one they least want to see. Gu Yan was seen holding up a cell phone with a photo of the two kissing. He looked at them with a nasty expression. Hey, I was thinking of coming over to see if you're seriously injured. Chow Hua. How come I saw this kind of thing? Gu Yan held up his phone and looked at the two of them. They actually kissed. I'm going to tell my grandmother that the master was having sex with the servant. At this point, Gu Yan's face showed a devilish smile. Chow Hua, will you be stripped of your surname Gu and have your cultivation abolished and be expelled from the family? And Zihua, will you be thrown out of the Gu family with your limbs broken? Ah, I really want to see that scene. As soon as these words came out, they both froze. No, please don't tell anyone. Zihua's body was trembling as she walked towards Gu Yan step by step, leading with tears in her eyes. It's over. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Originally, she was the only one being threatened. But now, even young Master Zihua was threatened. Stand there. Maid, don't get too close to me. I really want to know what your reaction is. Zai Hucha. Gu Yan looked at Gu Zihua jokingly. The first thing I want to make clear is that in the original novel, the Gu family actually plays a villain role. Characters like Gu Zihua and Zihua, on the other hand, are viewed from the reader's perspectives of the upright. In order to be together, the two fought against the old-fashioned villain family that oppressed them. In the end, they overthrew the family and were about to be together. But they were separated by the big villain. Everyone was leaving messages in the comment section at the time crying. The Gu family was too bad, the villain was too bad, and so on. But I'm sorry, now that Gu Yan has come to this world, there is no such thing as a good or bad perspective. He only knew that he needed the Gu family, and he really needed the support of the Gu family. However, these two people were willing to kill their grandparents in order to be together, and even join forces with the villain Shaolin to overthrow the Gu family. Isn't this causing trouble for him? He could kill these two people directly. But, how should I explain this to my grandparents? So he thought of another way, which might be more interesting. Zihua was filled with despair that he had been caught by this guy. He lowered his head and clenched his hands tightly. If the responsibility lies with me, My cultivation will definitely be destroyed and I will be expelled from the Gu family. But if the responsibility lies with Suhua, then she will definitely suffer more severe punishment. Zihua figured it out. He took a deep breath and looked at Guyan seriously. All this, the words, "It's all my fault," haven't been uttered yet. But she was interrupted by Zuhua, who was standing beside her. "It's all my fault. I was the one who wanted to seduce Master Zihua." She pursed her lips and looked at Guyan with a determined look. "Xiao Zhu." Zihua looked at the other person in shock. Zuhua glanced at Zihua for the last time, with a look of farewell in her eyes. She took a deep breath and looked at Guyan. "Master Guyan, please take me to the old lady. I will bear all the consequences alone." "Xiao Zhu, don't, you will definitely die." Zihua looked at Guyan and shouted angrily. "It's all my fault. It's my fault. If you want to expose someone, just expose me." However, the situation was different from what the two had expected. Bang bang bang. Guyan listened to this and clapped his hands with great emotion. And he wiped away the non-existent tears and said with emotion, "You have really surprised me." Guyan looked at Zihua, who was a little stunned. "I didn't expect that you really liked this mate so much. Zai Hucha?" And he looked at Suhua again. "I didn't expect you to be so bold. Do you really like Zihua?" Okay, if that's the case." As when the two thought that Guyan was moved by their true love and was going to give up exposing them, Guyan changed the subject and grabbed Zuhua's wrist under Zihua's wide-open gaze. He said coldly to Zihua, "Let me see how much you love each other. From today on, I will be staying at the Gu family manor for a while. And during this time, Zuhu will be my personal maid. As for you, Zihua, I'll have someone pick you up and leave the manor tomorrow morning. By the way," as if to emphasize something, Guyan looked at Zuhua viciously. "During this period, no matter what I ask you to do, you have to agree, otherwise." He held up the kissing photo on his phone and said, "You don't want the young Master Zihua, you like to have his tendons cut and be kicked out of the house, do you?" Zihua's eyes were red with anger when he heard this. He roared, "Guyan, you are not a human." After yelling, he looked at Suhua again. "Xiao Zhu, don't agree to him. The worst that can happen is that you will be kicked out of the family. We can still live together outside." On Zuhua's side, she looked at Zihua, who was begging her not to agree. And then looked at Guyan, who was pinching her wrist hard with a nasty smile in front of her. "Your name is Zuhua, right? Thank you for saving me before. So I am here to help you if they continue to bully you. Tell them my name. I am the young master of the Gu family. My name is Zihua, remember? Snowflake, can I call you Xiao Zhu?" "Xiao Zhu, I seem to have fallen in love with you. Master Zihua has helped me so many times, and he has a bright future ahead of him. So now..." Zuhua pursed her lips slightly, a tear rolled down her cheek. She looked miserably at Zihua, who was in shock, her voice choked with sobs. "Master Zihua, Zuhua really likes you, so please let Zuhua help you." The corners of Guyan's mouth twitched as he watched. Hey, that's enough, I really mean enough. Please don't act out this kind of sad drama in front of me. Why didn't you shed a single tear when your grandparents were killed in the original book? Furthermore, you are acting as if I am a bad person. But it is obviously you who are the evil ones who devour your own relatives. Okay?" Guyan felt that he was offended. To be honest, he doesn't actually stand on any side after all. He is not from this world. Whether he is a villain or a good guy, he will just make the best of it. He just wants to survive with King Qiu. So to do this, he has to do a lot of things and gain a lot of power. The World Correction Force is really too terrifying. So until now, he still lets Meizu stay by Ling Linger's side. I was afraid that if I wasn't careful, Ling Linger would die. Someone from the Leng family, who was looking up at the starry sky with a pale face, suddenly trembled all over. Click. The gate is closed. Zihua sat on the bed with a dull look in his eyes, left the bedroom. Guyan's bad expression suddenly disappeared, and he let go of the hand that had been pinching Zuhua's wrist. Then he yawned and walked towards his room. "It's so late. I should take a shower and go to bed. I've been tired all day." Seeing this, Zuhua wanted to follow with a desperate look. But Guyan turned his head and said inferently, "Your first task is to stay in the room next to Zihua tonight and don't come out. From now on until the annual meeting, you are not allowed to meet with Zihua. As long as you can do this, I promise not to expose you. He can even help you meet again at the annual meeting and let you go far away to fulfill your dreams. Don't look at me like that. I just want Zihua, a potential rival, to behave himself before the annual meeting." Zuhua was a little stunned when she heard what was going on. Just like this? Zuhua was a little confused. Why was it just this way? What else do you think? Guyan stopped walking after hearing this, looked at the confused man, and then said seriously, "But you can just fantasize about making love with the other person in the room next to Zihua. And then follow your desires and make some noises. Snowflake. She understood it in an instant, and when she looked up at Gu Yan, he had already entered the room. Zuhua couldn't help but mutter to herself, "Is that all? What a strange person." However, there was hope in her eyes. If that was the case, then as long as they could hold on until the annual meeting, it would be a victory for her and Master Zihua. Although I don't know why you did this, but you think that not seeing each other for dozens of days will affect the love between Master Zihua and me. That's it, you are totally wrong. Gu Yan, just wait and see. This is a battle that Master Zihua and I must win. Chapter 109. The arrival of subordinates and the establishment of an organization. Author's words. In the new year, I wish you all success in your career and studies. May you become rich in 2024. 12 o'clock midnight. Gu Yan sat on the bed in his pajamas. In front of him, there were 10 masked men in black robes kneeling on one knee, reporting respectfully. According to the explanation, they were the 10 warriors in the middle stage of the innate realm sent by his father. They are all warriors trained by the Gu family, so their loyalty goes without saying. Each of them has no name, only a number, and they are all trained as killing weapons. I didn't expect that Dad was so efficient. In fact, they had arrived a long time ago, and Gu Chunming had already informed Madame Gu and the others. It's just not convenient to appear in public, so he waits until Gu Yan is alone in the bedroom before showing up. Gu Yan looked at the 10 loyal people in front of him. According to what his father said, these 10 people were his subordinates. In that case, so here is my first mission. Gu Yan said in a deep voice. I need you to build an organization hidden in the dark for me. For the organization's personnel, find me orphans and do a good job of brainwashing them. You, stretch out your hand. Having said that, Gu Yan stretched out his index finger and spoke to the person closest to him. The latter extended his hand without hesitation. Next second, the ring on Gu Yan's index finger that had transformed from the three-lives demon claw began to wriggle. Rub! A small sharp claw instantly shot out onto the hand of the person in front and directly sank into it. After doing all this, Gu Yan calmly looked at the person closest to him and said, From now on, you are the captain of the 10 people. Codenamed Demon Claw. The claw that is embedded in your body is a tool for communicating with me. I will call you again before the end of this year, and I need to see the outline of an organization by then. Go down. Having said all this, Demon Claw and other warriors responded respectfully. Yes. Rub, just like teleportation or displacement. Moklai and others disappeared from this place in an instant. After waiting for everyone to leave, Gu Yan lay down on the bed again, seeming to be thinking about something. Very good, the plan is proceeding in an orderly manner. With the help of the Gu family, many things have become much easier to do. If he were to rely on himself, he probably wouldn't be able to accomplish so many things. Suddenly, Gu Yan thought of something, and a hint of teasing appeared in his eyes as he looked out the door. I wonder how Gu Zihua is doing now. Oh, I'm really looking forward to seeing his expression tomorrow morning. In the room, Gu Zihua hasn't fallen asleep yet. He holds his head and recalls what Gu Yan said in his mind. During this period, no matter what I ask you to do, you have to agree. How would Xiaozu be treated? She was just a maid. And Gu Yan was the eldest son of the Gu family. And because of me, Xiaozu might have no choice but to listen to Gu Yan. What will happen? How will Xiaozu be treated? It's all my fault. If it weren't for me. Gu Zihua's eyes were filled with pain. He just wanted to be with Xiaozu. He just wanted to change this old-fashioned family. So he made every effort to do so, studying hard since childhood and working hard to express himself when he grew up. A purpose is to become the heir of the Gu family. But do grandparents like that loser, just because his father is Gu Qianming? Why, how can such a villain be qualified to lead the Gu family? Gu Zihua's heart was bleeding. He really didn't dare to think about what kind of treatment Xiaozu was facing now. And at this time, a muffled groan suddenly sounded. Gu Zihua's heart was startled. This voice seemed to sound familiar, and it seemed to come from next door to him. Gu Zihua's eyes were filled with fear, and he put his ear against the wall in disbelief. As a result, the sound that seemed to only appear on EV programs actually reached his ears clearly. And listen carefully, this is the sound. Xiaozu. Gu Zihua's eyes became dull. It seemed as if all the strength in the body had been drained away. No. How could Xiaozu? Gu Zihua didn't dare to think about that scene. He didn't dare to listen anymore, but directly covered his head with the quilt. My whole body was shaking with various complex emotions such as regret, anger, shock, and grief. Wow. Gu Zihua whimpered weakly in the quilt. Why, Gu Yan? I hate you. The other side of the wall. Only one person, Snowflake, had a happy smile on his face. Master Zihua. Just wait a little longer, until the annual meeting, and then we can be together. Early the next morning, the gauze on Gu Zihua's head has been removed. After all, he is a warrior and his recovery ability is far beyond that of ordinary people. So Gu Yan did not use his full strength. So even though there are still some bruises, it's almost healed. Gu Yan sent Gu Zihua to the open-air parking lot. He looked at the numb Gu Zihua with a smile on his face and said, "I'm sorry, Gu Zihua, Zihua should have been the one to send you off. But unfortunately," at this point, Gu Yan licked his lips. With an inexplicable expression on his face, "she was too tired yesterday." He has the evil face of a villain. Lao Gao's mouth twitched when he saw this. He wondered what the young master was doing. "Didn't you go to bed early yesterday? Oh, by the way, it seems that the young master's 10 warriors have also arrived." He waited outside the door and left only after he felt the 10 people left. The young master should have been asleep by then, and had no contact with the maid Zhuhua at all. Is it possible? Lao Gao glanced at Gu Zihua, who was standing beside him and looked like he was about to collapse because of what Gu Yan said. He suddenly realized that the young master was really bad. In fact, Gu Zihua had already guessed something when Zhuhua didn't come to see him off. But when Gu Yan said it himself, he still felt a little overwhelmed. Gu Yan. Gu Zihua clenched his fists tightly, his eyes were red. And he looked at Gu Yan, as if he wanted to say something. But in the end he didn't say anything. He got into the car that came to pick him up and left without saying a word. In the car, Gu Zihua couldn't help crying. But as he cried, he clenched his teeth and said, "It's okay, it's okay. The relationship between me and Zhuhua will not be damaged by this setback. I will definitely be with Zhuhua." Watching Gu Zihua leaving, Lian's face also lost interest in performing. The highlight is coming next. He wants to stay here and spend some time with his grandparents. Let's consolidate our favorability again. Gone, Lao Gao. Okay, master. Chapter 110. Gu Yan realized that because I miss you. Ling family. I'm going to school, sis. Ling Linger shouted upstairs while carrying her small school bag. Then quickly closed and locked the door and rushed out. In the study, Ling Qingqiu was reading a book as usual. But I kept thinking in my mind, today is the second day that Gu Yan is not here. Bang! Ling Qingqiu slumped over the book with an embarrassed look on his face. What was going on? Why was he thinking about such things? I shouldn't always think about the other person. What I should be thinking about is revenge. Ling Qingqiu, Ling Qingqiu, don't you want revenge? Men will only affect the speed of your revenge. Gu Yan is not here. So he won't bother you anymore. You should be happy. Don't think about him. He has only been gone for a few days. Didn't you get annoyed by him staying by your side all the time? It's rare to have some peace and quiet. Ling Qingqiu hypnotized himself and seemed to feel better. So I started reading books again. Knowledge is endless and it is never too much to read. Normally, Gu Yan would sit next to her and watch her read. Although I was always alone before, after Gu Yan came, I seemed to get used to having someone sitting next to me. So annoying. Bang! Ling Qingqiu hit the book with his head again. She opened her eyes and a shy look appeared on her face. I told Gu Yan that I like him before, but I immediately changed it too. I like puffs. She clenched her hands subconsciously. But I don't know if that guy heard it. Is it because he heard it that he doesn't dare to face me and chooses to go see his grandparents? Still didn't hear it. Of course, I hope he can't hear it. After all, I am the king of the night organization. Like people or something. Like, brush. The scene from that year suddenly flashed through my mind. Blood and body parts. One after another. All the family members and clansmen she once knew and understood died in front of her. Her parents put her and Linger under the same bed. Qingqiu, don't come out, don't come out. Protect your sister, Qingqiu. Mom and dad will come pick you up soon after they finish dealing with the enemies. Qingqiu, I'm sorry, run away. No, it shouldn't be like this. The look of pain appeared on Ling Qingqiu's face. She clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. Am I too lazy to actually fantasize about living like an ordinary girl? Have I forgotten the path I should be pursuing? Revenge. Revenge is what I should do. Ling Qingqiu sat up again and opened the book. His expression had become extremely indifferent. Ling Qingqiu, you really shouldn't fantasize about such unrealistic things. Gu Yan is just a tool you can use on your road to revenge. With the help of the Gu family behind him, he can become the nourishment on your road to revenge. That's right, that's what you should do. Falling in love with someone like a normal girl? How are you going to explain this to the Ling family members who died? And to your parents? All you have to do is protect your sister. Everything else isn't important. That's right, this is just perfect. I'll use these days when Gu Yan is not around to find my former self. Gu family manner. Gu Yan suddenly covered his chest vigilantly. He looked around. Lao Gao looked at him puzzled. Master, what's wrong with you? Gu Yan didn't say anything after hearing this. Just holding my chest. He took a deep breath, and for some reason, A feeling of sadness suddenly surged in his heart. Why is this happening? It was the same before. Suddenly, he felt as if Lang Qiyu was scolding him, and seemed very angry. And a feeling of loneliness came over me. And now, it's like sadness, endless sadness and complexity. It's okay. Lao Gao, let's go find Grandma and the others. Bu Yan shook his head. He was a little hesitant. Could it be that something happened to King Qiyu? Should I go back to find her right away? But it's not possible. If I can't inherit the Gu family, how can I gain the power of the Gu family? How can I protect King Qiyu? King Qiyu can't turn evil now? And I don't want her to turn evil. The only way is to improve one's own strength. And the Gu family must make use of it themselves, and only by gathering all the power in the original work can they use it for themselves. Only in this way can we ensure that nothing goes wrong. Only then can the dam ending be turned into a chi. Time passed slowly, but the complicated emotions in Gu Yan's heart did not improve. On the contrary, they seemed to have become even worse. After dinner, with mixed feelings, Gu Yan was walking absentedly with his grandparents. It seemed that he could see the confusion and complexity in Gu Yan's heart. Grandma smiled slightly. She took Gu Yan's hand and told the story of herself and her grandfather. Shaikian, did you know that your grandfather was just a piece of wood at that time? He obviously liked me, but he just didn't say it out loud until the end. When he saw another boy confessing his love to me, he just realized that he had to express his feelings to me. Don't look at him being so silent now. We did a lot of unexpected things during our relationship. Gu Yan was somewhat surprised to hear this. He looked at his grandfather, whose expression seemed to have become somewhat stiff, and couldn't help but laugh. So my grandfather also has that side. Grandma nodded and said, yes. Her eyes seemed to be filled with longing for something. This is love. Love can change a person. It can change so many things. Love? This word echoed in Gu Yan's mind. I love King Qiyu. But does King Qiyu love me? I clearly like the other person. But does King Qiyu really like me? Like. As soon as Gu Yan thought of this, he couldn't help but slow down his pace. His eyes also became a little strange. Wait a minute. Love. Love. Gu Yan was suddenly stunned. And the prompt the system gave him after he left the Ling family suddenly popped up in his mind. Let the pure love object like you, points 10W. Gu Yan was not bragging. Ever since he had tied himself to a pure love object, he seemed to be able to sense any fluctuations in Ling Qiyu's heart. For example, now, his mood is very complicated. Gu Yan blinked. And one really get 100,000 points by liking Puff? No way. Gu Yan seemed to realize something. He covered his mouth. Wait, no way? An inexplicable excitement and warm emotion broke through Gu Yan's chest. He stopped. Master? Lao Zhao looked at the other party with some confusion. Grandma, Grandpa, I think I still have to go back. Gu Yan raised his head. A look of joy that he had never had before appeared on his face. Well, be careful on the road. My grandmother seemed to have realized something a long time ago. And she nodded kindly. After getting the answer, Gu Yan hurriedly looked at Lao Gao and urged him fiercely. Lao Gao, hurry up, send me to the Ling family. Oh, looking at the two people leaving in a hurry. Old Madame Gu smiled with relief. It's really good to be young. Ling family, sister, don't you want to take a break? Ling Linger looked at Lang Qiyu, who had been sitting at the desk, with some worry. The other person seemed a little strange, as if she had turned back into the older sister she used to be. Well, Linger, go lock the door downstairs. No one will come to our house recently. Lang Qiyu nodded calmly, and then ordered, close the study door tightly. Lang Linger seemed to be hesitant to speak, but she still replied. Okay, sister, but don't be too tired. It will make brother-in-law worry. Having said that, he closed the door and walked out. However, after hearing this, Lang Qiyu's eyes were extremely calm. Brother-in-law. Oh, is it Gu Yan? It doesn't matter. Nothing matters anymore. I have already figured out my own path. No matter what, I will not have any emotional fluctuations because of him. That's good. My life is like walking on thin ice, and the only way he can take is revenge. Gu Yan is just a step on my road to revenge. Next second. Snap. Crash. As the window was opened, a cold wind blew in. Sorry, King Qiyu, the door downstairs in your house is closed. You won't blame me for climbing in through the window? Hearing this hurried voice, Ling Qiyu's heart was shocked. She stared blankly toward the window, and a fiery source of light that seemed even more dazzling than before appeared outside the window. What's going on? Ling Qiyu asked subconsciously. Didn't you go to visit your grandparents? Yeah. I'm a filial son. Gu Yan climbed in through the window and gradually walked towards Ling Qiyu. Aren't you going to stay there for a few days? Ling Qiyu asked. Why don't he ask? Don't ask anymore. Pretend you don't care. Because I suddenly had something to do, so I stopped living here. Guyan took a deep breath, as if he was making some mental preparations. Things? What things? No, why can I help but respond? I was almost back to normal. Why? This matter is. At this time, Guyan had already walked to Ling Qingyu's side. He looked at Ling Qingyu, stretched out his hand, and buried the other's head in his chest. And his gentle and loving voice also reached Ling Qingyu's ears. This matter is that I miss you, Qingyu. In an instant, Ling Qingyu was stunned. Plop, plop. Then, an inexplicable emotion began to surge out from her chest. She pursed her lips and gave up thinking. She buried her face in Guyan's warm chest, breathing in the scent of his body. Why do you want to come back at this time? Bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy. Guyan, you are such a nasty villain. How can I forget you if you are like this? How can I be so cruel as to use you? Pure love object likes point so new. Pure love object likes it very much. Points to W. Pure love, the other party likes it very much. Ois 3W. Ancient martial arts world. In front of a round table in a certain space. Well, night is born again. The lord of the Hades palace is dead. Yan Huang is dead, Yi appears again. Well, I think you all understand now. Everyone looked at the person sitting in the main seat. The man stood up, exuding a terrifying aura, and said slowly, "From now on, all forces will go to the secular world. We must find the trace of night. Then destroy them completely. It doesn't matter even if the ancient martial arts world is exposed. The world cannot be destroyed because of night. We must protect this world." Chapter 111. Do you really want to hear me say I like you? Ling family. Guyan had no way to pay attention to the system prompt sound, because at this moment, his mind was full of Ling Qingyu's image. He just said, why would liking a puff add 100,000 points? It turns out it's not because of liking the puff, but because I like him. Feeling Ling Qingyu in his arms, Guyan couldn't help but sigh. Why are you shy, Qingyu? It's not shameful to like me. Thinking of this, Guyan hugged the other person tightly. He wanted to speak directly, but when the words came to his lips, Guyan's voice was still a little nervous. Qingyu, I already understand. I know everything. Ling Qingyu was still enjoying the warm feeling at the moment. But after hearing what Guyan said, she suddenly became a little nervous. No. The fact that he is the leader of the night organization has been exposed? Could it be that Mei Zhu, who was placed next to Guyan to protect him, was discovered, so the organization was exposed? Does Guyan know everything he has done? What is the situation now? Guyan knows what he has done, but he is still willing to hold her like this. Why? Could it be that, even though he knew what he had done, Guyan was still willing to be with her? An inexplicable impulse appeared in Ling Qingyu's heart. If this is the case, Guyan, Ling Qingyu pressed against Guyan's chest. With a complicated expression, you know everything? Then why are you willing to come back? She was very nervous when she said this. She still wanted to hear Guyan say it in person. Because then, maybe, she would be able to face up to her feelings for Guyan. Hearing this, Guyan put his hands on both sides of Ling Qingyu's shoulders, and then gently lifted Ling Qingyu to face him. Qingyu. Guyan took a deep breath. Blap, plap. Ling Qingyu was extremely nervous and was about to say it out loud. If Guyan really said it, then what should she do? Although she was reluctant to admit it, she found that she seemed to feel more comfortable staying with Guyan. Ling Qingyu felt extremely nervous, and the next second, just listen to Guyan. I understand your feelings for me. Qingyu, you really do love me, don't you? Guyan shouted nervously. He understood everything, the system's prompt, plus the restlessness in his heart. That's right, Ling Qingyu, I like him. But because the other party is too shy. Therefore, he also wanted to help Qingyu reveal the other person's true feelings. Ling Qingyu's inner expression. No, I am waiting for you to say that with all my heart, even if you are the leader of the night organization. I still want to be with you. Such things, the result is not what I thought. Ling Qingyu's expression and mood suddenly calmed down. She interrupted Guyan's excited speech. Wait a minute. You know everything. Isn't this what you call I like you? Guyan nodded upon hearing this. That's right, although saying this seems to make me appear very narcissistic. But, Guyan grabbed Ling Qingyu's hands and held them in his palms. Then looked at Ling Qingyu, who was so close to him, with deep affection. I can be sure that Qingyu, you like me. If you ask me why, it's because the restlessness in my heart keeps reminding me. Qingyu, you felt extremely lonely in these 2 days when I was away. If sound could be materialized, it would be something like I really want Guyan to accompany me. The words fell. Bang. Only ghosts are lonely. please don't say such obscene things in such a serious tone. Ling Qinkyu became extremely embarrassed and angry. As if her secrets had been exposed, she twisted her slender waist and kicked Gu Yan away with a sidekick. Ugh. Gu Yan was kicked and flew onto the sofa in the study. He raised his head and looked at Ling Qinkyu in shock. Wait, isn't I a congenital one? Why was he kicked away? Of course, the most important thing is not this, the important thing is. Gu Yan raised his hand and tried hard to grab Ling Qinkyu in the air. Qinkyu, listen to me. Maybe there are some problems with my words, but don't you like me even a little bit in your heart? He looked at Ling Qinkyu with great desperation. Although the system has already told him that Ling Qinkyu likes him, Gu Yan said, I just want to hear Qinkyu say husband I love you in person. Is it really that difficult? Gu Yan also understood that Ling Qinkyu in her current state was just too shy or considering many things, so she was unwilling to admit this feeling. But Gu Yan just won't give up. Before I hear, I love you, my husband, I won't give up. When Ling Qinkyu heard Gu Yan's question, her body suddenly froze. She clenched her fists tightly, and although she tried her best to appear extremely calm, Gu Yan still found something strange. That's right. The other person's ears turned red. Say something weird and stupid. It was the same thing in the bathroom before you asked me this question out of the blue. Ling Qinkyu suppressed the shame in her heart and walked to the sofa where Gu Yan was with a calm face. Then, bang! He pressed his body downward and slapped his hands directly on the sofa on both sides of Gu Yan's cheeks. The hair fell from top to bottom on Gu Yan's cheeks. Ling Qinkyu's heartbeat quickened on the surface. She said calmly, do you really want to hear me say I like you? You are such a willful guy. Do you think that just because I said I like you, I really like you? All if you think that after I say this, you will be happy for the whole day, then I will fulfill your perverted wish. Looking at the beautiful face so close to him, Gu Yan was stunned for a moment. Gulp. Gu Yan swallowed subconsciously. Are you going to say it? Although the style of painting is a bit strange. Plap, plap. The noise in the study gradually quieted down. The intense heartbeat sound fell into the ears of the two at this moment. Not my heartbeat, not my heartbeat. Ling Qinkyu comforted herself in her heart. And then, under Gu Yan's expectant gaze, Ling Qinkyu's lips moved slightly, and her calm but trembling voice reached Gu Yan's ears. I like you, but only a little bit. I just said this to satisfy your wish. Please don't misunderstand anything. A moment. If your love interest confesses to you, you will get 10 W points. The objective pure love feels ashamed. Point so new. The inner thoughts of the objective pure love. Chapter 112. My shoulders have been a little sore lately. In addition to the system prompt sound, Gu Yan's mood at this moment also reached a level of excitement that was difficult to describe in words. He just felt that pink bubbles seemed to appear in the surrounding scene. Ling Qinkyu could no longer bear this kind of atmosphere. It was obvious that she had lost her warmth after practicing evil magic. But now, for some reason, her body and cheeks felt a little hot, and she just wanted to get up quickly and open the window to ventilate. I should have known better and not tried to be cool. It only made myself upset. Are you satisfied, you pervert? Think about what I said and be happy all day long. Ling Qinkyu said this sarcastically, then prepared to get up and open the window to get some fresh air. Result. King Qinkyu. However, Gu Yan grabbed Ling Qinkyu's arm as she was about to escape. Then when the other person's body stiffens, pull him along. You, what are you doing? Ling Qinkyu was in a state of panic. She saw Gu Yan pulling her directly into his arms, and the two of them lay down on the sofa together. What's even worse is that the man is on the bottom and the woman is on the top. Qinkyu, my Qinkyu, I really love you to death. Gu Yan hugged Ling Qinkyu tightly and expressed his love to her. Ling Qinkyu was very ashamed and panicked. She slapped Gu Yan and said, let me go. Linger is still at home. If she sees us. The words haven't finished yet. Snap. Sister, what's going on here? It's so loud. Linger walked in and couldn't continue talking. She looked in shock at Gu Yan, who suddenly appeared in her study. And the current situation. Linger was shocked. Sister, what are you doing? Ling Qinkyu sat on Gu Yan in a panic. Linger, it's not what you think. Looking at Ling Qinkyu sitting on Gu Yan, Linger's expression was like this. Oh. She nodded and left the study. Ling Qinkyu felt extremely ashamed and humiliated. It's over. My sister actually saw this scene. All this. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. Ling Qinkyu stretched out his hand and slapped Gu Yan's chest repeatedly with a shameful look on his face. Being touched by a pure love object, points 200. Being patted on the chest by the object of pure love, points 500. Qinkyu, no, this is too intense. Gu Yan was in pain and happy at the same time. Why does this add points? Your system is really wrong. At the dinner table, Ling Qingqiu, who had said to his sister inferently half an hour ago, "I'm not hungry, eat by yourself." At this moment, he was eating his meal in a very unpromising manner. She kept picking up food with her chopsticks and ate very quickly. Although he ate very quickly, he gave people an extremely elegant feeling. It made Gu Yan feel very pleasing to the eye. Is this the passive skill of a beauty? She looks good even when she eats quickly? Gu Yan propped up his face and looked at Ling Qingqiu with a smile. Eat slowly, why do you seem like you haven't eaten today? When Ling Qingqiu heard this, the chopsticks in her hand paused for a moment. She looked at Gu Yan with an unfriendly expression, then snorted and turned her head immediately. He started to eat again. In addition, there is Ling Linger sitting on the other side. She ate the 3 dishes in one soup on the table with tears in her eyes. 3 dishes in one soup, just 3 dishes in one soup. Just a simple 3 dishes in one soup. Ling Linger ate as if she was moved, wiping her tears as she ate. The corners of Gu Yan's mouth twitched as he watched. Hey, that's not the case, girl, you act like you've never had anything delicious in your life. Although I admit that I have god level cooking skills and can cook delicious dishes, there is no need to be so excited, right? He really wanted to ask Ling Linger what happened during his absence. Of course, he recalled the miserable scene in the kitchen when he was cooking. He coughed dryly, as if he understood something. After dinner, Ling Linger, who was full of food and drink, stretched comfortably in her seat. Han looked at Gu Yan expectantly. Brother-in-law? Are you going to leave later? Look, this little fish doesn't even bother to cry out. Ling Qingqiu wiped his mouth gracefully, then pricked up his ears inadvertently. Under the expectation of the two, Gu Yan chuckled and said, I'm not leaving. I decided to stay with you two sisters. After all, it seems like daily life has become a problem for you two without me. The previous servants are all gone, and you didn't want what I called you. There is no other way, I have to do it myself. As soon as these words came out, Ling Linger stood up with joy, ran to Gu Yan happily, and hugged his arm. Yeah, brother-in-law, you are the best. Gu Yan curled his lips, speechless. Lie, you are only like this now. You will be more serious in a few days anyway. Gu Yan said that he had seen through this brat a long time ago. Ling Linger looked aggrieved and shouted, Brother-in-law, you look down on me too much. Linger, I like the dishes you cook the most. Do you like the food I cook? Gu Yan slowly put a question mark, then sighed helplessly. On Ling Qingqiu heard Gu Yan say that he wanted to stay. She suddenly felt much happier for some reason. Of course, it was definitely not because Gu Yan wanted to stay. It was simply because the food the other party cooked was delicious. So there was someone serving her and that sort of thing. Of course, before that, Ling Qingqiu narrowed her eyes slightly as she looked at the 2 clumps of life essence that were stuck together. He coughed softly. Linger, you should take a shower. Gu Yan, come with me to clean up the dishes. Ling Linger let go of Gu Yan after hearing this, with an inexplicable smile on her face. Oh, and he skipped into the bathroom. After seeing Ling Linger leave, Ling Qingqiu stood up and started to pack up. Qingqiu, let me do it, you just go lie down on the sofa in the living room. Gu Yan also came over to help, and said something that made Ling Qingqiu's expression freeze. Sofa, lying down? Ling Qingqiu thought of the scene just now and felt extremely ashamed. She gritted her teeth and said in a cold tone, don't even think about it. You pervert. Gu Yan said that he didn't understand what Qingqiu was saying, but since Qingqiu was willing to help, he couldn't spoil the mood too much. Soon, crash. There was the sound of running water in the kitchen. While washing the dishes, Gu Yan watched Ling Qingqiu's neat and efficient work. As he watched, he couldn't help but exclaim, as expected of our Qingqiu, the dishes he washed are so clean that they can even reflect my handsome face. Ling Qingqiu's lips curled up slightly, but he quickly suppressed it and said lightly, Narcissism. Is this called narcissism? Qingqiu, I'm not saying this. Just touch my strong muscles and listen to my voice. You can imagine what your good husband looks like, right? I can't think of anything. Let me put it this way. Qingqiu, your appearance after gender change will probably be similar to mine. Are you a pervert? Perversion is the passport of perverts. And I, my Qingqiu, I have only pure love for you. Ling Qingqiu rolled her eyes inwardly. She turned off the faucet and wiped her wet hands on Gu Yan's body. And he said, wash the rest yourself. Gu Yan looked at the pool with only a few bowls in it and nodded. Oh. Ling Qingqiu walked to the kitchen door, and seemed to have thought of something, and her heart was moved. So he turned around, tapped his shoulder pretending to be uncomfortable, and said, my shoulders have been a little sore lately. After saying that, he walked out without waiting for Gu Yan's reaction. Only Gu Yan was left, who was stunned at first, and then an excited expression appeared on his face. I also worked harder to wash the dishes. Are you playing hard to get with me? Woman, oh, you have successfully attracted my attention. Chapter 113 Cricket Guyan. After cleaning up the dishes, I went to the living room. Guyan saw Ling Qingqiu sitting elegantly on the sofa with her eyes closed. Her hands were lightly folded on her legs. She was wearing a simple home outfit that gently outlined her slender figure. The whole picture was full of tranquility and elegance, as if time became slow and delicate in her presence. Gulp. Guyan swallowed his saliva helplessly and walked over. Qingqiu, here I come. Ling Qingqiu had been waiting for a long time. Although she had been trying to give herself psychological counseling since the beginning. When Guyan got closer and closer, she still felt a little nervous. No, Ling Qingqiu, it was you who took the initiative to ask this in front of the other party. So why are you backing down now? Ling Qingqiu took a deep breath and calmly picked up a rubber band from the table beside him. She reached out and skillfully tied up her loose hair, revealing her tempting white neck and tender ears that Guyan couldn't help but want to lick. After Guyan walked to the sofa where Ling Qingqiu was sitting. Standing there, he seemed to be able to smell the fragrance emanating from Ling Qingqiu's hair. Is this a girl? She exudes fragrance? Go ahead, let me see if your skills have declined. Ling Qingqiu leaned on the sofa with an extremely calm expression. It has been a long time since my last massage, and my body is once again becoming sore and painful due to a series of reasons such as staying up all night. She could have held it in originally, and she had even gotten used to it. But ever since Guyan had massaged my body before, it was as if some strange switch had been turned on. I can no longer bear the physical wear and tear caused by staying up all night studying. My body is so weak that it affects my study progress. Ling Qingqiu thought indignantly in his heart. Of course, asking Guyan for a massage was not for any other reason. It was just to allow himself to return to normal, study better, and then take revenge. It's not because I feel comfortable that I asked Guyan to give me a massage. After all, Guyan's massage made me feel uncomfortable again. This time, I will definitely not lose my composure like I did last time. Ling Qingqiu seemed to have thought of the time when she was pressed unconscious, and her mood became very bad again. The crickets are talking. Just thinking about it. Guyan was already ready. He stretched out his hand and pressed it on Ling Qingqiu's shoulder. I'm starting, Qingqiu. It's rare that Qingqiu takes the initiative. I must use all my strength. God-level massage technique. Activate. Ling Qingqiu was just about to nod and say please. But the next second, crackling. It was like I got an electric shock all over my body. A surge of pleasure rushed straight to her head. All the cells in my body seemed to be jumping for joy because of Guyan's technique. Ling Qingqiu clenched his teeth, raised his little head slightly, and fell in love in an instant. Cricket Guyan. I will not succumb to such a poor massage technique. 10 minutes later, Ling Linger had already finished washing. She changed into a set of bunny pajamas, took some snacks from the refrigerator, and jumped to the living room to watch TV. As soon as I walked into the living room, I saw Ling Qingqiu lying on the sofa with a ruddy face and her arms covering her eyes. The other person was breathing slightly, his wet hair stuck to his forehead, as if he had just experienced something terrible. Guyan was wiping his hands with a napkin, and his hands still looked a little wet. Ling Linger's mind instantly flooded with dozens of gigabytes of content that she had watched. No way. Ling Linger opened her mouth slightly and looked at her elder sister in disbelief. Sister, are you so brave? I originally thought that you were just a TS underee. So there was no new emotional development between you and Guyan. I was ready to help, but you. Ling Linger took a breath of cold air. Is this what they call a contrast? She looks like a serious elder sister. But actually, she looked at Guyan and said in disbelief. Cricket Guyan. Cricket's words are superfluous. Guyan curled his lips and sat on the sofa on the other side. I'm giving your sister a massage, don't misunderstand anything. Massage? Ling Linger was stunned, then looked at her sister's current condition. No, this is obviously not a condition that can be achieved through massage. Right? Are you some kind of ex-drug chef? The kind that will also explode? Seeing Ling Linger's expression, Guyan shrugged helplessly. I'm telling the truth, I originally wanted to have a full-body massage. But Guyan's tone sounded somewhat regretful. This was the result of using all this strength. As pressing on the shoulder and neck was enough to make Ling Qingqiu beg for mercy. In less than a moment, she lay down on the sofa, sweating profusely, and refused to let Guyan touch her anymore no matter what. Ling Qingqiu felt very humiliated as she listened to the conversation between Guyan and Ling Linger. It actually happened again. It's really abominable. But it doesn't matter, this is all your own fault, Guyan. If you restore my physical condition, I will be better able to difficulties and obstacles that lie ahead. When the time comes and I take away your Gu family, I hope you won't regret giving me a massage today. Thinking of this, Ling Qiyu couldn't help but burst into laughter in his heart. Sister, are you okay? Ling Linger walked to Ling Qiyu, stretched out her hand and poked him, which surprised her to find that Ling Qiyu's body was actually hot. Huh? It's so strange, my sister's body was always cold before. Did the massage improve her blood circulation today? Hearing what his sister said, Ling Qiyu put down his arm and sneered. It's okay, it's just a simple massage. As she spoke, she stood up with the help of the sofa, but her feet went weak and she almost fell. Guyan stood up distressed. Qiyu, let me help you. How dare I let you touch me again? Need not. Ling Qiyu immediately scolded. I can walk by myself. After she finished speaking, she stood up forcefully and walked towards the bathroom. I'm going to take a shower. It's so annoying, I'm sweating all over. By the way, during the massage, Guyan's breathing was too loud. I always feel like he's been sucking something. With strange thoughts in mind, Ling Qiyu left the living room. Guyan felt a little regretful. Hey, he hadn't absorbed enough Qiyu's energy yet. Ling Linger looked at her elder sister who was leaving with unsteady steps. She felt a little moved, so she pulled the corner of Guyan's clothes, raised her head and said, Koka Thislai, brother-in-law, I want a massage too. Hearing this, Guyan smiled at her and said, go away. Ling Linger immediately became furious and said, what do you care about me, you bastard? I'm your sister-in-law. So what if I ask you to give me a massage? This is Qiyu's exclusive massage technique. Just stay aside and pound yourself with your hands. You know that a massage is very tiring, okay? Guyan sat back on the sofa, with a look that made Ling Linger want to hit him. Damn it. It's hard, my fist is hard. I, Ling Linger, will remember today's shame. Ling Linger yelled loudly, and ran away with the snacks. Guyan smiled lightly. What a brat. Oh, yeah, I seem to have forgotten something. What was it? On the street outside the Ling family, Lao Gao sat in the car silently, looking at the phone in his hand and lost in thought. Should I give the young master a call? Chapter 114. Heaven did not give birth to Ling Linger. Well, I'm staying here tonight, you can go back, Lao Gao. That's all. Hang up the phone with Lao Gao. Guyan put down his phone and lay down on the bed, looking up at the familiar yet unfamiliar ceiling. This is the bedroom where I stayed the night before. Although I really want to make love with Qiyu who just came out of the bath. It's a pity. The other party hid in the study with a cold face and locked the door. Guyan said that the child has grown up and knows how to avoid suspicion. Look, even the good husband is not allowed in. Although it was a pity, Guyan felt that today was extremely fulfilling. I know Ling Qiyu's true thoughts, although I know them through the system. But it is enough. After all, as the biggest behind-the-scenes villain BOSS in the future, what's wrong with having a little personality? Who would have thought that his original purpose was to avoid the death plot and go find Ling Qiyu? The ultimate villain? Unexpectedly, he actually fell in love with Ling Qiyu. After all, she really piqued his interest. It's not surprising to fall in love. Although Ling Linger is a female ghost, now that I'm familiar with her, she feels much better than she did at the beginning. Even so, sometimes it still makes him feel speechless and his blood pressure rises. System, check the panel. Guyan muttered to himself. Next second, a familiar panel appeared, and Guyan checked the total pure love value he had obtained today. Pure love value, 23W. Because I had greatly improved my favorability with Ling Qiyu, my points also increased rapidly. In addition, as the skills are advanced, the pure love value can be exchanged for all items, and can also be used actively to bring some unique effects. As for what the pure love value can do, Guyan actually only has a vague understanding and has only tested part of it. Although he really wanted to consume the pure love value directly to improve his cultivation. But he changed his mind and thought that his innate cultivation was enough to deal with the current situation. After all, as the eldest son of the Gu family, he had countless subordinates. I rarely take action, so there is no need to improve my strength too much. This pure love value should be used in other places. In case of any unexpected events in the future, this pure love value can play a big role. Calculating the time, it's almost time for the annual meeting. I have to hurry up. Guyan closed the panel, then picked up his phone and started watching short videos. As I was brushing my brush, suddenly I heard a familiar song. I didn't expect that I could be so crazy for you. Landslides and tsunamis are gone, and you don't even want to escape. Guyan was stunned. Isn't this me? Looking again. Isn't this the banquet venue? Looking more closely. How come it is so close to the stands? He looked at the number of likes. It had only been a few days, but it had already reached 2 million likes and 500. 0 comments. He clicked on it and took a look. Love it. Is this the first-person perspective? This banquet looks so classy. Who is this handsome guy playing the piano and singing? I don't know, is he some celebrity? You don't understand. Do you? I'm from Zhanghe. This is a banquet hosted by a big boss in Zhanghe City. It's full of well-known people. The singer is a top rich kid, singing for his wife. Shocked. It turns out that rich people also like to sing and dance. What do you think? It is said that the dream of the richest man in the neighboring city was to become a singer. He accidentally became the richest man in the city, and even invited a group of celebrities to sing with him. Hello, hey, this first-person perspective looks so familiar. Uyan looked at the blogger's avatar, which was a little yellow-haired boy wearing a black mask. His eyes were full of disdain, and he gave the camera the middle finger with his finger with shiny manicure. His NT this Langlinger? The corner of Guyan's mouth twitched, and he clicked on the homepage to take a look. The blogger's name was Lang Wang. Guyan clicked to follow him and randomly clicked on a video to watch. As soon as you enter, you will hear cool and wild music. And then Langlinger and a group of people wearing colorful clothes stand in the camera. Everyone put their hands in their pockets. Langlinger stood in the middle, looking up, wearing a mask, and said in a contemptuous tone, "Little leather shoes, JK clothes, my name is arrogant. Remember that. Don't tell me I'm young and frivolous. I only know that the winner is the king. I am a wild horse that doesn't know the way home. But I must eradicate you, a villain." After finishing, Langlinger pointed her finger at the camera and said viciously, "Remember this." Then there was a social dance. What kind of crazy little sister? Do you know what would happen if your sister knew about this? The corners of Guyan's mouth twitched as he read it. Then he opened the comments section and saw a bunch of words mocking Langlinger. There were even netizens who came to do some research on the latest banquet video she posted. What? The spirited little girl is actually a rich girl. 666. They say that rich people are all psychopaths. It seems that this is true. You have a tattoo on your body. Little spirit girl let us give applause to the social people. With comments like these, Guyan soon discovered the fierce confrontation between the authoring netizens. Who is the spirited little sister? You know shit. This is a trend, don't you understand? Oh, a poor old man who is 30 years old and still has no girlfriend. What a poor loser. Can you please not get close to the teapot spout? Please, my family, who understands? Amen, you said you XXXXX. You're just jealous of me, bitch. Look at the waistline of your tiger tank. Even if Sangda comes here, he will have to praise you for your excellent Jimmy foundation. Auntie, what do you mean by leading the child astray? It's obviously you as parents who have no manners. Report? I'll report you XXX. Guyan watched the fierce online confrontation where several messages were sent out every second. He covered his face. Wait a minute. This little ghost is a bit complicated. Isn't he? Does he attack everyone indiscriminately, regardless of gender or age? You are very brave, but do you know that if you do this, your account will be blocked soon? Sure enough, it took less than a few seconds. Langlinger's avatar immediately turned into a gray pattern. And then a message popped up on the main page. The user you are following has been banned from posting works for 30 days. A scream of shock and annoyance came from the other room. Guyan smiled helplessly, put down his phone, closed his eyes and lay down to sleep. This little brat, you'd better pray that your sister doesn't find out. Langlinger angrily closed the short video software. She lay on the bed, slapping it with her legs. I'm so mad. Langlinger's pretty little face was filled with resentment that couldn't be vented. Damn it, it's so infuriating. All the little black guys. Get out of here. Why doesn't anyone appreciate my art? Langlinger was speechless when she thought about this. Why was no one watching the video she had carefully shot? As a result, the singing video of Guyan that I casually shot suddenly became popular. Most importantly, that group of netizens also reviewed her carefully filmed videos and mocked her as a psychopath. Hateful. I'm so mad, my account was also blocked. Langlinger's resentment could not be vented. So she took a deep breath. If that's the case, she quickly got out of bed and ran to the door, making sure it was locked. Then he walked to the bed, bent down and took out a box from under the bed. She looked at the box with some excitement in her eyes, licked her lips and carefully opened the box. Inside, lying quietly, was a novel whose cover looked like it was for people under 18. This is a romance novel that Bi Quanlan lent her a long time ago. It can be said that this novel opened another door for her. But when I watched it before, I thought it was boring, so I kept it under the bed. But now, Langlinger picked up the novel, and it was clearly written on it. Is it weird that I like XXXXX, XXXX? Langlinger held the book in her arms and closed her eyes. Although she felt very sorry for her sister, this fantasy made her feel extremely stimulated and excited. So she hopes that her sister and Zany Ujiu will always be in love. That's right. If I, Langlinger, had not been born, the road to cattle would have been as dark as the night forever. Langlinger opened her eyes and picked up the book. Her face flushed. Tonight, here comes the cow. However, just as Ling Linger was about to open the tissue. Dong dong. Linger, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you sleeping so late? Ling Qingqiu knocked on the door and asked worriedly. Lang Linger trembled all over. Chapter 115. You did a good job, sister-in-law. Ling Qingqiu stood outside the door, feeling a little worried. She had closed the door of her study and was studying philosophical problems hard. As a result, Linger suddenly screamed loudly. Did something happen? In the room, Lang Linger looked at the banned book in her hand and her expression became a little flustered. But when she saw the locked door, I gradually relaxed inside. As an excellent book appraiser, you must always learn from past lessons and experiences. For example, now, she has learned to lock the door, so she immediately pretended that nothing happened and said to her sister outside the house. No, it's okay, I didn't do anything. Outside the house, Ling Qingqiu was a little suspicious. What's going on? It's obvious that Lang Linger is lying and hiding something from her. Especially, Ling Qingqiu put his ear to the door. Blap, blap. Ling Qingqiu listened and nodded. Well, as expected. I heard Linger's rapid heartbeat, and her breathing became a little nervous. She is hiding something from me. Ling Qingqiu felt a little uneasy when she thought of this. She turned the handle and wanted to go in to see what was going on. Result, but found the door was locked. When Ling Qingqiu saw this scene, his speculation became even more intense. Linger would never lock the door before. But now it is locked. What does this mean? This shows that the child has grown up and has privacy. Why does he have privacy? That's because there's something hidden in the house. Combined with what Gu Yan said before, about the extracurricular books in Lang Linger's room. Therefore, based on calculations and guesses, Ling Qingqiu is 99 sure. Lang Linger, there are some extracurricular books hidden in the house that have not been put away. Or something else, and that thing is something that even her sister cannot know. Is it a mobile phone? Thinking of this, Ling Qingqiu said softly. Linger, please open the door. Is there something wrong? Sister will help you too. Inside the house, Lang Linger was sweating as she watched the turning handle. Wait a minute, sister, you still want to come in? You weren't like this before. Lang Linger wanted to say, sister, please go back soon. But she felt a little guilty listening to her sister's gentle voice outside the door. Lang Linger looked at the book in her hand again. The look in his eyes was very complicated. My sister cares about me so much, but here I am doing this. This is really not right, eh? Tonight the cow can't come. Lang Linger sighed lightly, then quickly put the novel back under the bed. And he walked quickly to the door and opened it with a click. Then, and he saw Ling Qingqiu with a cold face. Lang Linger. 10 minutes later. Oh, sister, please don't do that. Don't take that book away. No, sister. Lang Linger hugged Ling Qingqiu's thigh with a sad face. She couldn't believe that Ling Qingqiu had found the 18-rated novel she had placed under the bed so accurately. She was shocked. Sister, you are a fairy. You can find all of this. Ling Qingqiu was impartial and fair. She had already figured out from the sound of Lang Linger moving that she had hidden something under the bed. Now it seems that the other party is indeed reading some indecent novel again. Ling Qingqiu couldn't bear it when listening to Lang Linger's excited, frightened, regretful and painful voice. It seems that this book is very important to her. But that's why I have to collect it, otherwise it will affect my study. So Ling Qingqiu stopped and looked kindly at Lang Linger, who was lying on the ground hugging her thighs. She shook the book in her hand and said, Linger, I will return it to you after you finish the college entrance examination. Lang Linger looked at the book written in Iutuwn and wanted to say in her heart, sister, please give it back to me soon. If this thing is seen by the idiot Gu, her reputation will be ruined. This will really be considered as a pervert. Sister, please give it back to me, your sister, Lang Linger said while crying. Ling Qingqiu smiled helplessly, squatted down and pulled away Lang Linger's hand that was hugging her thigh. Be good, be obedient, and go to bed early. After saying that, blick, the door was closed, and Lang Linger could only watch helplessly as Ling Qingqiu took away the book that would bring her social demise. Return to the study. Ling Qingqiu stuffed the confiscated books randomly into the bookshelf. Then he sat back at his desk and started studying. In his mind, he kept shaking his head at Lang Linger's performance just now. What kind of book could make Linger so upset? Isn't it just a book? Ling Qingqiu sighed helplessly. After all, the child had grown up. After thinking about it, he started studying again. As he was learning, Ling Qingqiu looked towards the study door again. Will the noise made by Linger and I wake up Gu Yan? Will he come to see me? For some unknown reason, Ling Qingqiu walked to the study door again and opened the locked door with a click. That's good. After doing all this, she quickly returned to her desk and started studying. But I was thinking whether Gu Yan would come over late at night. For example, make me a bowl of brown sugar ginger water or something. Early the next morning. Good morning, both of you. Didn't you sleep well last night? Gu Yan slept well yesterday and got up this morning to make breakfast. Looking at the two sisters coming down the stairs, Gu Yan greeted them. But the state of the two people is very strange. Lang Linger looked depressed and uneasy, and when she saw Gu Yan, she didn't dare to look him in the eye. Lang Qingqiu looked tired and just snorted when she heard Gu Yan's greeting. Gu Yan was a little confused what was going on with these two people. What happened last night? But no matter what, Gu Yan put breakfast on the table. Go wash your face, brush your teeth and eat. I made pan-fried beef vermicelli this morning. As soon as these words were spoken, Lang Linger and Lang Qingqiu were both attracted by the fragrance. Yeah, brother-in-law, you're awesome. Lang Linger recovered her strength and immediately ran over to wash up. Lang Qingqiu was more reserved. She walked to Gu Yan and stretched out her foot and stepped hard on the others in step. Then she snorted in front of him, turned around and followed him to wash up. I actually slept for a whole night, which made my expectations go in vain. Gu Yan took a breath of cold air. What's going on? But Gu Yan looked at Lang Qingqiu's back and gave her a thumbs up. Even Qingqiu was so cute. On the dining table, Lang Linger bit into the fried dumpling and yelled to Gu Yan, "Brother-in-law, you should take me to school today. Right?" Hearing this, Gu Yan replied to Lang Linger, "I'm already here, how can I not send you off?" Lang Linger smiled happily when she heard this. Brother-in-law, you are so nice." Then he picked up a shengjian and handed it to Gu Yan's bowl. "Brother-in-law, eat it." Gu Yan said speechless lie. "I don't want to eat the shengjian handed to me by the little ghost." Lang Linger was immediately dissatisfied. "Hey, you are so rude. This is a future internet celebrity who picked up a fried dumpling for you." Okay. Lang Qingqiu ate the fried dumplings quietly, squinting his eyes slightly as he watched the two interacting balls of life essence. What's going on? When did Linger and Gu Yan's relationship become so good? She didn't enjoy the food. Lang Linger glanced at her elder sister and smiled in her heart. Then he stood up and said, "I'll go pack my school bag. You guys take your time eating." After Lang Linger left, Gu Yan shook his head helplessly and was just about to eat the dumplings that Lang Linger had brought over. Another pair of chopsticks picked up the food. Gu Yan was stunned, and turned his head and saw Lang Qingqiu took the fried dumplings in his bowl and ate them. "Qingqiu?" Gu Yan opened his mouth and was about to say something when Lang Qingqiu picked up another dumpling and put it in Gu Yan's bowl. The latter said nothing, wiped his mouth, stood up and went upstairs. Gu Yan was looking at the bowl of shengjian that Lang Qingqiu had given him. Blap. My heart skipped a beat. This Qingqiu is so cute. In short, she is so cute. On the other side, Lang Qingqiu's face felt slightly hot when she returned to the study. And she covered her face. Damn it, why would I do such a thing? Linger is obviously my sister, so what's wrong with a sister-in-law being considerate to her brother-in-law? Why would I feel unhappy? I shouldn't be this kind of person. Lang Qingqiu couldn't describe the feeling, she only knew that she didn't like that feeling. After Lang Qingqiu left and Gu Yan cleaned up the dishes, Lang Linger was already standing outside the door with her school bag on her back. She waved at Gu Yan and shouted, "Hey, you bastard Gu! Can you hurry up?" Gu Yan looked at the other person, and seemed to think of the scene just now in his mind. And he walked over. He reached out and tapped the other person's forehead. The latter covered his forehead and glared at Gu Yan with dissatisfaction. "What do you want to do to me, you bastard? I even assisted you." Gu Yan curled his lips, scratched his head and said helplessly, "You little brat, read less extracurricular books." Having said that, Gu Yan didn't know what to say, so he turned around and walked towards the car. And the voice also reached Lang Linger's ears. "Anyway, you did a great job, sister-in-law." Lang Linger was stunned at first. Then a complicated expression appeared on her face. "You did a good job, Zi Gu." She took a deep breath, showed a happy expression and followed him. "Zany Gu. I want to eat fried chicken legs tonight." "No." Lang Linger. Chapter 116. The plot gradually unfolds, and Tao Hua will find Wang Yelin. John H.A. High School. After watching Lang Linger enter the school, Gu Yan glanced at the blood-red figure who had sat in the back seat at some point. He said calmly, "Meizu, report the current situation." Meizu pondered for a moment, then slowly said, "Xuanwu sect has chosen a boy named Deng Feng from Miss Linger's class as their successor. Ang Feng seems to like Miss Linger, and he has had some academic exchanges with her before." Gu Yan nodded slightly when he heard this. "That's right. In the original novel, Deng Feng is a character who is bullied at will by school bullies. One day when the bullying ended, he was spotted by the leader of Xuanwu sect and chosen as his successor, because there is a pure black tortoise energy in the other party's body. which means that the other party is the son of destiny predicted back then. Then everyone understood the plot. Deng Feng showed amazing talent in cultivation. And when he returned from cultivation, he began long AOTE and script. He taught a lesson to the group of people who had bullied him in the past. And his character changed from being cowardly and afraid to resist to being able to fight against evil forces. Then she met the male protagonist Shaolin, and they became brothers after meeting each other so late. They were determined to punish evil and promote good. Protect this world. It's a pity that Deng Feng's belief in becoming stronger is precisely because he likes Lang Linger and wants to protect her. But until the end when he was killed, Deng Feng didn't know that Lang Linger, the girl he loved, was killed by his sworn brother Shaolin. When the two chatted, they often mentioned that Deng Feng became strong because of a certain girl, but unfortunately the girl was killed by gangsters. Shaolin was also very angry about this and said that he must find the murderer for Deng Feng. Anyway, it's a hell of a joke. Now that the plot is progressing steadily, Xuanwu Gate has already found Deng Feng as the successor. So the stories of the other people related to the protagonist Shaolin should also be unfolded to a greater or lesser extent. Zhangye Eye Hospital. In a private top-level ward. Wang Yelin looked at the report in her hand with some excitement. I didn't expect so many days have passed. I can finally be discharged from the hospital. Wang Yelin put away the report form and was in a very good mood. Just thinking of the figure in her mind, Wang Yelin couldn't help but sigh. Why, she leaned on the bed, looked out the window, and murmured, "What is Guyan doing now? It seems that he has never come to see me since he arranged a ward for me." Although it sounds ridiculous, Wang Yelin found that she seemed to have a different feeling towards Guyan, her mother's student. The other person's figure kept lingering in her mind. No. Wang Yelin shook her head vigorously with a complicated expression. Because the other party was her savior and her mother's student. I am so old, how can I think about that kind of thing? Not to mention, the gap between the two of us is really too big. Wang Yelin sighed. Guyan was young and promising, and she still had a mother to take care of. So she obviously couldn't think about these things. Of course, Wang Yelin felt much better when she thought of her mother. Because my mother's attending physician said that after proper treatment, my mother's condition is getting better and better. If she continues like this, she might even wake up. This is all thanks to the mysterious man who paid for their medical bills. Wang Yelin thanked that person from the bottom of her heart. But unfortunately she didn't know who he was. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something, and there was some hesitation in her eyes. No, the person who paid for her mother's medical expenses was also Guyan, right? No way. Wang Yelin tightly grasped the quilt. If this was also done by Guyan, then how could she repay Guyan? Just then, click. A woman in a pink windbreaker walked in with a smile. When Wang Yelin saw this man, a hint of helplessness appeared in her eyes. Tao Ying, I really don't want to join that organization you mentioned. It sounds like a pyramid scheme to me. Tao Ying is the granddaughter of an old man she met when she was in the hospital. But she seems to have some kind of Chuyuni Bu syndrome. Keep saying weird things to her. Tao Ying shook her head slightly when she heard this. She sat beside Wang Yelin's bed and advised, Sister Yelin. The world has changed suddenly. The Tao Hua Club is no longer as good as before. You have the power of the flower god in your body. You are the girl of destiny, and you are the future leader of the Peach Blossom Society. Only you can lead us back to the top. Here we go again. Wang Yelin sighed helplessly and looked at Tao Ying with pity. Tao Ying, you are starting to talk nonsense. What about the ancient martial arts world of warriors? What about the Peach Blossom Society and the spirit of the flower god? You are really too brainwashed. Tao Ying has come here to persuade several times. And she has lost some patience. If it weren't for her grandmother asking her to approach Wang Yelin, she would not lower herself to deal with such an ordinary person. So she changed the topic and said, don't you want to think about your mother? Her treatment costs are very expensive. If you join the Peach Blossom Club, we can provide you with the subsequent treatment costs for your mother. As soon as these words came out, Wang Yulin was stunned. Her mother was her weak spot, and the subsequent treatment costs mentioned by the other party made her very excited. Besides, she also wanted to pay back the medical bills that the mysterious man had paid for them. So this time Wang Yelin did not refuse like she did before, but thought about it and said, I'll think about it. Tao Ying's eyes flashed with annoyance when she saw this. After hearing what he said, she still needs to think about it. She took a deep breath and smiled on the surface. Okay. Sister Yelin, just call me if you want to. And I really want to remind you that there are indeed extraordinary powers in this world. In addition to us, there are even magic warriors. Their methods are very evil. They will do anything to achieve their goals. Wang Yelin nodded as if she was listening to a story. Tao Ying stopped talking. She stood up, said goodbye, and walked out the door. But when she got to the door, her originally kind expression suddenly turned into something extremely sinister. Tao Ying, the sect master, never said anything about paying for her mother's medical expenses. You also know the situation of our sect, right? A man looked at Tao Ying, who came out and said lightly. Oh, of course I know. Tao Ying waved her hands irritably. She didn't expect that the Tao Hua Society, the leader of the magic world, would. They have actually fallen to this point now. If they had not surrounded and wiped out that existence in order to get a piece of the pie, they would not have fallen to this point. Thinking of this, Tao Ying sneered. Let's do it the way of our magic sect. Hasn't she been unable to let go of her mother? Then, let's help her put it down. The man nodded calmly after hearing this. I understand. He gestured, for the Peach Blossom Club. Tao Ying also made the same gesture, for the Peach Blossom Club. That's right, for the revival of the Peach Blossom Society. Wang Yelin must join them. Chapter 117. The various plots of the protagonists. In front of Jianye High School, Guyan already knew Lang Linger's current basic situation. Overall, it seems that the other party is not in danger right now. Okay, I'll leave now. As for you, Guyan glanced in a certain direction and said to Mei Zhu, think about how to explain it to your companions. The latter was stunned. Should he explain to his companion? She looked out the window along Guyan's room, and her pupils suddenly shrank. I saw a butterfly lying outside the window at some point. Clivia. Mei Zhu's heart tightened. No, how could the Clivia butterfly be here? That's right. Mei Zhu suddenly took a breath of cold air. She remembered. When I reported to my master about the relationship between Ding Feng and Xuanwu Gate, my master said that he would send Clivia to protect Lang Linger in case of any accidents. But she forgot this for a moment because of Guyan's guarding order. What should I do now, or how should I explain it? Because her master's order was for her to protect Guyan, but Guyan asked her to protect Miss Linger. No. Mei Zhu nodded with a grim expression. Since he's here, does that mean the other party is here too? Thinking of this, her figure disappeared from the car. Guyan smiled slightly. Clivia. He was a loyal subordinate and never revealed any information about Lang Qingqiu until his death. In short, a loyal subordinate is a good subordinate. Guyan started the car and left, leaving the job of explaining to Mei Zhu. After all, during the conversation just now, Guyan already knew that Lang Qingqiu had already told all members of the Yi organization about his identity as her husband in the secular world. Oh, I didn't expect it to be so bold. Is this an official announcement? A happy smile appeared on Guyan's face. Go back and see Qingqiu. There is nothing to do recently. Just wait for the plot to ferment. So, take advantage of now to spend some time with Qingqiu. After all, we will be busy later. Whenever Guyan thought of the people related to the protagonist Shaolin in the original novel, he felt a headache. Not only the protagonist himself, but everyone else also has their own opportunities. Everyone is a protagonist in any world. It's really hard for Qingqiu of our family. She has to deal with so many perverts alone. But it doesn't matter. This time, I will be with you too. Ali really looking forward to the time when Qingqiu discovers what I have done. Then he looked shocked. What? Then, will you be so moved that you will lie in his arms and cry, saying, I love you the most, my dear. I'm really looking forward to it. Guyan showed an expectant expression on his face. In a room in a certain community, a man was sitting cross-legged on the bed, and behind him was an old man with his hands on the other's back, his inner energy surging. Well, Deng Feng's face was distorted, and the pain in his body made him scream. Hold on. This is the only way for you to transform. Think about the person you want to protect. Deng Feng, the leader of Xuanwu's sect, scolded and continued to clear the other party's meridians. As he was unblocking, he felt excited. Yes, he felt it. This is the energy of Xuanwu. Deng Feng is the man of destiny. When Deng Feng heard this, his heart, which was about to collapse, seemed to have thought of something. The figure popped up in his mind. The other person extended a helping hand to him when he was in the most embarrassing moment. And only the other person is willing to help me, and even talk to me. That person is the one I want to protect. That's right. The one I want to protect. Linger classmate. Oh! Deng Feng shouted loudly. Buzz. The green light suddenly emanated from his body. Crash. A strong wind blew away the pots and pans in the room. The leader of Xuanwu sect quickly looked at Deng Feng. He was panting heavily, but a Xuanwu tattoo had grown on his back. He was surprised. The shadow of Xuanwu. Done. Deng Feng. You have already entered the realm of a second-rate warrior in one fell swoop. The leader of Xuanwu sect shouted in surprise. Destiny's Child. Is this the Destiny's Child's talent? As by releasing the power of Xuanwu Qi for the other party, he can be promoted directly to a second-rate warrior. An 18-year-old second-rate warrior. There is hope for the revival of our Xuanwu sect. Deng Feng was also very surprised. He clenched his fists. Is this power? The figure that accompanied Linger flashed through his mind. This can be learned from the conversation between Linger and Ba Wang Lan. The other party's name is Gu Yan. Gu Yan. I now have the capital to protect Linger. I will no longer feel inferior in front of you. Just wait and see. Under fair competition, Linger will definitely choose me. Because, you and I are no longer from the same world. Jianyi Pharmaceutical. In the president's office. Shenwaner has been in a good mood recently because not only did she find new partners for the last banquet. Moreover, Xiaolin, the bodyguard, also brought her unexpected gains. She looked at the beauty products in her hands that her subordinates had made according to the prescription provided by Xiaolin. The corners of her mouth couldn't help but rise slightly. Xiaolin, you really gave me a big surprise. Shenwaner murmured to herself. She didn't expect that Xiaolin actually had a magical prescription and gave it to her directly. After experiments, this prescription was found to be surprisingly effective. This made her feel a little curious about the other party. He was very powerful and could also give her a beauty prescription that had never been seen on the market. Who was the other party? To be honest, Shenwaner had already begun to become curious about the other party. Gu Yan left me, but Xiaolin came with a prescription that could make Qianyi medicine stronger. But is this God's compensation to me? Chapter 118. I'll carry it. Ling family. Ling Qingqiu was turning the pen board lie, looking out the window with his eyes open. So many living beings. Ling Qingqiu murmured to herself, with a faint light in her eyes. Since she practiced this evil magic, she has been able to see the life essence of a series of creatures. To put it simply, life essence is the opponent's life value. For example, the scene she saw outside the window was a pitch-black scene with many objects emitting green light. These green light objects were a little blurry, but Ling Qingqiu could roughly guess what they were. And ever since she learned from Yan Huang the reason why her family was destroyed, she has more or less understood the horror of the night. For example, Ling Qingqiu's eyes flashed, and a dagger emitting a strange black mist was held in her hand. She held the dagger and pointed it at the life essence that looked like a big tree outside the window. Gently draw a line in the void. Buzz, wow! The light source that looked like a big tree disappeared quickly after being cut. And in reality, the big tree that had been standing by the road now withered and decayed rapidly, as if all the life had been sucked out of it. Ling Qingqiu felt some of the vitality absorbed into her body, and she curled her lips. There was a flash of light in his eyes, and the tree instantly returned to its original appearance. In addition to absorbing vitality, she can also give back life. And it seems that this is only part of her current ability. Alas, the energy provided by plants and animals is too little. As expected, she still needs to absorb the warrior's soul, so that she can feel something. Of course, she is not someone who kills innocent people indiscriminately, and she will only absorb the souls of her enemies from the past. Having said that, Ling Qingqiu placed the dagger on the desk, and lay down on it, turning the dagger. His expression was very conflicted. The way he practiced was definitely not that of a decent warrior, right? This person is obviously a magic warrior Gu Yan. If he knew his true identity, he would probably be too scared to dare approach him again, right? Why? Ling Qingqiu glanced at the fountain pen. In fact, it was not just animals and plants. Even a dead object like a fountain pen. She gently pointed the dagger at the green pen-shaped life source. Bang! In reality, the fountain pen immediately weathered into powder. Ling Qingqiu blew the powder out of the window. The whole person is not well again. This ability. If Gu Yan knew, what would he think of me? Do you think I'm a monster? Ling Qingqiu's thoughts were in a mess. She felt that any normal person would be so scared after seeing her evil magic that they would not dare to get close to her again. Right? Just when Ling Qingqiu was. Next second. Qingqiu, what are you sleeping so early in the morning? You really didn't sleep well yesterday. A worried voice sounded. Ling Qingqiu was stunned. Oh no, because his mind was too confused. He didn't sense Gu Yan. The dagger is still in my hand. She hurriedly tried to put the dagger away. Result. Why are you still holding a dagger, Qingqiu? It's too dangerous for you to do this. Gu Yan stretched out his hand and tried to take the dagger from Ling Qingqiu's hand. Etc. Ling Qingqiu was shocked and stood up quickly. This dagger was Yi. It only recognizes her as its master. If it is lightly touched by an outsider, its vitality will be drained away. She said she would not let Gu Yan touch it no matter what. So she held it tightly and retreated to the corner. Stay away from me. Gu Yan looked at this scene and slowly put up a question mark. Wait a minute, not to mention that the dagger looks familiar. Qingqiu, you are holding the dagger and retreating to the side. With a very panicked expression. This look. You just wanted to commit suicide? Gu Yan shouted in shock. How is this possible? Ling Qingqiu admired Gu Yan's way of thinking very much. So what are you doing? And you put away the dagger? You make me feel like I want to do something to you. And you will never obey me. After much persuasion, Guyan finally let Ling Qingqiu sit back in the chair. It was only at Ling Qingqiu's strong request that he moved a chair and sat under the bookshelf, very far away from Ling Qingqiu. Even so, Ling Qingqiu still held the dagger tightly. Ling Qingqiu also knew that it was strange for her to hold the dagger like this. But there was nothing she could do. She couldn't just take the dagger back in front of Guyan. What's more, this dagger is indeed too dangerous. If Guyan accidentally touches it, he will be doomed. So she coughed lightly. Don't worry about it. Anyway, what are you doing here? Ling Qingqiu regretted it after she finished saying that it was indeed normal for Guyan to come back to see her after sending Linger away. Damn it, her mind was too confused now. Why, I came back to see you. Qingqiu. Guyan was a little confused. He looked at Qingqiu, who was so nervous, and then looked at the dagger in the other's hand. For a moment. Hiss. Guyan took a breath of cold air. He stood up suddenly. What are you doing? Ling Qingqiu sensed the movement and immediately put the dagger behind him. What's going on? Why is Guyan suddenly so excited? Fine. Guyan sat back down. He looked at Ling Qingqiu's nervous expression, and then at the dagger hidden behind his back. A guess emerged. Could it be the knight in the original novel? Ling Qingqiu in the original novel relied on this dagger to grow to the peak of Grand Master. One of the cultivation methods is extremely cruel and requires one to suck the life force of others to cultivate. If the soul is absorbed directly, the effect will be double. In the original novel, Ling Qingqiu slaughtered and absorbed tens of thousands of people, and also absorbed the main characters including the protagonist group. Only then did he break through to the peak of Grand Master. And the effect doesn't stop there. This dagger is the nightmare of the whole world. Guyan thought of another possibility. The original novel did not explain why the Ling family was exterminated. But as Guyan looked at this scene, he seemed to understand something. It must be because he appeared in the Ling family that year. That's why so many forces in the ancient martial arts world came to besiege him. Because night is too dangerous. It is a magic weapon that will lead to the destruction of the world. Judging from Ling Qingqiu's situation, it seems that he has already mastered the control of the night very skillfully. After all, there was no discomfort. So are you practicing? Oh yes, Yan Wang has been killed, and his soul has most likely been absorbed by Ling Qingqiu. Guyan thought a lot in his mind quickly. So, although he did not turn evil, he eventually followed the original script and embarked on the journey of absorbing human cultivation. Although this is the established script, there is nothing wrong with it. My original purpose was just to make Ling Qingqiu stronger and protect me. And there is a very crucial point here, which can also be said to be the biggest side effect of the dagger becoming stronger. That is, as the dagger absorbs more souls, and the host's mental state will become more and more manic. And later he will even be able to hear the wailing of the soul of the absorbed person. It tortures the host in his mind every minute and every second. In the original novel, Ling Qingqiu was able to endure this side effect thanks to her strong inner strength and her practice of the Bing Xinju. But at that time, the other party had actually already thought about dying because Shaolin was the only target for revenge. That's why in the end he chose to die together with the protagonists. The long-term torture of the curse and the unimaginable pressure of revenge had already broken Ling Qingqiu's spirit. She only wanted to kill all her enemies and then die. Is it going to be like this in this life? Guyan's silence was deafening. Ling Qingqiu couldn't make up her mind for a moment. Not knowing what Guyan was thinking, she was just about to speak. Guyan stood up, seeing Ling Qingqiu looking a little flustered. The other person came over and hugged Ling Qingqiu tightly in his arms. Ling Qingqiu felt the warm embrace and was stunned for a moment. Guyan? She seemed to be able to feel the confusion and pain in Guyan's heart. Why the pain? What happened? Guyan, what's wrong with you? Ling Qingqiu wanted to hug the other person back, but she was holding in her hand, so she couldn't do that. Because once the dagger touches Guyan, the opponent's vitality will be drained. It's okay, I just suddenly felt like doing this. Guyan hugged Ling Qingqiu, and his expression gradually became firm. Become like the original novel. I don't want that. I don't want Ling Qingqiu to become neither human nor ghost. Guyan's thoughts gradually opened up. Why didn't he think of it earlier? I have my own background and system. I have already thought of commanding Ling Qingqiu's forces in my previous life. So why not do it more decisively? Since night is the enemy of the whole world. Since Ling Qingqiu wants revenge on those people back then. Since according to the plot, the ancient martial arts world will be known to the world, and all forces will go to the secular world. So all we have to do is create another night. Let another night attract everyone's attention. Let another night complete the revenge. That's right. Guyan hugged Ling Qingqiu tightly. In this life, I will bear all your burdens. And you, Guyan seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes became extremely firm. Author's words. Well, the daily life chapter of the first volume ends here. And now we will enter the main storyline of the whole book. Finally, please remember that the name of this book begins with villain. Please remember this. Chapter 119, How to Get Night. In the study. After a brief hug, Guyan let go of Lang Qingqiu and said gently, "Sorry, I'm just a little tired recently, so I want to hug you like this." He looked at Lang Qingqiu's little face, which revealed a somewhat worried expression. And his thoughts became even more intense. Is that so? Lang Qingqiu was slightly startled. Yes. Guyan was originally the eldest son of the Gu family and had always lived a life of luxury. But now he has to travel far and wide for her and Linger. She even had to get up early to cook for them and send Linger to school. Then there is the matter of the Gu family's annual meeting. Guyan's purpose of visiting Gu's grandparents must be for the annual meeting. I'm so tired already. But he still returned to the Lang family.